Chapter 51. The potions office is also Snape's private storage room and potion-making room. After finishing a day's class, Snape finally has time to deal with his personal affairs. Of course, this personal matter is also making potions or handling various materials. Now Snape is squeezing the pus of the babotuber, which is a huge, thick, black, and wriggling mass covered with some shiny bumps on the surface, looking like a slug. As the yellow-green viscous liquid drips, the whole office is filled with a pungent smell of petroleum. Suddenly, a fierce knock on the door interrupted Snape's work. Taking off his dragon leather gloves, Snape pushed the door open impatiently. If you can't give me a suitable reason, you will go to accompany Filch this week. Snape looked at the little snake in front of him expressionlessly and warned in a cold tone. He hated it most when someone disturbed him while making potions. The babotuber was very troublesome to handle and could not be stained by juice. It was also extremely valuable. If someone else had handled it just now, this medicinal material might have been ruined. Dean, Barry Raglan led 4 people from our academy to fight with Ethan Adrian, a first-year student from Ravenclaw. Now one of them has a big hole in his stomach. I don't know if he is dead. The little snake who came to Baoxin looked at his dean and said tremblingly. Whose stomach was blown open? Snape closed the office door and walked on the way to the scene. His face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Although he had guessed the result, he still asked a question. I really didn't expect that the students of his own academy would cause such a big trouble for him. Snape didn't think that Ethan was the one who started the trouble. He knew exactly what kind of people his students were. Besides, a first-year student couldn't possibly challenge 5 fourth-year students even if he wanted to. He himself was almost driven into autism by 4 classmates. Now we can only pray that Ethan is fine, otherwise Flitwick will not let it go. Yes, Willard Colby. Who? Snape stopped abruptly and looked at the little snake that reported the news. Willard Colby. After confirming again, Snape was silent and continued to the scene of the incident. Although he knew that Ethan was definitely a genius among the young wizards of this year, only Cassandra could compete with him for 1 or 2, but this result was too outrageous. What kind of people are their own students? The same thing happened in the offices of various deans, but they were not as irritable as Snape. Mr. Adrian, go to the principal's office first, and give the password lemon sherbet. Professor McGonagall, who had already learned some of the situation from the little wizard who reported the news, felt that the matter was a bit complicated and could only be handed over to Dumbledore. She also had to rush to the school hospital to see the specific situation. Got it, Professor McGonagall. Ethan turned and left, without any overreaction, and no emotions such as nervousness and fear. When McGonagall and other professors arrived, the 5 little snakes with broken limbs had been carried into the school infirmary by Madame Pomfrey. Only Ethan, the protagonist, and some spectators were left at the scene. Professor McGonagall, it was Slytherin who started the fight first, and Ethan just defended himself. According to the law. Miss Granger, I will investigate it clearly. Professor McGonagall interrupted Hermione and went straight to the school hospital. She still had a good impression of Ethan, a little wizard with great talent in transfiguration, but she was not sure how to punish him. On the familiar 8th floor, Ethan arrived in front of a huge stone beast and shouted a command. The next moment, the stone statue seemed to come alive and immediately split into 2 halves, revealing a spiral staircase. Following the stairs, Ethan arrived at the door of the principal's office. Knock. Knock. Come in. When he pushed open the door, the first thing he saw was countless portraits of the headmaster, a large colorful bird standing on a shelf nearby, and Dumbledore at his desk. Kid, what's going on? Dumbledore still had no idea what was going on. After all, no one had informed him, or wanted to inform him, and he couldn't enter the headmaster's office without a password. I had a conflict with 5 senior Slytherin students, and now they are in the school hospital. Professor McGonagall asked me to come to you. Is that so? Although he didn't use legilimency, with his life experience, he had already guessed what was going on. Slytherin provoked Ethan, but he didn't fight, so he went to the hospital and was seriously injured. It was just that Ethan looked indifferent, which Dumbledore had never seen before. Other little wizards who got into trouble would be more or less nervous, uneasy, and worried. Sit down and have a glass of pumpkin juice first, and we'll deal with this later. Dumbledore knocked on the table, and a glass of pumpkin juice appeared on the table. Thank you, headmaster. Ethan sat down without hesitation, not afraid of what Dumbledore would give him, and drank the pumpkin juice. Not long after, the 4 deans arrived at the same time, but their faces were not very good. Ethan also stood up when he saw this. Several deans were standing, so how could Ethan sit? Professor Flitwick came directly to Ethan and said unceremoniously, Ethan, I know this is not your problem, you just need to tell me what happened just now. Professor Sprout and Professor McGonagall also gave Ethan an encouraging look, and also expressed their attitudes. I just borrowed a book from the library and was about to return to Ravenclaw's dormitory. From beginning to end, Ethan said it all, except for the specific magic he used, there was nothing missing, and he did not deliberately say anything that was beneficial to him. After all, there were audiences at the scene. After Ethan finished speaking, Professor McGonagall also told Dumbledore the current status of the snakes. Breaking a wand is an extremely bad thing. Barry and the other 5 were also seriously injured. So, deduct 50 points from Ravenclaw. Ethan, you will be detained for a month and patrol the Forbidden Forest with Hagrid. It will start tonight. Filch will take you there. If you have any objections, you can tell me now. After a little thought, Dumbledore announced his punishment. During this period of time, Dumbledore occasionally paid attention to Ethan. Naturally, he knew that Ethan went to the room of requirement almost every day and was a very hard-working and talented child. At the same time, he had a good relationship with his family and friends, especially the little witches in the school, which was completely different from Voldemort. Based on these 2 points, Dumbledore did not want to give any too severe punishment. After all, talented children will be treated preferentially everywhere. I have no objection. I am willing to accept the school's punishment. Ethan would naturally not refuse. Going to the Forbidden Forest openly and collecting magic materials was not a punishment at all. Albus, then there is no punishment for Slytherin. They called Ethan a mudblood, or they started it first. They started all this. Although he is now in the school hospital, they need to bear the main responsibility. Flitwick stood up, obviously not accepting the punishment that only his little wizard suffered. When he heard the 3 words mudblood, Snape's face changed obviously. This is the pain of his life. It was because of this that Snape didn't want to talk from beginning to end and let the situation develop. If it were him, he would not let his 5 students off easily. Slytherin will be deducted 250 points and put in solitary confinement for 1 month. It will be implemented after he is discharged from the hospital. It can be said that Dumbledore directly killed Slytherin's college cup this year. Snape's mouth moved, but he didn't say anything after all. Chapter 52. After leaving the principal's office, there was already a line of people waiting at the staircase on the 8th floor, most of whom were Ravenclaws, and some Hufflepuffs. After Ethan briefly explained his punishment, he left with the crowd. At night, Ethan appeared at the door of Filch's office. Dong. Dong. Come in. A hoarse voice came from inside the door. As soon as he entered the door, Ethan smelled a strong smell of grilled fish. A skinny maned cat with dark fur was squatting on a chair and staring at Ethan. Follow me. Filch simply packed up, limped out of the office with an oil lamp. Along the way, Filch didn't say a word, not at all like Fred and George said, with an extreme foul mouth. In fact, Filch didn't want to cause trouble. He knew everything Ethan did in the afternoon. He was not a good person, unlike other little wizards. Filch didn't care about the foul-mouthed Ethan because he didn't want to hurt 360 for fear of being retaliated against. But if his cat, Mrs. Norris, had any problems, he would not accept it. So he also treated people differently. He knew who could have bad mouths and who could not. This is it. Go by yourself. After sending Ethan to Hagrid's cabin, Filch turned around and left without any hesitation. Looking at Filch, who was limping but leaving as quickly as possible, Ethan was a little confused. He didn't do anything to him. Even when he was out at night, he didn't run into him. Woof woof, 2 dog barks were heard in the dark night. The next moment, Fang came out from nowhere and circled around Ethan with his tail wagging. Ethan, is that you? Come in. The door was pushed open, and Hagrid stood at the door and shouted in the direction of the dogs barking. Hearing Fang's barking, Hagrid knew that the person coming must be an acquaintance. At dinner time, he also received the news that Ethan would come to patrol with him. It's me, Hagrid. Ethan replied, and then walked into Hagrid's cabin with Yaya. The fireplace in the cabin was burning so vigorously that it was still a little hot after entering. There was a large pot of venison and a plate of fried pork skin on the table, and Hagrid's favorite rock cake next to it. Eat something first. The Forbidden Forest is quite cold now, and the patrol time is also very long. After closing the door, Hagrid directly invited Ethan to sit down and poured a bowl of venison soup for Ethan. In the Forbidden Forest in October, the temperature at night was almost 0 degrees, and basically a patrol lasted for several hours. It was really hard to bear without eating something. Thank you. Ethan was not polite. He took the venison soup and ate a piece of venison with a fork. He found that the taste was actually quite good. As for the rock cake, Ethan ate it in the venison soup, which was much better than eating it dry. Hagrid, can you eat spicy food? After eating a little, Ethan stopped and asked Hagrid, who was still eating meat. Although his physical fitness has improved and his appetite has increased, he is still far behind Hagrid. It's edible. Hagrid nodded in response to the venison in his mouth. Okay, I'll bring you some gifts tomorrow, a way of eating from Muggles, which the little wizards of Hufflepuff like very much. During this period, Ethan has also eaten in the Hufflepuff common room several times, and hot pot is becoming more and more popular. It's just that the hot pot made by the house elves is still a little bit worse, and he is still studying the recipe. Ethan also wrote a letter home by owl and sent a lot of hot pot base. Okay. When Hagrid had almost finished eating, he rested for a while and then took Ethan out. At this moment, Hagrid was holding a giant oil lamp in his hand, a giant crossbow on his back, a full quiver on his shoulder, and Yaya was following him. Of course, this Yaya was a little bit weak, and his temper was too small. If something happened, he would probably run faster than Hagrid. On the dark and gloomy forest path illuminated by dim lights, Hagrid was introducing the situation of the Forbidden Forest to Ethan, and comforted him by the way. Ethan said a few words. In his opinion, a normal young wizard should be afraid of the Forbidden Forest. Hagrid, is a crossbow better than a wand? After walking for more than an hour, nothing happened except for a few magical animals that occasionally ran by. Ethan couldn't help asking this question that he had thought about, but the answer was not accurate. The protection spell is also called Universal Protection, which can protect against bullets from pistols and rifles, as well as the explosion of grenades. Ethan has tested this point. His family does not lack various guns and ammunition in the ocean business. Universal Protection is a regional protection spell. I don't know if it is a variant of the armor spell. As for the crossbow, it is indeed powerful at close range, but it is not enough to break the protection spell. So Hagrid likes to carry a crossbow on patrol. Does it have the property of breaking magic? For magical animals, bows and crossbows are still useful, but they are not so good against poachers. They are too flexible and can use magic to defend against the crossbow arrows I shoot. Hagrid has nothing to hide. This is the fact. But he was not afraid of poachers in the Forbidden Forest. First of all, he had many pets. These pets were pets to him, but deadly to others. He also had a good relationship with the centaurs and could get their support. So Hagrid's mission was to resist and delay the poachers. With his high magic resistance and powerful strength brought by his giant blood, he could do this completely. Is that so? It turned out that there was no material with magic-breaking properties in this world. I was overthinking. However, guns and crossbows were still very threatening to wizards, especially guns, which could be used unexpectedly. In addition, those who could use the armor spell were considered elites. There wouldn't be too many people. Look, moon idiots. Suddenly, Hagrid pulled Ethan, pointed to an open space in front of the right, and signaled Ethan not to disturb them. Following the direction Hagrid pointed, Ethan saw some small things that looked like alpacas, with a pair of big eyes wide open, looking at the full moon in the sky with their necks raised, and their two hind legs swinging irregularly. You know what, this little thing is pretty cute. Ethan, you're lucky. Moon beasts usually only come out during a full moon, and they're very shy. They'll hide when they see any noise. See those silvery white spots? That's moon beast feces. It's a pretty good fertilizer. If you use it for pumpkins, one can grow really big. Sometimes I'll give some to Professor Sprout. Hearing Hagrid say this, Ethan instantly felt sick. Dancing and pulling at the same time, it is indeed a magical animal, it is magical. Moreover, it pulls more and more, almost every few steps, there will be more silver white light spots under the feet. As time goes by, these silver light spots gradually cover the entire ground, forming a stage that belongs to them. When the song ends, the moon beasts also go back to the cave. Hagrid just said that this is a way of courtship for them, which means that they are so anxious to go home for S**x3.9. It's only because Ethan doesn't play with the biting cabbage, otherwise he will be led back to produce feces. The biting cabbage is indeed strong in the game, but it is definitely not that strong in reality. Let's go, let's collect the feces of these moon beasts. This thing is useless when it sees the Sunday. Hagrid strode forward. In his opinion, this was a good thing. He had a vegetable garden. In addition to providing himself with some food, he also planted pumpkins for Halloween every year. After using transfiguration to transform into a box, Ethan used the flotation spell to automatically load the feces of the moon beasts into it, saving Hagrid the trouble of picking them up one by one. Ethan, that's all for today. I'll put these away and send you back to Hogwarts. Holding the box filled with moon beast feces, Hagrid said to Ethan excitedly. After patrolling for nearly 2 hours and watching the moon beasts dance for a while, it was almost time. Hagrid naturally would not let Ethan stay until dawn. Chapter 53. The last day of October is Halloween Eve. When the young wizards woke up in the morning, they smelled the sweet and tempting smell of roasted pumpkin in the corridor, and even breakfast was pumpkin pie. Today's spell class, of course, taught the levitation spell, and Seamus still learned the explosion spell. Other aspects were no different from usual. After the last class in the afternoon, everyone came to the auditorium, which was now decorated. 1,000 bats fluttered on the walls and ceiling, and another 1,000 were like low black clouds, circling above the dining table. Pumpkins carved into ghost masks were flying in the air, and the candle flames in their bellies flickered. It should be okay to play a prank today, right? At first, Ethan wanted to attack the trash can in the backyard of the leaky cauldron, but after thinking about it, Ethan, who had just entered the wizarding world, gave up the idea. It's not that Ethan wanted to play a prank, but if the prank can trick a certain number of people, there will definitely be achievements. Ethan has almost figured out this system. For this reward, Ethan has to do it. He immediately pulled George and Fred over, and they were also a punishment in this regard. Ethan told them his idea. Too cool, Ethan, you are really a genius, why can't we think of it? If you want a better effect, you need more people to join in. Yes, you can do this later. Fred and George discussed excitedly, constantly improving Ethan's plan. As the sky darkened completely, students arrived at the auditorium one after another. Today is a holiday banquet, and the food is quite rich. In addition to various pumpkin dishes, there are dozens of French specialties. The atmosphere on the scene is quite good and happy, but except for the floating pumpkin heads and bats, the others don't match Halloween very well. Suddenly, there was a sound of hurried footsteps outside the door. The door was pushed open, and a figure with blood and mud on his clothes and face staggered in. The little wizards in the auditorium were immediately attracted to the scene, and they all turned their heads to check the situation. It was unclear who it was, but judging from his size, he should be a little wizard in the 3rd or 4th grade. But what happened? Who is chasing him? Asterisk. He seemed to reach out for help, but as soon as he said it, an arm stretched out and grabbed his clothes, and then a bloody steel claw cut his throat, and blood flew at least 10 feet high. The little wizard at the scene was stunned. Is he dead? At the same time, cold air and bursts of white mist surged at the door, and a strange man with a severely burned face walked out, retracted the steel claws on the neck of the unknown little wizard, pushed the body to the ground, and stared at everyone in the auditorium with cold eyes without a trace of emotion. At the same time, twisted black shadows appeared in the white mist, approaching from far away. The lights in the auditorium suddenly went out, leaving only the faint light from the candles held by the floating pumpkin heads. The young wizards came to their senses, and hundreds of screams sounded at the same time, and it looked like they were about to overturn Hogwarts. The scene suddenly became chaotic, and everyone wished their parents had 2 more legs, and rushed to other passages. They had never seen such a scene before. No one wanted to be the next young wizard to have his throat cut. Ethan, who was always watching the panel, knew it was successful when he saw the flickering light. He knew that the prank would be successful. Quiet, everyone, be quiet. The extinguished lights were lit again, and a voice that seemed to have magic sounded, and the chaotic scene calmed down. Dumbledore appeared on the high platform, followed by many professors. Snape stepped down, still wearing his iconic cloak, and walked towards the door like a big bat. The wand in his hand flashed a series of flashes, turning the corpse on the ground and the monster with a disfigured face wearing steel claws back to their original form. By the way, Ethan at the door was also pulled out. You scared your classmates and tried to ruin the Halloween party. You are a genius from Ravenclaw and a troll from Gryffindor. How should you be punished? Snape said to the 3 people in a stern tone. During this period, Snape was simply killing like crazy. After all, Slytherin was deducted 250 points, and it went from the highest to the lowest. Under normal circumstances, if he didn't meet Harry, he couldn't give Slytherin extra points without a suitable reason. After all, people still have to save face. But he could find various problems to deduct points, any small mistakes, such as improper handling of potion materials, inability to answer questions, wizard robes not being neat enough. It can be said that he dragged the other 3 colleges down with his own strength. Now that he has the opportunity, how can he let it go easily? My suggestion is to deduct 100 points from Gryffindor and 50 points from Ravenclaw, and then expel them. Snape said as he looked at Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall who were walking over. Ethan rolled his eyes and ignored Snape. He was expelled. Why don't you go to heaven when you are so awesome? During this period, Snape had been picking on Ethan. I don't know how those senior time travelers got along with Snape so well. How could he let you learn potions in a special way? He usually had a bad face and spoke rudely. His heart was almost sealed. Apart from things related to Harry, there was nothing that could make him care. Anyway, Ethan felt that he couldn't get along well with him. Classmates, please go back to your seats. It was just a joke played by a few classmates. Don't you think this fits the atmosphere of Halloween? Dumbledore walked up with Ethan and others, and by the way, he also expelled Cedric, Lee Jordan and several others. The little lions of Gryffindor pointed it out. At this point, the little wizards knew that they were being fooled. The one who died after his throat was cut was George Weasley, and the large pool of blood on the ground turned into clear water. The one wearing gloves and steel claws, with a disfigured face was Fred Weasley, whose face was made up, and the steel claws were also transformed by transfiguration, and now they have become wood. The white mist, cold wind, and ghosts were all controlled by Ethan at the door. The white mist and cold wind were another use of the freezing spell, and the ghosts were several sections of wooden stakes with transfiguration. In the hall, Cedric, Lee Jordan and several Gryffindors were responsible for guiding the atmosphere of terror and turning off the lights. Fortunately, the professors came quickly, otherwise the consequences might be a bit serious. After all, the little wizards were completely panicked at the time. If a stampede occurred, it would be a complete tragedy. Ethan didn't expect that the prank perfected by the twins would have such an effect. Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, each deduct 10 points. Professor McGonagall came out to announce the punishment results. No accidents were caused, and it was usually handed over to Professor McGonagall to deal with. Naturally, she would not listen to Snape. Snape's mad dog mode during this period gave Professor McGonagall a headache. The deductions were much faster than the additions, and Gryffindor had caused more trouble. If each person deducted 50 points, Gryffindor would owe hundreds of points, which would directly set a record. His dean was also famous. Professor McGonagall didn't want this to be remembered in the history of Hogwarts. Professor Flitwick and Professor Sprout also had no objection. After all, if they hadn't arrived in time, the Halloween dinner would have been ruined. It was no problem to deduct a few points. After accepting the punishment, Ethan and others returned to their respective long tables. Although everyone was scared of this prank, they also felt that it was quite fun, and even looked forward to playing it next Halloween. After all, the jokes or pranks here are generally quite big. Ethan was just scaring this time, which was nothing at all. Candies that can burn a hole in the tongue are so big that this guy will never tire of them. Especially on the Gryffindor side, some people who didn't participate in this prank surrounded George and others, as if they were Gryffindor's heroes. Only Slytherin was unhappy. Not only were we fooled, but we were not even included in the prank. We were excluded from Slytherin? Are we not from the same school after all? Ethan, you guys just scared me. At the Ravenclaw table, Chu-Jong hit Ethan and expressed his dissatisfaction for not telling his senior sister. I just thought of this at the last minute. I have to arrange it quickly. There is not enough time. During the whole process, Ethan was the busiest one. The props and special effects were all completed by Ethan. Senior, pass me the lamb chops. After swallowing the lamb in his mouth, Ethan turned to Pinello and said, Senior, I asked you to help me get it, not to feed me. I saw that your hands seem to be very busy, and you are eating very happily, aren't you? Pinello took a bite of the grilled lamb chop and looked at Ethan with a hurt look. I was wrong, Anyway, he had already fed him once, so Ethan didn't care anymore. He opened his mouth and waited for Pinello to act. Eat it yourself. After stuffing the grilled lamb chops into Ethan's mouth, Pinello let go of her hand. It's okay to tease him for a while, but if he keeps feeding, it will have a bad influence. She is the class leader and must take the lead. Lamb chops, right. Ethan, you eat. Chu-Jong said with a smile as he brought a plate of grilled lamb chops directly to Ethan. Bang. The door of the auditorium was directly opened, and Professor Quirrell rushed in, wearing a purple scarf crooked on his head, with a look of fear on his face. This immediately attracted the attention of the whole audience and also helped Ethan out of the predicament. The troll. The troll is in the basement. I think you should know. Quirrell ran and shouted loudly, and finally fell headfirst on the stairs of the teacher's seat. However, the scene was not as chaotic as Quirrell thought. Everyone was eating and drinking, and no one took Quirrell's words to heart. After all, Quirrell's acting was too exaggerated. A professor of defense against the dark arts was scared to death by a troll. Can you please be more professional? In addition, Ethan and others just gave everyone a hard time, and everyone thought Quirrell also wanted to imitate Ethan and others to attract attention. There was no other way, Quirrell could only let himself have a last-ditch effort. Troll. The troll is in the basement, run, Dumbledore is blaming himself. Haha. The Gryffindor laughed directly. There is no harm without comparison. If Quirrell can't do it, he can go back to practice. Who can you fool like this? Let's not talk about whether trolls can enter Hogwarts. Even if they do, Dumbledore is here, and he can even boast of a troll tribe. No, there are real trolls. Look at the following scenes, Quirrell said to everyone dryly, and he didn't stutter anymore. He still doesn't know why, he acted very well. At this time, Dumbledore stood up and said to the little wizards below, Prefects, take the students from each college back to the dormitory. It was also a step for Quirrell to save face. There was no way, Dumbledore wanted to play this game with Voldemort, and at this moment he could only cooperate with Quirrell's performance. On the way back to Ravenclaw dormitory, Chu-Jong asked with a strange expression, Ethan, did you say that trolls really came into Hogwarts? Quirrell's acting was too fake, why did Dumbledore still believe it and interrupted the Halloween dinner? It doesn't matter. Dumbledore and the others will handle it. Due to the changes brought by Ethan, Hermione never had any conflicts with Ronald in class, and naturally she would not run into the monster in the girls' bathroom. It's nothing, and Ethan doesn't want to hit the giant monster. This thing stinks, and there's no benefit in hitting it. Maybe some Batman will deduct points for not listening to the professor's advice. Chapter 54. In the headmaster's office, Snape stood in front of Dumbledore with a gloomy face. His legs were covered in blood, and it was obvious that he was bitten by a dog. I think you should know what happened to Quirrell. It's okay if you don't tell me, but why let such a malicious guy become the professor of defense against the dark arts? Snape was very dissatisfied with this. He and Quirrell have worked together for several years. Although their relationship is not very good, he still knows who Quirrell is. He is not that bad. This year, Quirrell seems to have changed and applied for the defense against the dark arts course. Let's not talk about the defense against the dark arts course that he had set his sights on first. He applied for it many times, but Dumbledore didn't approve it. Why can Quirrell be the professor of defense against the dark arts? Putting this aside, it is not certain whether Quirrell is still Quirrell. Even so, Dumbledore still dared to let him stay in Hogwarts. I wonder if he has Alzheimer's disease. Dumbledore's performance today also made Snape doubt whether Dumbledore did all this on purpose. Was he doing it on purpose or by accident? Quirrell came to Hogwarts with evil intentions. There were two special things this year, one was Harry, the savior in the prophecy, and the other was the Philosopher's Stone for refining the elixir of life. The target could only be one of the two, or both. This was also the main reason for Snape's anger. I arranged this, of course, I have my own ideas. Dumbledore looked calm, as if he was talking about something unimportant. What ideas? Snape felt very angry. If he had to protect Harry, he really wanted to make Dumbledore's crooked nose crooked a little more. That can't be said yet. Dumbledore knew that his plan would not be recognized by most people, especially Snape. If he knew that Quirrell had Voldemort with residual blood, he would probably make a scene, and if he was not careful, he would get into trouble. Humph. I checked the room on the 4th floor and found that it had been opened. Snape snorted coldly and prepared to leave. Phoenix tears. Dumbledore took out a small bottle with a thin layer of transparent liquid in it. The three-headed dog's teeth are poisonous, and similar to the curse, it is difficult to remove, but the Phoenix's tears have a miraculous effect on it. Grabbing the Phoenix tears, Snape left without looking back. He was quite dissatisfied with Dumbledore, who was hiding everything from him. Tricky expert behind the curtain of laughter, there are tricks and well-designed traps, waiting for the prey to fall, secretly replaced chairs, and strange noises that suddenly sounded. The seemingly peaceful daily life is full of unexpected variables. Achievement goal, successfully trick others, 100/100, achievement reward, a random black magic spell on the way to Hagrid's cabin. Ethan finally had time to check this achievement reward. Even if today is Halloween Eve, the punishment of confinement is still valid. Shadow Wolf, the name of the black magic drawn today, is quite effective, at least better than the budding spell. This curse spell, Ethan didn't really want to use it. Why would he use a curse when he could kill directly? The need for a curse only proves that you are not fishy enough. The effect is very strange. It is not a regular magic. It summons wolves from the shadow to attack, but it has two characteristics. One is that it can split like the French Ministry of Magic's guard cat civet cat. The specific effect is to absorb the magic energy of the attack and split into several beings slightly smaller than the original body. The second is that it can switch between virtual and real like Peeves. It has a physical body, but the virtual body can pass through the wall and float up. The specific number of summons is determined by Ethan's magic power. As long as the magic power is enough, it can be summoned continuously. And when it is materialized, it can also block the big melon. The killing curse, whether it is the protection spell or the armor spell, is useless, because it has no entity, it will only be penetrated by the killing curse and hit the person directly. It doesn't matter if you hang mice all over your body or use the transformation spell to give yourself a cover, anyway, you must have a physical body. So this Shadow Wolf can also materialize at a critical moment and serve as a killing curse shield for Ethan. Arrival after Hagrid's hut, Yaya still ran to greet him as soon as possible. I wish I had your talent. Standing at the door, Hagrid looked at the scene with some envy. The two sides patrolled the Forbidden Forest together for almost half a month. No matter how ferocious the magical animals were, they were quite obedient when they saw Ethan. Hagrid also went from surprise to numbness at the beginning, and now he completely envied him. This can be said to be the ability Hagrid wants most. Ethan, pay attention tonight. The centaur told me during the day that a very dangerous guy came to the Forbidden Forest. After carrying the equipment and setting off, Hagrid reminded Ethan with a serious face. Although the centaur did not make it clear, the dangerous guys who came to the Forbidden Forest were most likely poachers. If the little wizard broke into the Forbidden Forest, the centaur would only say it was a foal. Yeah, I get it. This is probably Voldemort, who is possessed by Quirrell and can't bear it any longer. He wants to suck the blood of the unicorn to increase his vitality. He is here to check the area. This time, Hagrid and Ethan are not patrolling aimlessly like before, but are specifically going to several valuable magical animal habitats to look for clues around, such as unicorns, thestrals, chimeras, and horned poisonous beasts. How can there be no traces? After a circle, Hagrid is a little anxious. By the way, I can go find Aragog. Hagrid suddenly thought of something and hurriedly took Ethan to go deeper into the Forbidden Forest. Aragog is a spider I raised. Don't be afraid later. They won't attack you. Maybe I'm worrying for nothing. They won't hurt you. Hagrid didn't want people to know that he raised an 8-eyed giant spider. When he patrolled with Ethan before, he had never been to the territory of the 8-eyed giant spider. But there was no other way at this moment. He had to let Aragog take action. There are so many of its descendants that they can be spread all over the Forbidden Forest. With its help, no poacher can hide. Along the way, the frequency of encountering spiders became higher and higher, until they came to the front of a tree root cave. Ethan finally knew what the kingdom of spiders was. There were white spider silks everywhere, and dense spiders were climbing on the ground, trees, and spider webs. Spiders the size of a human head can only be regarded as cubs. Here there are many spiders as small as cars. From time to time, 8-eyed giant spiders would spit silk and fall in front of Ethan to show their presence, or they would try to rub against Ethan, but they were all avoided by Ethan. Hagrid was expelled from school, and it was not wrong for him. When watching the movie, I thought these spiders were just so-so. Now I see that they are definitely worthy of being creatures of the XXXXX level. They are so damn fertile. If these spiders were to attack Hogwarts, if there were no professors to resist, they would definitely easily wipe out the students of 7 grades. Hagrid, are you sure you can raise these spiders in the Forbidden Forest? Ethan felt that if no one suppressed them, the Acromantula clan might rule the Forbidden Forest and exterminate other races. Alien species, no way. Is there any problem with this? Hagrid looked at Ethan in confusion. He had been raising them for decades, so why couldn't he raise them? Have you ever thought about how much these big spiders eat every day? If they continue to reproduce, I'm afraid the entire Forbidden Forest won't be enough for them to eat. The Forbidden Forest is so big, I think it should be fine. Okay. After getting this answer, Ethan knew that Hagrid just liked magical animals, but didn't understand biology at all. Aragog, I'm here to see you. Standing at the entrance of the tree root cave, Hagrid shouted loudly inside. A rustling sound came from the bottom of the cave formed by huge tree roots, and what finally appeared in Ethan's eyes were 10 spiders the size of a small truck. However, this spider was very old, and its eyes were a little grey and dull. When it saw Hagrid, it was quite excited, waving its 2 front legs vigorously. Hagrid, you haven't been here for a long time. Ethan had only seen this magical animal that could speak. It just seemed that he had no attraction to Aragog. Its basically blind eyes only had Hagrid. I don't know if it was a problem with the eyes, or if it was too smart so that this ability was not obvious, or some other possibilities. Sorry, I have something I want to ask you for help. There is a damn poacher in the Forbidden Forest. I hope you can help me find him. Hagrid looked at Aragog with an apologetic look. During this period, because Ethan was on patrol, he had no time to come at night. I will let my offspring keep an eye out for it. Aragog, who regarded Hagrid as his good father, would naturally not refuse. Thank you, Aragog. As long as you come to see me more often, I can feel that I don't have many days left. When I am with you, it is my happiest time. Hagrid was stunned on the spot after hearing this, and then stepped forward and hugged Aragog's long legs, his eyes full of sadness. He could also see that Aragog had aged a lot in these years, but he didn't expect this day to come so soon. Ethan did not disturb the tender moment between the man and the spider, but found a car-sized 8-eyed giant spider. Patting its smooth head, Ethan took out a clear glass jar and said to it, "Workman, can you give me some venom?" The Acromanthus was stunned, then nodded. This person was quite kind and felt very good. Anyway, the venom would not be used up, so just give it some. Then he stretched out his mouth parts and injected the venom into the bottle. Seeing this, Ethan happily touched the head of the Acromanthus. At first, he felt that these spiders were ugly, but now they are quite cute. A pint of Acromanthus venom is 100 gold galleons, which is a rare thing even for the potion master Horace Slughorn. It can be said that it is priceless. And now, the venom of the Acromanthus is 0 cost for him, and he can get it continuously. Relying on his animal affinity, Ethan kept fooling one Acromanthus after another until 2 jars were filled, with about 7 or 8 pints. A pint is 568.26125 ml. Although spiders have little venom, Acromanthus is so big that the venom it sprays out at one time is enough to wash your face. Now a spider spits out part of it, which is not harmful to them at all. Ethan, we should leave. At the beginning, it took a lot of time to search for clues in various precious magical animal territories. Now I have been chatting with Aragog for so long, and it is almost dawn. Hagrid himself doesn't care. He can continue to accompany Aragog, but Ethan can't. He is still a little wizard and has to go to class today. Ah. Got it. Ethan, who was collecting spider silk, turned his head and responded. Not only venom, but this spider silk Ethan felt was very tough, just a little afraid of fire, but even so it was definitely an excellent alchemical material. On the way back, Hagrid was in a very low mood. Even if Ethan tried to comfort him, Hagrid just nodded perfunctorily without saying anything. Ethan knew that he could not persuade him, and he could only figure it out by himself. He just didn't know whether his energy cube could play a role in the lifespan of the Acromanthus. Ethan couldn't comment on Aragog, after all, it was just a magical animal. But for Hagrid, it was definitely a very reliable partner. Because of Hagrid's order, it didn't eat human flesh in this life, but the data said that the Acromanthus liked to eat human flesh. It also restrained its descendants for a lifetime, and it couldn't control its descendants until it died. After it died, the Acromanthus completely let itself go and joined the Death Eaters. Chapter 55. Adrian, classmate, please stay for a while, the teacher has something to tell you. After the defense against the dark arts class ended, Ethan, who was about to leave the classroom, heard the voice behind him and looked at Quirrell in confusion. What was he up to? He and Quirrell should have nothing in common. Classmates, students, you leave first, the teacher has something to tell Adrian, classmate alone. Looking at the other students who stopped with Ethan, Quirrell could only speak again. I'll catch up right away, you go to the classroom and wait for me. Ethan was not afraid of what Quirrell would do. As long as Dumbledore was still in Hogwarts, he would not have the courage to do anything. Besides, this was just a low-health Voldemort. It was not certain how much strength he could exert. Ethan would not be afraid if a fight really broke out. Professor Quirrell, why did you ask me to stay alone? There were only 2 people left in the classroom. Ethan activated the brain occlusion technique and looked directly at Quirrell. Although he looked down on Quirrell, Voldemort was also low health now, but he still had to be serious. There were many things that happened. Student Adrian, no. Don't be nervous. Quirrell looked at Ethan with a serious face and said with a stammer. I'm not nervous, Professor Quirrell. What do you want? I have to rush to class. I am also a graduate of Ravenclaw. You did what I didn't dare to do at the beginning. The teacher wants to reward you. Seeing that Ethan didn't give him face and didn't like him, Quirrell had no choice but to get straight to the point. Once upon a time, he was also an outstanding student of Ravenclaw and a professor loved by students, but now all the little wizards disliked him, and Ethan in front of him was the best among them. After so many classes, Quirrell also knew who was the first to cast the bubble head curse and spread it to the whole class. Now this spell has spread to 7 grades, causing every time he teaches, there are celestial dragons below. The culprit of everything is this guy in front of him. This also made Quirrell have no good impression of Ethan, but he couldn't resist the request of the boss behind him, and he had to pretend that the teacher was optimistic about him. Ever since knowing that Ethan could beat 5 seniors in the first grade, Voldemort 867 was sure Ethan is definitely a good candidate for a Death Eater. Then he started to prepare for the current scene. As for Ethan being a Muggle-born wizard, Voldemort actually doesn't care about this at all. He is purely based on strength. The reason why he is called a pureblood is because he needs the power of purebloods in the early stage, and needs to accept those purebloods as dogs in the later stage. He himself is a half-blood. No, thank you, Professor. The teacher's reward. Ethan has seen a lot of this plot in his previous life. But you Quirrell are not a teacher with blonde hair, big waves, thin waist, and long legs. What kind of reward is there? If you really have this idea, you might as well go back and let the senior sister reward you. Stupid, why don't you give him the things quickly? Voldemort behind Quirrell can't stand it anymore. What image does Quirrell have in the eyes of a group of young wizards now? Doesn't he understand? He is still pretending to be a chicken feather here, and if he really destroys his plan, he will definitely make him live a life worse than death. Got it, Master. In the face of Voldemort's words, Quirrell dared not disobey. This is the loot that the teacher got when he was traveling. It contains a lot of magical knowledge, as well as a pass to the restricted area. Now I'm handing it over to you. I hope it will be useful to you. As he said that, Quirrell handed a note and a notebook to Ethan. These two things were specially prepared by Voldemort for Quirrell, specifically to lure Ethan into the trap. If you want to fish, you have to make a nest. Voldemort has been around for so long, so he naturally knows what the little eagles of Ravenclaw like. They pursue knowledge, especially forbidden knowledge. So he gave them the dark magic and the pass to the restricted area. Such bait will definitely satisfy Ethan. As long as he learns the dark magic in the notebook and goes to the restricted area to read the forbidden knowledge, it will be difficult for Ethan not to fall, because these are all negative emotions. When the time comes, he can easily harvest a little Death Eater by guiding him. Quirrell was guided by him in this way. Although he is a little worse, he is still a usable container. Thank you, Professor Quirrell, I really need a pass to the restricted area. Ethan thanked him, took the things and left. Although Quirrell was not a good person, he was still the professor of defense against the dark arts, and the pass to the restricted area he signed was still useful. Ethan had been in school for so long, but he had never been to the restricted area. After all, many books were collected by Dumbledore, and he might not gain anything by going there. There were still many books in Ravenclaw's library that Ethan was interested in, but he had not read them thoroughly. Why bother to visit the restricted area at night? Now that he had the pass, he could go to the restricted area when he had time. Walking on the road, Ethan casually flipped through the notebook in his hand. It turned out that it was full of some dark magic, but it seemed that there was no unforgivable curse, as well as advanced dark magic such as the fire curse and the fire escape. And the handwriting on the notebook was very new, as if it was just written, especially the last few pages, which could be said to have been rushed out last night. What about the previous trophies? Go and fool the devil. Charms classroom. Ethan, what did Professor Quirrell say to you alone? Terry was the gossiper in the dormitory, and he asked Ethan the moment he saw him. He gave me a notebook, plus a note to enter the restricted area. Why are you interested? There is nothing to hide about this kind of thing, because Quirrell himself did not hide it. Dumbledore does not need to pay attention to this. Snape, who is staring at Quirrell, will tell him. What notes? Michael also turned his head. A professor's notes are still valuable, even if the professor is Quirrell. Some young wizards think he has the ability, but they are unwilling to teach. It's all about black magic. Do you want to see it? Forget it, this is given to you by Professor Quirrell. I won't see it, you should also be careful. After a long silence, Michael still refused. Black magic has certain side effects, he doesn't think he can handle it now, and Hogwarts is still very averse to black magic. If it is revealed that he knows black magic, then he will probably not be able to survive in the wizarding world as a muggle wizard, and both sides will not like him. I feel that Professor Quirrell has bad intentions, and the seniors even speculated that his soul was replaced by black magic, so you have to be careful, maybe he is targeting you. You are more handsome and younger than Quirrell. Terry whispered the gossip he heard. I will pay attention. After Terry's reminder, Ethan also noticed this. Voldemort, this idiot, doesn't he really want to possess me? First use black magic to lure me in, make me go to Quirrell frequently, then Voldemort shows up to Pua, make me believe that he can bring power or something, and take the opportunity to possess me. What a good idea. If it were an ordinary little wizard, especially one from Slytherin, Voldemort might not really succeed. But Ethan can only say that Voldemort is overthinking. If he dares to do this, Ethan doesn't mind sending him back to the Albanian forest in advance. At this time, there is still some time before class. Cassandra suddenly stood up and came to Ethan in front of everyone's eyes. Ethan, come out with me. Ethan didn't ask the reason, and walked out with Cassandra. The little wizards who stayed in the classroom looked at this scene with envy, especially the Slytherin side, staring at Ethan with envy and jealousy. If eyes could kill, Ethan would have died thousands of times. In Europe and America, there is no such term as premature love. Anyway, it is not uncommon for primary and secondary school students to fall in love. And Cassandra is very popular in Slytherin. She has exquisite looks, extraordinary talents, and a good family. There is no one more attractive than her. It's just that she is too outstanding and no one dares to go to her. In the past, when Cassandra contacted Ethan from time to time, they all wanted to beat Ethan and let Ethan stay away from their Slytherin flower song was afraid to do it because of Ethan's reputation as a talent. Now after the incident of Ethan fighting 5 people alone, they are even more afraid. So now they can only be angry but not speak. At a corner outside the charms classroom, Cassandra gathered her hair and looked at Ethan coldly. Do you remember the request you promised me? You mean the wizard duel? Ethan only remembered that he promised this request, and it had been a month or two, and he thought she had forgotten it. Yes, that's it, just remember it. Cassandra nodded with satisfaction. It seemed that Ethan had remembered this matter in his heart. It's unnecessary. Ethan sighed. He was already 1 against 5, and Cassandra still wanted to duel. Although she had good talent, she was old and not as powerful as herself. If she faced 5 seniors, she would definitely be defeated instantly. The gap was obvious at a glance. You promised me. Cassandra looked at Ethan seriously. She naturally understood what Ethan meant, and in fact, she thought the same thing. From the moment they met at Flourish and Blots, Cassandra had been secretly comparing them. Ethan had been beaten on the Hogwarts Express, and she thought she still had a good chance of winning, but it was just that the environment limited her performance. After arriving at Hogwarts and starting classes, Cassandra found that Ethan's strength was indeed a little better than hers, but there was still a chance to catch up, so she made such a request. She hadn't planned to fulfill it so quickly. In her plan, the best opportunity was in the 2nd grade, and she would let her father make up for her lessons at home during the summer vacation, so that she would have a chance to win. But not long ago, Ethan's performance was too explosive, which made Cassandra feel that there was no hope for at least the next 2 or 3 years. The gap was too big to catch up in the short term, and she could only fight in the later stage. So she thought about trying to see how big the gap between the two was. And comforted herself that she could still find another opportunity to compete in the future, and there was no need to care about the temporary win or loss. Okay, you tell me the time and place. Ethan felt that if he refused now, Cassandra might cry. Tonight at 10 o'clock, in the trophy display room, bring your wand, we will meet there. Cassandra pointed at a small section of the wand sticking out of Ethan's pocket. She didn't want to see Ethan say some weird excuses about forgetting to bring magic materials. Ethan looked down at the wand and realized that Cassandra was talking about the wand. He thought it was a wand just now. His wand was longer than that of ordinary people, and this pocket couldn't fit it at all. No problem, I will definitely be there. Ethan said and prepared to return to the classroom with Cassandra. But just after walking around the corner, he was startled by the scene in front of him. At least a dozen little wizards from 4 colleges came out and squatted here to eavesdrop. When they saw Cassandra and Ethan coming out, they immediately ran into the classroom in a swarm. Are they all so gossipy? Ethan and Cassandra looked at each other and walked into the classroom, and found that there was a lot of discussion inside. You said Ethan wanted to duel with Cassandra, who would win? Of course Ethan would win. What do you know? What kind of duel is this late at night? Cassandra is definitely in the upper hand. Brother, tell me what kind of duel is this late at night, in detail. Come on, let's go over there and talk it over. Listening to the increasingly crooked conversation inside, Cassandra's face gradually turned red. She really just wanted a wizard. Duel. Chapter 56. 10 o'clock at night, on the 4th floor of Hogwarts. The crystal glass cabinet displaying the trophies shone brightly in the moonlight, with the trophies, shields, medals, and statues shining with silver and gold light. A girl with waist-length golden hair was standing in the shadows waiting. You're finally here. Cassandra walked out from the shadows. Come with me, this is not a good place. Ethan looked at the girl, and then led the way. This trophy display room is not a good place. Ethan remembered that Draco and Harry had a duel here in the original book, and it caused some trouble. Now they are not coming, and it is his turn. This week is the last week that Ethan and Hagrid patrol together. In order to meet Cassandra's appointment, he asked Hagrid for a leave before coming, so he will not go today. This matter was originally Hagrid's turn to supervise. As long as he has no objection, it will be settled. Where to go? Following behind Ethan, Cassandra Law asked curiously. They are Slytherin students who choose to duel. The reason why they like this trophy display room is that it represents honor, although it is easy to be discovered here. 8th floor. Cassandra looked a little strange after getting such an answer, but she didn't say anything else and followed Ethan. It was still that familiar place. After Ethan told Cassandra how to open the room of requirement, he took her inside. This was a standard dueling arena, not the magic practice place that Ethan was familiar with. Cassandra felt that this was very novel. How should such a room be built to provide a venue according to demand? If you want a wizard duel, we can do it here, and no one will disturb us. Penelope, who heard the news today, wanted to come with Ethan to see how Ethan bullied little girls, but was held in the dormitory by Ethan. Okay. Cassandra and Ethan walked to the sides, about 10 meters apart. They both took out their wands and saluted each other. Shatter into pieces. Cassandra took the lead. Ethan waved his wand upwards, and more than a dozen birds appeared above Ethan in an instant, intercepting Cassandra's crushing spell while showing their sharp beaks and claws and swooping down on Cassandra. Fire all the bullets. Facing the incoming birds, Cassandra was not panicked at all. Countless small stones emerged from the ground, some of which hit the birds in the sky, and some of the stones hit Ethan. Ethan, who was always watching Cassandra's every move, easily dodged the flying stones with a move. The flames are blazing. Facing Ethan dodged, and Cassandra took advantage of the opportunity to pursue. A stream of orange-red flames swept over and arrived in front of Ethan in the blink of an eye. But at the moment when it was about to burn Ethan, the cold air began to spread from under Ethan's feet, and the flames released by Cassandra were extinguished at a very fast speed. Atmospheric charm. As Cassandra's voice fell, a thundercloud appeared above the two people's heads, and the lightning flashed like a silver snake dancing wildly. It was just that there was no accuracy, and some lightning struck the ring from time to time. It almost struck Cassandra herself. Ethan swung the magic wand in his hand, and a red light rushed straight to the center of the dark cloud, and the dark cloud was instantly dispersed until it disappeared without a trace. The weather spell was Cassandra's trump card, but she had just learned it and had no chance to practice. The control was not very good, but the weather spell that consumed a lot of magic power and energy was so easily destroyed. Ethan was wiped out, which made her feel quite depressed. Is the gap so big? Petrified. Cassandra bit her lip and threw out a blue light again. But Ethan blocked it easily. Seeing Ethan getting closer and closer, Cassandra couldn't help but retreat. Until the white light shot out from Ethan's wand was magnified in Cassandra's eyes, she still raised her wand to fight back even though she knew she couldn't avoid it. But then her whole body shook, as if the world was spinning, and the magic she was about to release was also aborted. Cat. Ethan blurted out. I didn't think so much just now. The hanging bell was a control spell, so I threw it out casually. Now it seems that the spell invented by Snape is still useful, otherwise Ethan would not be able to see this white reflective leg now. Cassandra, who realized her state, struggled frantically. Seeing Ethan still staring at her legs and saying such words. She was anxious on the spot and smashed the wand in her hand directly at Ethan. Shameless, really too shameless, actually using this kind of magic. You're still looking, put me down. Seeing that the thrown wand was caught by Ethan, Cassandra's face flushed and she shouted at Ethan who was still tasting. When she came out to duel, Cassandra was still dressed in her usual outfit, with a wizard robe on the outside and a short skirt inside. This is also the outfit of most little witches. It's really too ugly for girls to wear long pants or long skirts under wizard robes. Cassandra said so, so Ethan could only do it. A golden bell fell to the ground and put Cassandra down. To be honest, Ethan just admired the scene just now. What he really liked was the long legs, and Cassandra's front armor was not thick enough. She should be able to meet Ethan's requirements in the future. Pervert. After tidying up her skirt, Cassandra snatched her wand and put it away. If she couldn't beat him, she would definitely punch Ethan in the face now. Who uses this magic on girls? How is this perverted? It's a natural reaction. Do you want me to turn my head away with disgust? Ethan defended himself. He couldn't bear the title of pervert. You. Cassandra looked at Ethan with shame and anger. The more she looked at him, the more she wanted to slap him in the face. No wonder Ethan was often seen with the senior students of Ravenclaw and Hermione on weekdays. It turned out that he was ISP. Why didn't I find it before? Also, the inventor of this magic is your dean. Although your dean was also tortured by this magic. No matter who invented it, it shouldn't be used on me. Cassandra yelled with a red face. Next time. This so-called duel has been fought, and I don't have to go to the Forbidden Forest today. Just had time to look at the notebook Quirrell gave me. I just flipped through it on the way in the morning. Now I have time to study it carefully to see if there is any functional one. After asking for a room to practice spells, Ethan took Cassandra into it. Is this where you usually practice spells? After taking a careful look around, Cassandra turned to Ethan and asked. Yes. Can I come? You'll pay. It's okay to practice levitation spells, lighting spells, cutting spells, etc. in the dormitory, but if you practice weather spells, the whole dormitory will be destroyed. Now that Ethan has such a place to practice magic, she naturally wants to join in. And the reason why Ethan has made such rapid progress must be that he has spent a lot of time here. If she continues to stay in the dormitory, the gap will only get bigger and bigger. Even if she spends money to maintain it, she still has a lot of pocket money. Even if it's not enough, she can go home to ask for it. The Volley House will be hers sooner or later. It's not a problem to embezzle some in advance. This is the school's, you can come anytime, as long as you don't turn it into a public place. Well, I know. Cassandra would not make it public naturally. If there were too many people, it would not be so convenient. Next, Cassandra practiced the weather spell on the side, and Ethan was looking at the notebook given by Quirrell in the rest area. The fear spell and the draining spell recorded a total of 10 black magics, and these two were what Ethan was more interested in. The fear spell, as its name suggests, can evoke the most fearful memories in the other person's heart. It is a prank spell, but if used well, it may have miraculous effects. The draining spell forcibly extracts the opponent's magic power. Of course, this function is to replenish your own magic power or consume the opponent's magic power. It's not something as awesome as the North Sea Divine Art, but after a big battle, you can use this method to quickly replenish your magic power, which is also an unexpected gain. The only drawback is, although Ethan learned almost everything after watching it once, it was not easy to practice. Both types of magic need to have a target, and it must be alive. The latter needs to have magic power. In addition to Cassandra, there were only the winged demon and the voluptuous bat on the scene. It can be said that no one is suitable. Missing the first day of Banban. Decided, I will go to Ronald to rent Banban tomorrow. When I returned Banban to Ronald last time, Ethan had already used the winged demon venom to erase his memory. A euro, please give flower sa euro, I guess I will need him in the future, but I don't know if Banban will produce antibodies after taking the winged demon venom many times. Putting away the notebook, Ethan applied to the room of requirement for props to practice spells again, this time he wanted a live target. Blue light flashed, and 3 giant monsters appeared next to the target. Their skin was iron blue, their eyes were dull, and they were holding a huge steel hammer in their hands. They were not alive at first glance, but they could move. I don't know if it is a product of the magical animal experiment that the room of requirement itself has, or if the room of requirement follows the rules. Ethan's request produced it. The wolves are bloodthirsty. As a dark light flashed across the tip of Ethan's staff, the shadow beside him began to wriggle, as if something inside was trying to break free. Suddenly, a black wolf with a shoulder height of more than 3 meters, a dark body, and bloodshot eyes, rushed out of the shadow. Then the second, the third, and 3 in a row came down, and Ethan's shadow finally calmed down. The first time the 3 black wolves rushed out, they rushed into the sky and rushed towards the 3 giant monsters in the air. In an instant, the 6 behemoths were entangled together, and the black wolf locked the giant monster's throat tightly, and its sharp claws tightly grasped the monster's belly and back. The giant monster was not to be outdone. It hammered the wolf's waist with a huge iron club, and grabbed the black wolf's neck with its other hand and pulled it out. Neither side could do anything to the other. The black wolf could break through the defense, but it couldn't tear apart this special giant monster. The skin of these giant monsters is tougher than that of ordinary giant monsters, and their blood is also green and corrosive, corroding the ground with a sizzling sound, although it has little effect on the black wolf. The giant monster couldn't break the black wolf apart. The black wolf was a product of magic. Although it can be transformed into reality, the body made of magic can be restored to its original state after a physical attack, even if it is a physical body, and it only needs to consume some magic. If it is virtual, the club in the giant monster's hand will go through it directly. Ethan, what kind of magic is this? Cassandra, who was studying the weather spell on the side, was stunned. This giant wolf just appeared casually, and she was killed in seconds. In other words, Ethan just gave in to me? Wolves, I created a black magic myself, not bad, right? What the system gave me, isn't it? It's mine, there's nothing wrong with that. Can you teach me this? Give me money, or you can ask for any magic. Cassandra asked embarrassedly. Born of pure blood, she knew the importance of magic knowledge. Unique spells, alchemy knowledge, potion knowledge, these are all things that can support a family. The most famous is the Ollivander family, relying on the wand-making technology, it has been standing for 1,000 years. It's okay to teach you, but does your family have magic such as fire escape, Gubler's fire, and fire god's way? These are all famous fire magics. Ethan has a talent for fire affinity, so learning these will definitely get twice the result with half the effort. Not to mention fire escape, it's Grindelwald's signature. Gubler's fire, Dumbledore used this spell to light a torch, and this torch will never go out and was given to the giant. The god of fire cleared the way, and the magic that killed the Inferi in one move in the cave was only used by Dumbledore. The Volley family is a family with a long history, so maybe they have it. I'll write to my father and ask him, and I'll try my best to get it for you. Cassandra's confidence was a little lacking. She had never heard of any of these three magics, and it's hard to say whether there are any at home. Who is a pure-blood wizard and who is a muggle wizard? Ethan actually knows so much more than me. Okay. The prerequisite for the magic of the Pack of Wolves is to learn the Black Dragon Out, which is a modification of the Black Dragon out of the cave. As he said that, Ethan waved the wand in his hand, and a pitch-black python with a body length of more than 50 feet and as thick as a bucket appeared in the open space in front. Although this was a direct reward from the system, the principle and everything were in Ethan's mind, so he naturally knew how to learn it. I know this. Black Dragon out of the cave. A black snake that was extremely small compared to Ethan appeared. It's barely okay, then I'll teach you the next one. It's enough to know how to dispatch Wulong, you don't need to be proficient, just like clicking on a skill, you have to light it up before you can click on the next one. Chapter 57. Time quickly came to December. Saturday, just after 8 o'clock. Ethan, wake up, it's snowing. Early in the morning, Terry yelled in the dormitory and opened the window. This is the top floor of the tower, and the cold wind mixed with the snowflakes made Ethan wake up instantly. It's just snowing, are you so surprised? Ethan yawned and sat up, looking at his roommate speechlessly. In this winter, there is nothing better than a warm bed, not to mention that there are no classes today. This is the first snow since we came to Hogwarts. Look down there, someone is already having a snowball fight. Terry was quite excited. To be honest, Ethan felt that he might be suitable for Gryffindor. That Ravenclaw who didn't think about studying, but chose to have a snowball fight? That's right, you can't sleep on the day you sleep. Maybe there are seniors waiting for you downstairs to build a snowman together. Jean on the side also agreed with Terry's idea. For the sake of the senior, Ethan did not insist. After changing his clothes, he left the dormitory with a few people. After breakfast, when we came to the outside of Hogwarts, there were already quite a few people here. There were lions, badgers, and snakes piled up in the snow on the open space, but there was no trace of the eagle. Well, without the help of magic, this eagle should not be able to be piled up. Ethan, let's build a snowman together. 930. As soon as the open space by the Black Lake came out, Chu Jong saw Ethan from a distance and shouted loudly. Ethan looked over in the direction of the voice, and there were 4 girls, all seniors. In addition to Chu Jong and Penelope, there were also Chu Zhang's roommate and best friend Marietta Eichmo, and Penelope's roommate Enid Hansen. Ethan had some impression of Marietta, because she reported Harry. But it was understandable. It was hard for a student to resist the pressure of the pink toad. Moreover, the toad had great power in the Ministry of Magic and was backed by the minister. Marietta's family worked in the Ministry of Magic. If she offended them, she would have trouble living. We won't bother you, Michael, let's have a snowball fight. Terry saw this and pulled Michael to the craziest and most crowded area, where the colleges were having a snowball fight. Have fun. Seeing Ethan approaching, Enid Hansen patted Penelope's perky butt and left with Marietta. After being roommates for so long, who doesn't know who? It's just that in her opinion, Ethan is involved with too many girls, so he is not a good choice. But Penelope is willing, and no one can control it. Then the 3 of them made snowmen and took ice cubes from the Black Lake to make ice sculptures. They didn't retreat until their hands were frozen red, after all, the shackles can't keep you warm when you touch ice and snow directly. Crack. A huge sound came from the ice of Black Lake, and a large crack appeared near the center of Black Lake. The little wizards on the ice hurriedly ran away. I saw a huge tentacle breaking through the ice and stretched out, followed by the second, third, and even the whole octopus crawling out. I don't know if it wants to come out to bask in the Sunday, Prefect, there's a fight over there. A little Ravenclaw wizard ran to Ethan and the other 2 breathlessly and reported to Penelope. Who's fighting? All 4 colleges are fighting, it's a mess. The prefects of Gryffindor and Hufflepuff have arrived, and he came here because he saw Penelope was the closest prefect to the scene. The prefect has the right to deal with things like this, he can't just watch Ravenclaw eat. If it's more serious, he will call the professor. What's going on? Gryffindor threw a snowball, and ended up putting a rock in it and throwing it at Slytherin's head. Slytherin retaliated with the rock, hitting our Ravenclaw. I don't know how Hufflepuff got involved, and now they use wands instead of rocks. I'll go right away. After saying hello to Ethan, Penelope trotted to the snowball fight. As a prefect, Penelope has the responsibility of managing the little wizards. I just don't know how Terry and the others are doing. Several roommates should be there now, but it shouldn't be a big problem. Ethan, I'm going to Quidditch practice. Do you want to watch? Penelope left, and now only Chujong and Ethan were left, but Chujong also had to go to Quidditch practice at 10 o'clock. The Quidditch House Cup has already begun. Last week, Gryffindor and Slytherin competed. Due to Ethan's intervention, Harry was not selected for the Gryffindor team, which made Slytherin win. The next game is between Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff, so the two houses will train hard whenever they have free time, and they are bound to win. As the seeker of the Ravenclaw team, Chujong must not be absent. I won't go. You know, I'm not interested in Quidditch. Ethan's flying talent is still very high. Chujong also wants Ethan to sign up for Quidditch next year, and then the two will play together. But Ethan declined politely, because he really has no interest in it. If it's gambling, Ethan can still play a few hands, but forget about playing in person. After separating from Chujong, Ethan plans to go to the library. The restricted book area pass approved by Quirrell is only valid before Christmas, so now he will go to see if there are any books related to alchemy and ancient magic. Ethan read several books about alchemy and tried some alchemy works, all of which were made from materials he found in the Forbidden Forest. The finished products include shoes with lightness and silence spells, a crystal ball that can cast the same lighting spell as Seamus, spider silk clothes that can automatically remove cold and protect against cold, etc. Oh hey, what are you doing? On the way to the library, Ethan saw George and Fred, who were sneaking around, both holding snowballs in their hands. SHH, keep your voice down. The two were startled, turned around and saw that it was Ethan, and then they breathed a sigh of relief. What are you doing? Professor Quirrell just came into the office. Then what? Don't you want to see what's behind Professor Quirrell's scarf? Fred looked at Ethan in surprise. Quirrell has been wrapping his head with a scarf since the beginning of the school year, and has never changed his scarf. The two of them suspected that there must be some shameful secrets behind the scarf. So after seeing Quirrell today, they followed him all the way here. What are you going to do? Ethan almost guessed it. He had heard from netizens before that it was because the twins hit Voldemort, who is now Quirrell, on the back of the head with a snowball that one of them was killed. Hit him with snowballs, and wait until the snow soaks his scarf. I don't believe he won't untie it. Fred looked at Ethan with a smug look on his face. He felt that this idea was great. Ethan, do you want to join us? George invited Ethan. 1308. But do as I say. Ethan used transfiguration to make a bucket that could be opened and closed from the bottom, and filled it with snow water. We put this bucket on the door with magic, and then use silk thread to connect the bottom of the barrel to the door. As long as the door is opened, the bottom of the bucket will open. We hide here and don't expose ourselves, otherwise the professor will definitely lose points for playing a prank, and then Professor McGonagall will kill you. Okay, I'll listen to you. George and Fred looked at each other and agreed with Ethan's proposal. What could be better than being able to achieve the goal and avoid losing points? Soon Ethan arranged everything and waited for Quirrell to take the bait. Creak. The office door finally moved. Under the gaze of Ethan and others, Quirrell walked out without any defense. Suddenly, the bottom of the wooden barrel above his head was opened, and a large amount of snow water fell from the air. Quirrell was soaked. Ah! Quirrell screamed in grief, and after looking around and finding no one, he hurried back to the office and closed the door. It seems that he is hiding something. He didn't take it off even though it was wet like this. Fred was more certain of his judgment. It's none of our business what he is hiding. Let's leave it here. If you are caught playing a prank on the professor, at least 50 points will be deducted from each person. Now Gryffindor has not even 100 points. Are you sure you want to challenge Professor McGonagall's bottom line? It's all the fault of the damn bat monster. George cursed Snape with some fear. If it weren't for him, Gryffindor would not be so miserable. It's almost Christmas now. If all the points of Gryffindor are deducted, if Professor McGonagall is not happy, he and Fred will be even sadder. After a few more instructions, Ethan parted ways with the two. If it were someone else, you would just take care of this trivial matter and that would be it. He only had a good impression of the twins, and now they are friends, so he helped them. And he just completed an achievement. Draw the sword to the Demon King wearing shining armor, holding a sharp sword, with a firm gaze and a resolute step. The roar of the Demon King shook the world, but the brave man was not afraid, and courage was running in his blood. Achievement goal, cause damage to the Dark Lord, 1/1, achievement reward, snake voice walking on the way to the library. Ethan closed the panel, which was a reward better than nothing. The snake voice guy can only communicate with snakes and open the door of the Chamber of Secrets, and the rest is useless. Just like Harry, except for using it in the Chamber of Secrets, it is just a decoration afterwards. Walking into the library, it was much bigger than it looked from the outside. The densely packed bookshelves were linked together, and each bookshelf had at least 0.3 thousand books, and there were people maintaining order inside. There were not many students inside today, but Ethan still saw Hermione. After saying hello to her, Ethan went straight to the restricted area. Madame Pants looked at Ethan and didn't care. After all, Ethan had been to the restricted area more than once, and the pass was still with her. Although she didn't understand why Quirrell gave Ethan a note, it was none of her business. Last time, Ethan had looked for the famous book High-End Black Magic Decryption, but this library didn't have it at all. It was all recorded in it. Deep black magic, including the method of making Horcruxes, but there was no one in the Black family. It took nearly an hour, and Ethan finally picked out 3 books, Runes Explained, Ancient Magic, Lost Power, and Alchemy, Equivalent Exchange. Alchemy is the most complicated subject. There are only 12 subjects in the O, W, L, S exams at Hogwarts, but why are there 13 subjects? It's very simple. Alchemy is for the 6th grade. That's right, you can only take the alchemy class after taking the O, W, L exams. Alchemy is closely related to ancient magic, especially those complex and advanced alchemy. Ancient magic is quite brain-burning. Many Hogwarts graduates who have chosen ancient magic can only memorize some content in the textbook and forget about understanding and using it. Chapter 58. December 21st. Christmas is just a few days away, and Hogwarts has also ushered in the Christmas holiday, winter vacation, which lasts for 2 weeks. This Christmas, the whole dormitory decided to go home, and they had applied a few days ago. After packing up the gifts, Ethan and his roommates went to the hall together. The hall was already decorated at this time, with colorful ribbons hanging on the wall, and 12 towering Christmas trees standing on both sides, with colorful lights flashing on them, all prepared for the students who stayed in school. They will spend this Christmas vacation with the professors in school. Ethan, bring your roommates over. At the long table of Ravenclaw, Penelope was calling Ethan, and there were several first-year wizards reading something beside her. One per person, you can only leave school after signing this. When Ethan and his group arrived, Penelope gave each person a piece of parchment with the seal of the Ministry of Magic on it. Notice of prohibition of underage magic use outside of school. Why do you have to sign this? Terry, holding the parchment, cried out in surprise. He was going to show off his skills to his Muggle parents after returning home, but signing this is too much. Everyone has to sign, unless you don't plan to leave school before adulthood, then you don't have to sign. One more reminder for you, this is a contract magic with detection effect. You will be caught if you cast spells outside of school, and there will be 2 or 3 little wizards caught every year, of course, if you cast spells in a wizard gathering place. Penelope kindly reminded. She also signed this in the 1st grade, and thought that everyone couldn't cast spells, but those born in wizard families said that they had no restrictions and could cast spells at will. At that time, Penelope knew the big gap between the two sides. 18. It can be said that this is a means to restrict Muggle wizards. Ethan looked down at the notice. First, wizards under the age of 17 are minors and are prohibited from casting spells outside of school. Second, it is illegal for underage wizards to cast spells outside of school. The Ministry of Magic will hold them accountable, and serious cases will be punished by expulsion. There are a total of 9 prohibitions, all of which are about not being able to cast spells and complying with the International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy. In the end, Ethan signed his name. This thing is the legendary trace. Contract magic still has a strong binding force in this world. The unbreakable oath is so powerful that violating it can even cost one's life. But it doesn't work for Ethan. As long as he doesn't see any magic with his own eyes, he won't be detected. It can be said that cheaters can do whatever they want. After breakfast, the students who left school were gathered together. This time they didn't have to walk the Founder's Path again, and took a carriage directly to the station. Harry, are you going home for Christmas too? On the way, Ethan found an unexpected figure. He remembered that Harry seemed to have spent Christmas with Ronald, and he didn't go home on this holiday. Well, I have to thank you for that. What you said to me last time made me think clearly. Last week I sent some gifts in a letter to my aunt. I received a reply a few days ago. She asked me to go back for Christmas and prepared a Christmas present for me. Harry's face was full of emotion. He hadn't received a Christmas present for many years, not to mention his aunt's family. He would never have dared to think about it before. Don't forget to ask about Snape. Ethan reminded him. I was looking forward to Harry knowing that his mother and Snape were childhood sweethearts, but his father succeeded in snatching Snape's childhood sweetheart. What would Harry be like then, and how would he face Snape? Well, I'll ask. Harry nodded seriously, which was also the purpose of his return home. Snape had gone crazy recently, and Harry's life was even more difficult, which made him eager to find out the specific reason. By the way, Ethan, do you know Nicholas Flamel? Suddenly, Harry seemed to have thought of something and asked Ethan. Recently, he and Ronald had been running to the library frequently, just to find out who Nicholas Flamel was. This was related to what the package Hagrid had taken out from Gringotts was. It can only be said that the curiosity of Gryffindors is really strong. Didn't you buy a lot of chocolate frogs from George last time? The card inside has his information. If I tell you directly, your efforts during this period will be in vain. If he and Ronald had carefully read the card of Dumbledore's chocolate frog, they wouldn't have to look for it for so long. Okay, I'll look for it when I come back from vacation. I remember Ronald has a hobby of collecting chocolate frog cards. Finally found the direction, Harry was a little annoyed. I shouldn't have listened to Ronald's nonsense, saying that this matter couldn't be known to others, so that they could only look for clues by themselves. If it weren't for Ethan, who knows when they would know who Nicholas Flamel is. While the two were talking, they also arrived at the boarding point. This is an open space with hundreds of carriages neatly placed on it. The old students got on the carriages very naturally, and the freshmen got on the carriages in an orderly manner under the arrangement of the class leader. Ethan boarded a carriage with Hermione, Cassandra, and Chujong. There was still a smell of straw and mold in the carriage. After everyone boarded, the carriage started running. The shaft in front was still empty, and the carriage flew up. The speed was quite fast, but it was a bit bumpy. Is this a self-driving magic flying carriage? Hermione looked at all this in surprise. If it were in the Muggle world, it would be a supernatural event, but this is the Wizard's world, everything makes a lot more sense. Anyway, there are many things that move in Hogwarts, and even the people in the portraits can run out by themselves. The one pulling our carriage is a night thestral, a magical animal of XXXX level. If you have read the book Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, you will know it. Only people who have experienced death can see it. Ethan explained to the 3 women, and you can see from their reactions that none of them can see it. Ethan was able to see the night thestral because he killed the wizard with a big melon. This thing doesn't look good, it's skinny, and even skinny, with all the ribs exposed, it's completely black, its head is like a dragon, and it has huge bat wings on its back. I just don't know which one of them my staff corps came from. No one of us mentioned this problem last year. Like Hermione, we thought the carriage was ours. Chujong also suddenly realized that when he first got on the carriage, he was curious, but he didn't go into it. When my family went to the farm for vacation, I saw the farmer killing sheep, but I still couldn't see it. Asking if you don't understand, or looking for answers, this is Hermione's habit. This experience of life and death is not for animals, but for people. Killing people with your own hands, or having relatives and friends die in front of you, you have to be sad and impressed by it. Ethan explained helplessly that Harry could only see the Thestrals because he witnessed Cedric's death. Then Ethan described the Thestrals' appearance to the three of them. Not long after he finished speaking, the Thestrals brought them to the station. The speed was really fast. After getting on the Hogwarts Express, the four of them found a compartment to sit down. Ethan used magic to put their gifts on the shelf. Ethan, do you want to spend Christmas at my house? You have signed the Notice of Prohibition of the Use of Magic by Minors outside of school. You cannot cast spells outside of school, but you can do so at my house. My house is very big. She wanted to strike first. Ethan is so outstanding, his parents should not refuse. Cassandra thought secretly. My dad said he would take me to the Santa Claus village in Finland for Christmas this year. Ethan, do you want to go with me? Glancing at Cassandra, Hermione also made an invitation. Although her house is not as big as Cassandra's and she can't cast spells, who can refuse to spend their Christmas in Santa Claus village? Chujong just smiled and said nothing. Is it possible for me to spend Christmas at home? Ethan looked at the two helplessly. Fortunately, Penelope went to the prefect's box, and they were responsible for patrolling and maintaining order, etc. Otherwise, according to her personality, she would most likely come to interfere. Chu, where are you going to spend Christmas? Seeing that Ethan didn't go to anyone's house, Hermione had nothing to argue about, so she turned to look at Chujong who was sitting next to her. As far as she knew, many places in Asia did not celebrate Christmas, because they did not believe in Jesus, and Chujong was Asian. I also celebrate it at home. Does your family celebrate Christmas? Yes, but not too much, our family is all Chinese. Chujong, this is how she is called in Great Britain. Her parents call her Zhongqiu at home. Both of them are Chinese, and they have only come here in recent years. For Christmas, they just give gifts according to local customs and eat better. There is nothing special. Both of her parents came to Great Britain as liaisons, which is similar to the embassy in the Muggle world. She stayed in Hogwarts to study in order to be closer to her parents. Have you been back to China? Yes, I went to my grandfather's house last summer vacation. Time passed as the few people chatted until the sky darkened and the train finally returned to platform 9 3/4. Ethan, I will definitely make the magic you want for you when I go home this time. Cassandra promised Ethan as she walked off the train with her suitcase. After the competition, she sent a letter home to her father, asking him to send her the methods of practicing the three magics of fire escape protection, Gublé fairy fire, and fire god opening the way, but was rejected on the grounds that these magics were too difficult and too dangerous, saying that these were not magics she should learn at her age. At that time, Cassandra was sure that there must be these magics at home. She didn't know if they were all complete, but there was at least one. If her family didn't give them to her, couldn't she find them herself? This Christmas, she had to find them even if she had to turn the house upside down. Okay, but I won't force it. It would be best if I could find them, but it would be fine if I couldn't. Don't worry, I can definitely. Cassandra, this way. Belinda Worley has been standing here for a long time, but her daughter has been talking to the little boy next to her and seems not to have noticed this. Fortunately, she came to pick her up today. If her husband saw this scene, what would happen? A woman takes her husband's surname after marriage. This is Ethan Adrian, I said it in the letter. Cassandra's little face flushed as she pulled Ethan to her mother and introduced him, and then pointed to the two people behind her. These two are Hermione Granger and Chujong. Mrs. Wally winked at Cassandra. Hello, Mr. Adrian. Cassandra mentioned you many times in her letter, saying that you take good care of her. When will you have time to visit my house? It was a lie to say that she mentioned you many times. It was only 3 times. But Mrs. Wally, who knew her daughter well, how could she not know what Cassandra's repeated mention of little boys of the same age meant? In the past, she had disdained other people. Being favored by her daughter means that he is better than her daughter, otherwise he would not be in Cassandra's eyes. In addition, after seeing him today, she can definitely accept this son-in-law. As for the other two, they are definitely her daughter's competitors. After all, excellent boys are always popular with girls. Next time for sure. Ethan was a little embarrassed. Cassandra's mother felt that she was too enthusiastic. But the mother and daughter look really alike. Blonde hair, blue eyes, big waves, long legs and thin waist. I don't know how many years it will take for Cassandra to grow like this. Then it's settled. Next time for sure. After that, he said to the following after Hermione greeted Chujong, she operated away with Cassandra. Next came Chu Zhang's father, a middle-aged Asian man. After greeting, he also operated away with Chujong. Outside the station, Hermione introduced Ethan to her parents again. Only after Hermione got on the bus did Ethan go to where the driver was waiting for him. Meeting 3 groups of parents in one day was really tiring. Chapter 59. After a night's rest at home, Ethan went to Nocturne Alley the next day. His parents were away on business trips, but they promised to be home before Christmas, and now there was no one to restrain him. I just don't know if it's because of the holiday, so these dark wizards are out to improve their performance. It's just like the thieves in China who are particularly rampant before the Chinese New Year. I just entered Nocturne Alley, and before I had time to find an empty place to start shadow stealth, I was targeted. It's really my turn to make some extra money. So Ethan started to walk towards the side road, deliberately alienating the crowd and leading it to a sparsely populated area. Soon, they came to an empty alley, and just as they entered the corner, this person couldn't wait. Krusha. A gloomy and hoarse voice sounded from behind Ethan, but before the spell hit Ethan, a colorful figure rushed out from under Ethan's cloak at an extreme speed and hit the unforgivable curse head-on. The wing, which was still moving, cut the hand of the wizard's wand. Blood gushed out, and the wizard watched his wrist and wand fly into the air. It was only then that he realized what had happened. Ah! A shrill scream sounded, and it was really a late realization. Curly-winged demon. The man who was hanging 10 meters behind the wizard and was responsible for keeping watch retreated in fear after seeing the attacker clearly. An adult winged demon cannot be subdued by just 1 or 2 wizards. It is small and fast, has high magic resistance and is poisonous. Many wizards would rather encounter a fire dragon than a winged demon. Moreover, this thing eats brains, which is considered to be a very evil magical animal of the XXXXX type. Ethan, anyway, I don't know if Ethan is an adult. When I first raised him, he was not an adult. I don't know how old he is considered an adult, and how long it will take to become an adult. But after eating energy cubes for such a long time, plus the fire dragon brain, his body size is larger than the standard data recorded in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and his physical fitness is also better. Although the normal winged demon is also powerful, it can't cut off the arm with its wings. It's no problem to break the bone, mainly because the bone spurs on both sides of the wings are not as sharp as Ethan's. I surrender. He put away his wand and raised his hands to face Ethan. He had no chance to escape in front of the winged demon. Rather than fighting to the death and then dying, he would rather humbly ask for life. Ethan looked at the scene speechlessly. This guy must be from next door. He surrendered so skillfully. Bruno, kill him, what's the point of surrendering? He is a small wizard who relies on the winged demon. Killing him may resolve the crisis of the winged demon. The wizard who covered his broken hand looked at his companion with a painful face. He didn't expect his companion to be so cowardly. It's no wonder he came from a certain country. You know nothing. Bruno glanced at his companion and turned to look in the direction of Ethan. I really surrender, and you can do whatever you want. Bruno, you. The wizard with the broken hand immediately cursed, and his tone was quite bad. The only ray of life was abandoned by his teammates. He was now dead. The hand holding the wand was broken, the wand was lost, and he had completely lost the ability to resist. He also used the unforgivable curse on the opponent. There was no way out. As the green light in his eyes became stronger and stronger, he looked at his teammates with a resentful look. He would never find such a person as a partner even if he died. The surrendered man on the other side also lied in his heart. He knew exactly what the green light meant. He immediately did a skilled donkey roll, ready to use it to avoid the upcoming killing curse. Just when he was glad that he had avoided this big melon, he realized that the target of the green light was not him at all, but the companion he just met last week. That's right, they just met in the pub last week, and they didn't have much friendship. They just planned to work together to do something. They will decide whether to continue to cooperate or separate according to the situation this time. It's just that he was eating a big melon just now, and it seems that he didn't hear any spells, and he didn't even see the little wizard take out his wand. What's going on? There's someone hiding on the side? What country are you from? Take him or kill him, Ethan is ready to see his value. The 3 trash he collected in Nocturne Alley last time seemed to be useless. France next door, Brittany, Muggleborn. The man was stunned, not understanding why he was asked, but he still said it honestly. Sure enough, he was from France next door, no wonder he surrendered so skillfully. Tell me, what can you do, what's valuable about it? As he said this, Ethan cast a flying spell and pulled the pocket of the corpse that was eaten by the big melon over. The corpse was left to the winged demon and the Voldemort to deal with. One ate the brain and the other ate the corpse. They got along quite well. I know how to make potions. I can make most of them, and the quality is absolutely up to standard. Bruno confessed honestly, fearing that he would end up like his teammates. Fortunately, he surrendered to his genetic instinct and did not listen to his SB teammate, otherwise he would have ended up like him. Not to mention the big melon that came from nowhere, these 2 pets, even if there were 10 more, I'm afraid they would just be enough to eat. I don't know what the education in Great Britain is like. There are actually little wizards who carry winged demons and volley bats with them. What potions do you know? Knowing how to make potions is nothing. Generally, Hogwarts graduates who have passed the N.E.W.T.S. exams, that is, the advanced wizard exams, are not bad at potion level and can make some common potions. There are not a lot of such people, but there are quite a few. Polyjuice potion, life and death water, joy potion, relaxant, wolfsbane potion, hallucinogen, love potion. Do you know how to make the lucky spirit potion? He listened to dozens of potions in one breath. There were indeed some valuable potions, such as compound potion, wolfsbane potion, and love potion, which were difficult to brew and took a long time to brew. But he didn't have the lucky potion he wanted most. This thing is said to bring luck to people and make everything they want to do successful. Ta. Bruno shook his head with some difficulty. His teacher never taught him the formula of this potion. However, I know another potion formula. I always use it to increase the magic potion garden. Oh, tell me. The magic potion, the name of which is related to magic power. Ethan has flipped through the book of powerful potions, but has never seen this potion. Well, my teacher is Willard Bunyel, the former potion professor of Beau's Batons. When he resigned, he took me and 2 other students as his potion apprentices. While teaching us potion knowledge, we also researched new potions together. This magic enhancement potion is the result of our nearly 10 years of research, but after he succeeded, he could not tolerate us. When he was about to kill us, we 3 counter-killed him. Now we have all escaped from France. I came to Great Britain, and they went to the United States and Northern Europe. It's just that although I remember the formula of this magic enhancement potion, I am mainly responsible for recording the data and have never actually operated it. Bruno gritted his teeth and confessed everything. This time he came to Nocturne Alley because he wanted to open a potion business, but he didn't have many gold galleons, so he was ready to make some money. He just found a temporary partner, and the first target was Ethan, which caused the car to overturn. Alright, it works a little. The Imperious curse was thrown out and controlled him directly. Then he collected the winged demons and stomping bats that had dealt with the corpses, and prepared to go to the base of the 3 idiots. During this period, although the 2 sides had no contact, according to the spell of the ghost mark, Ethan was able to locate them there. There was one in this base, but Ethan didn't know who it was. Arrived at the door, triggered the ghost mark, and asked him to come and open the door. Boss, you are here. Dennis ran down to open the door, with the word humble written all over his face. After taking Bruno into the room, Ethan began to ask them about their situation during this period. As a result, they learned that their organization, THRES, had revived, and of course they didn't dare to be as arrogant as before, but chose to keep a low profile. As for the stomping bats, winged demons, and gold galleons taken away by Ethan, the higher UPS didn't investigate, because more than half of the small teams in the region had problems, and it was meaningless to investigate whether it was true or not. They are now also using the human skin mask given by the organization to secretly move outside. This human skin mask can record 3 faces. It is not as complete as the transformation of the polyjuice potion, but it is more convenient. After all, the polyjuice potion can only last for 1 hour, and you need to continue drinking it after the effect wears off. What goods are here recently? Fire crabs, bowtruckles, billywigs, fox charmers, and a fire dragon egg. Dennis explained everything clearly. Who let Ethan be the boss now, and the organization's affairs can only be in the back. What's the matter with the fire dragon egg? Ethan remembered that their organization would only transport magical animals of the XXXXX level to the country after someone wanted to buy them. The Fly family said they were interested in the winged demon, so they transported it here, but the price was not agreed upon, and the Voldemort was simply placed in Great Britain to try their luck, because the wizards here are richer. Maybe they are interested in this very dangerous but rare goods. This is the buyer that Dawn found at the Hog's Head. Last month, a wizard privately offered a high price to buy a dragon egg, regardless of type. Is that wizard wearing a purple scarf and smelling of garlic? The Hog's Head and dragon eggs remind me of Hagrid, but Hagrid didn't buy the dragon egg. Quirrell gave it to him on purpose, just to trick him into thinking of a way to deal with the 3-headed dog. I don't know if he wore a scarf, but Dawn said he smelled strongly of garlic. It's Quirrell, that BD. What kind of dragon egg is this? How much do you want for it? Hesperidian black dragon egg, 8,000 gold galleons. Isn't it a Norwegian ridgeback? How did it become a Hesperidian black dragon? Is it the butterfly effect caused by my arrival in contact with this group of losers? You still dare to go to the Hesperidian Islands? Didn't you fail there last time? Why are you so bold? Last time the buyer wanted an adult dragon, this time it's a dragon egg. We have a deal with the dragon trainer, Jian Zhao Zhao, inside. There are at least 3 dragon eggs in a nest. As long as they can confuse the dragon, they can take out the dragon eggs. We charge 3,000 gold galleons. Ethan understood it. Collusion between inside and outside. Many companies in the Muggle world have the same internal situation. It is not uncommon in the wizarding world. When are you going to trade? On the 3rd day after Christmas, outside Hogsmeade. I'll go with you then. If he doesn't do it, Quirrell will be sorry. He should find another way to get his dragon egg, and Ethan will take this one for himself. Bruno, you stay here and make the magic potion. As he said that, Ethan planted the mark of the ghost on him, so he couldn't run away. Boss, I don't have the ingredients for the potion now. Bruno quickly got into the state and followed Dennis to learn. The Imperious Curse just now made him think a lot more clearly. It's normal to cast the Imperious Curse silently and without a wand, so it was only this little wizard from beginning to end. After thinking it through, he followed his heart. What materials are needed? Fire ash snake eggs, liquid grass, water from the Lethe River, weather bird feathers, bird snake eggshells, 2 horned beast horn powder, and Australian egg white dragon blood. A lot of it is needed, 8 pints, and the final simmering time is 3 months. Bruno answered with some difficulty. Just these materials would cost more than 1,000 gold galleons. His teacher also had the family to back him up, and he would sell some magic potions from time to time, which was enough to support his research. I will prepare the materials for you, but I don't want to hear bad news. Chapter 60. December 25th, Christmas Day. After washing up, Ethan was shocked by the scene in front of him when he came to the living room. In the middle of the living room, there were gift boxes piled up like a mountain, and now there was no place to step. It can be said that it was completely beyond Ethan's expectations. Of course, Ethan also gave away a lot of Christmas gifts. In the past few days before returning, Ethan spent a lot of time on this. He had his own alchemy props, Muggle products, books, and impurities purchased from Flourish and Blots, wizard candy, prank gadgets, and those that he knew his preferences, such as wizard chess and golden snitch. But the amount Ethan gave away should be only about half of the domain. Ethan, you are very popular in the magic school. On the other side of the gift, Nisha covered her mouth and chuckled. As expected, he was her son. No matter where he was so outstanding. Almost early this morning, she and Philemon heard knocking sounds. After checking, they found that it was an owl with a gift in its claws. They immediately understood everything and asked Philemon to open the window. Unexpectedly, there would be so many gifts when he woke up, more than Ethan received when he was studying in a Muggle school. That's right, I'm the head of the grade, and the professors are very respectful of me. It is true that he only reports good news to his family, and other professors, except Snape, have a good impression of him. When my mother just came home yesterday, she hugged me and kept shouting you've worked hard and you've lost weight, and she would touch my hair and kiss my forehead from time to time. Obviously, in the past few months, Ethan has grown nearly 5 centimeters taller and his body has become stronger. I really don't know where she got this conclusion. I believe my son is the best. You open the gifts first, and I'll prepare a big meal for you. Originally, they were a little worried about Ethan's situation yesterday, because they had experience. How could they not know that as long as there is a society, there will be classes? The wizarding world is an independent society. Even if they don't know the situation, they know that the highest status in it is the so-called wizard aristocracy. Just like the Muggle world, there is nothing. Muggle wizards who have just entered the wizarding world are the lowest class, just like poor boys from the countryside struggling in the big city. So they are very worried about Ethan's campus life, whether he will be bullied or something. After seeing the gifts today, they believe that what Ethan said is true. If Ethan is not popular enough, he will never get such a number of Christmas gifts. By the way, we like the Christmas gifts you gave us very much. After saying that, Nisha turned and went into the kitchen. How could she not like it? The things Ethan gave were things that men and women would never refuse. The one for Mom was a beauty potion, which was used to improve skin and resist aging. It was bought in Diagon Alley. No woman would say no to such a thing. The one for Dad was a box of dragon blood wine. Dennis went to the tavern to get it for Ethan. Ethan was too embarrassed to go there himself. Those who know the specific effects know it. Anyway, Dennis said that after drinking a small cup, you can play for 2 hours without stopping. The next day, both your physical and mental state are quite full, without any discomfort. Next is Ethan's blind box opening time. He opened 5 or 6 in a row. Basically, they were all various chocolates, and they were all signed by seniors. Not only Ravenclaw, but even Slytherin had seniors send chocolates. It's unimaginable. But Ethan didn't dare to eat the chocolates, which was a bit of a waste. After all, he didn't know if there was any drug in them. Especially the love potion. Can you believe that it is not prohibited in Hogwarts? God knows how many people will fall for it. This potion is too secretive. As long as you eat the food containing the love potion, you will fall in love with him wholeheartedly within a certain period of time. If you are lying to Bayo, it is really a sure thing. In the original book, Ronald fell for it and ate the chocolate containing the love potion, which was originally given to Harry. Then Ethan touched a relatively large box and opened it, only to find that it was sent by George and Fred. A telescope, and there was a card next to it, which said that it looked like a telescope and was also a telescope in use, but once it was twisted, a fist would spray out, and it would leave a mark after hitting. The bruise would not go away without medicine. The experimenter was Lee Jordan. The remaining package was candy, and George and Fred named them the Quick Effect Skipping Series. There were 2 types, blood-breaking beans and nosebleed nougat. The experimental effect was very good. As long as you eat them, you will be able to skip classes 100% successfully. The experimenter was Ronald Weasley. One was for pranking others, and the other was for skipping classes. Ethan didn't seem to need either. Of course, the Christmas gifts Ethan gave to George and Fred were not much better, but they suited their tastes. They were popular gadgets in the jumping and playful magic joke shop. I hope it can give them some inspiration. Then Ethan took out a very small package, and it felt like there would be a book inside. After tearing open the package, Ethan found a well-preserved but slightly old notebook with Minerva McGonagall's name written on it. After opening it, he found that this was the note that Professor McGonagall made when she first became the Professor of Transfiguration and encountered various problems. This surprised Ethan a little. As one of the most famous masters of transfiguration in the contemporary era, this notebook is definitely a treasure for those who want to master transfiguration. And what Ethan gave to Professor McGonagall was a product of Ella Owl's shop, a cat album. Because it is an alchemical product, the cats in it can move. The next one is also a notebook, but different from Professor McGonagall's. This is a new notebook. Ethan flipped it open and saw that it was sent by Professor Flitwick. It contained his understanding of compound magic, as well as some of his combat and spellcasting experience. More than a month ago, Ethan asked Professor Flitwick about compound magic, that is, the combination of magic skills. At that time, Professor Flitwick recommended several books to Ethan. I didn't expect that I would be so frustrated now. Those books did have some benefits, but the subsequent, content did not. I don't know if the publisher didn't reach this step or it didn't circulate. Now Professor Flitwick's notebook can definitely bring Ethan a considerable improvement in skills and inspiration about compound magic. Ethan gave Professor Flitwick a dress made of achromatid spider silk. The shop he chose was Tuffin Clothing Store. Clothes made of achromatid spider silk are quite comfortable. Unfortunately, Ethan can only use magic to make a wizard robe, and he doesn't have the skills to make a complicated dress. The next one is a box of bookmarks, which are very beautifully made and have a special fragrance. This is from Professor Sprout. For Ravenclaw students, this gift is quite useful. Ethan gave Professor Sprout a set of Muggle plant encyclopedia. In the next gift box, Ethan saw a lot of silver-white long hair, which really made him stunned. At least 100 or 200 unicorn tail hairs. Hagrid is really generous. This thing is sold for 10 galleons per piece. It really deserves to be the hidden rich man in Hogwarts. The Weasley family can't make that much in a year. It should be after seeing Ethan collecting materials from various magical animals that Hagrid gave this. What Ethan gave was not worth mentioning, except that it was really useful to Hagrid, a vixen killer. Some time ago, Hagrid complained that there was a vixen in the vegetable garden again. Although Hogwarts has a potion master, Hagrid will not go to Snape. Then he unpacked it, and found a fiery red feather, which was given by Dumbledore. It felt warm to the touch, and it must be fox feather. What Ethan gave was a pair of woolen socks. No one knew what Dumbledore wanted, except for the woolen socks that seemed to be a joke. Woolen socks represent family affection, so are these gifts from the professors of Hogwarts piled together? As for Professor Snape, how could Ethan think of giving him a gift? I guess not many of them in Slytherin College would receive it. Soon, Ethan also unpacked Hermione's gift box, which contained a stack of photos and a box of chocolates. The chocolates were a bit ugly, as if she had made them herself. Cassandra gave a ring that can release the armor charm, which is a pretty good alchemical equipment. Chuzhong gave a bottle of Sichuan and Chongqing chili sauce from Huaxia, maybe because she saw Ethan go to Hufflepuff for hot pot many times. Penelope gave a scarf, which she knitted herself and looked very good. Ethan also gave them things they liked, Hermione a full set of Hogwarts textbooks. Chu Zhang's golden snitch, which is not cheap, 200 gold galleons. Cassandra gave a black Lolita princess dress, which seems to match her temperament. Penelope gave a sapphire necklace. If she doesn't wear a wizard robe, but a dress instead, it will definitely attract attention if it is tucked into the ravine, but only she can see it. The rest, like roommates, Harry, Neville, and some young wizards of the same level, all gave books and candies, as well as quills and other things. Ethan also sent them these things. Ravenclaw's young wizards gave books, Hufflepuff's gave candies, and Muggle snacks. Only Harry and Ethan's things are special. 2 Beretta 9-2F pistols and 2 boxes of bullets. Made of aluminum alloy, the wand core uses 9mm pistol bullets, 8.5 long, double row magazine capacity of 15 rounds, small recoil, strong power, can be used even with low strength. Ethan felt very interesting when he saw the picture of Harry with 2 guns. This is much more useful than a magic wand, and now he wants to copy it. For students, this is indeed much more useful than a magic wand. Even adult wizards will be killed if they are not careful. After opening the gifts, Ethan found that he had completed another achievement. Popular news star: a smile is like sunshine, filling the heart. Sincerity is like spring breeze, blowing through the heart. Popular people, like reflection shining in the sky. Achievement goal: receive more than 100 gifts in one day. 1/1. Achievement reward: temperament, warm and sunny big boy. What the hell? Ethan is a warm and sunny big boy. Isn't this reward equal to a free prize? Chapter 61. Nordham Cottage. The precise name came out of Ethan's mouth in a clear and precise voice, and with the appearance of a flame, Ethan disappeared directly from the fireplace. It was a bit similar to the feeling of being operated by Professor McGonagall last time. This time it was almost like being compressed and washed away in a pipe, but it was better than apparition. The vision was restored again. This was an empty wooden cottage. In addition to the fireplace where Ethan appeared, there was only a set of tables and chairs, and the rest was nothing. Soon there was a sound in the fireplace again, and Dennis Garr, Berkeley Andrew, and Don Jeff arrived one after another. They all came from merchants who specialized in teleportation business in Nocturne Alley. In Great Britain, they could reach the cottages they set up in various places by using fluo powder, and Bashi could reach them alone. Ethan and others were teleported to the outskirts of Hogslaw village. For the outside world, the charges were different depending on the country, and the door keys were also used. After leaving the hut, Ethan told the others, "Dennis, you can trade normally later." "Got it, boss." Then Dennis took the 2 and the dragon egg to the agreed trading location. Ethan drank a bottle of polyjuice potion and turned into a sturdy middle-aged white man with black hair, blue eyes, and a height of 1.9 meters, and fell about 500 meters behind the others. This polyjuice potion was added with the hair of an ordinary person in the Muggle world, an American who came to travel. After all, even if Ethan covered his face, his body size was here, and it was obvious that he was either a dwarf or a minor. When the 3 arrived, Coral had been waiting here for a long time. The first time he saw the others, Coral asked hurriedly, "Where is the dragon egg? Did you bring it?" Coral still wore a purple scarf, wrapping the back of his head tightly, and the smell of garlic on his body was still so strong, but he didn't stutter when he spoke. In order to complete Voldemort's task, Coral can be said to have taken out all his savings over the years, just for this dragon egg. The dragon egg is related to the acquisition of the Philosopher's Stone. As long as he succeeds, he will have everything, including power, wealth, and honor. Although Coral has regretted going to the Albanian forest for training and making himself look like a ghost, he has been hooked and can only go down one way, to believe the pie that Voldemort painted for him. He has no way back. This is natural. In the magical animal trade, although we charge a high price, we also pay attention to integrity, don't we? Don, open the box for him to see. Dennis looked at Coral calmly, just like in previous transactions, without revealing any flaws. The reason why the THRES organization can grow big is because of honest transactions. It's just that they have a new boss now, and the rules are no longer decided by the 3 of them. As Dorn opened the box in his arms, Coral hurried over. He had no choice but to be careful. This was his entire fortune. As for Sleaze's credit, it was none of his business. He couldn't afford any loss anyway. There was a big black, shiny egg inside, several times smaller than an ostrich egg. You can't touch it. Just when Coral was about to start, Dorn took a step back and dodged. How do I know if this is a dead egg or something else? Coral certainly disagreed. He was not studying magical animals, and he could judge its state just by looking at it. If you run away with the door key, who can we find? This is the rule. You can't touch the goods before you pay. Dennis also inserted between the 2 of them, blocking Coral's further actions. I am Quirinus Quirrell, the professor of defense against the dark arts at Hogwarts. I guarantee with my identity as a Hogwarts professor that I will definitely abide by the deal. Quirrell directly raised his identity. In this world, Hogwarts is a signboard, and the professors inside will give some face. And he really didn't intend to default on his debt. Although he had this idea at first to save the money, the Imperious Curse can only control one person at a time, and he would probably be discovered if he used it just now. There are 3 people on the opposite side, and if a conflict occurs, the dragon egg may be destroyed, so he had to give up this idea. If it was any other professor, it would be fine, but the defense against the dark arts professor? You didn't know that I graduated from Hogwarts. Which professor could teach for a full year without any problems? Either he was sent to Azkaban at the end of the year, or he died or became disabled. Besides, do you think that with our identities, we can go to Hogwarts or the Ministry of Magic to collect your debts? If you are not sincere in making this deal, then we will cancel it. Dennis's spit was sprayed on Quirrell's face, and he actually brought up the defense against the dark arts professor. Who doesn't know that this is a year-end type? And with their shady identities, they can collect debts openly and go to Hogwarts. Are they dissatisfied with not being arrested and sent to Azkaban last time? Quirrell hesitated. What the other party said made sense, and he couldn't refute it, but wasn't he afraid of being deceived? During this period, Quirrell has studied the information about dragon eggs. From the appearance, this is indeed the egg of the Hesperidian black dragon. But it is only the appearance. You pay the money and we will leave after confirmation. Don't worry about this. Seeing that Quirrell was about to be persuaded, Dennis once again showed his courtesy. Deal with him. Seeing Quirrell's hesitation, Voldemort immediately woke up from his worries. Dragon eggs are contraband that are not easy to get with Quirrell's connections. He has encountered an opportunity this time, but he doesn't know how long he will have to wait for the next one. This semester is already halfway through, and he doesn't have much time left. If he doesn't quickly find out how Hagrid controls the 3-headed dog, what will happen when the Philosopher's Stone is returned to Nicholas Flamel? Since Nicholas Flamel developed the Philosopher's Stone, there has never been a shortage of people looking for him, whether they are seeking wealth or longevity, but they just can't find his specific location. They only know that it is in France, and Voldemort himself is not sure to find it. And Quirrell's body can hardly support himself, so it's not that easy to fool the next fool. No, no, master. Quirrell agreed with tears in his eyes. It's really not your money, so you don't feel sorry, right? Wait until I confirm before leaving. Quirrell reminded again after reluctantly taking out a dragon leather bag with a traceless expansion spell cast on it. This was the legacy left by his parents, plus his salary for many years. He even sold his home to raise money. Don't worry, trust our reputation. Dennis looked at Berkeley on the side, signaling him to take the purse. At Voldemort's request, Quirrell was honest and didn't dare to say anything. After handing the purse to Berkeley, he stayed aside and watched. Berkeley poured out all the gold galleons in the dragon leather bag and began to record them with magic. No problem, 8,000 gold galleons. After counting, Berkeley nodded to the two people on the side. 5 minutes, after you confirm, we will leave. As he said that, Dorn brought the dragon egg to Quirrell's hand. After Quirrell took it, he immediately began to check it, holding it in his hands to feel it, and shining it against the Sunday. Enough, idiot, this is real, let's go. Yes, master. Quirrell responded quickly. At the moment of turning around, Dennis pulled the ghost mark on his body, telling Ethan that the transaction was over. Then the three of them fled the scene as quickly as possible, they didn't want to be affected. Quirinus Quirrell. Who? On the way back to Hogwarts, Quirrell suddenly heard someone behind him calling him, and immediately turned his head cautiously to watch. Thunder explosion. In an instant, the entire path was covered with orange-red flames, and rushed towards Quirrell's direction. Protect everyone, armor protection. Quirrell's reaction was also fast, and he immediately drew out his wand and quickly arranged double protection. At this moment, he only had one thought, that he was being robbed. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to encounter such a situation just after the transaction. These poachers really deserve to die. Even when I was the Dark Lord, I didn't choose to rob my fellow poachers. How dare you rob my fellow poachers? I still believe in your reputation, shit. Boom. 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 The violent roars continued, and the orange-red flames left a mess. The first blue barrier was torn into pieces in just a moment. The second barrier stood firm under Quirrell's continuous supply of magic power. Avada Kedavra. Quirrell's counterattack came very quickly, and the flames had not completely dissipated before they arrived. In this dark green light that was faster than usual, Ethan felt a sense of despair in his heart. Is this what it feels like to be bitten by a big melon? Bang. A stone wall rose up, intercepting the dark green light, but it was also blown to pieces. The use of transfiguration transformed a small stone on the ground into a stone wall that could just cover the human figure. Looking at Quirrell who was intact and could fight back, Ethan knew his true level. It can be said that he is a genius of Ravenclaw who once received 12 O grades, and he has the confidence to dare to experience adventures all over the world. It's just that his performance in the past period of time has made Ethan look down on him. If you leave now, I will pretend that nothing happened. Quirrell held the box in one hand and raised the wand in the other hand, and suggested to Ethan. After a simple fight, Quirrell found that this was not something that could be taken down in a short time, or that the opponent's strength was not inferior to his own. Carrying Voldemort on his back, the impact on him was not small, and he had to protect the dragon egg, so he really didn't want to fight. Okay. Leave the box to me, Ava, Su-Ming. Big tree fly over. Quirrell, who was always alert, was naturally not so easy to sneak attack. He was not as good at transfiguration as Ethan, and he was not sure that he could complete the transformation before the big melon came. But in terms of spells, Quirrell was quite confident. A large tree on the right was immediately pulled by a huge force, almost breaking in half and blocking Quirrell, successfully blocking Ethan's big melon. But before Quirrell could fight back, his heart suddenly twitched, and his body also spasmed uncontrollably and fell down. It hurt a lot, and there was no part of his body that didn't hurt. Quirrell naturally understood what happened. He was hit by the Cruciatus curse. As for how he was hit, Quirrell couldn't figure it out, and there was no way to figure it out. After all, the pain was almost over. Looking at Quirrell who fell to the ground, Ethan waved his wand and the box containing the dragon egg flew over. On the surface, it was the killing curse, but in fact, the Cruciatus curse hidden in secret was the real deal. As for why the Imperius curse was not used, with Voldemort behind his head, it would be a miracle if the Imperius curse could work. With Professor Flitwick's experience in casting spells, plus Ethan's unforgivable curse, he could cast spells silently and without a wand, so the release was quite fast. Waste, give me your body. Voldemort on the back of his head finally couldn't help it. The dragon egg was taken away, and Quirrell was in such a state. If Quirrell died, he would only be left with a remnant soul. What else could he do? Quirrell really didn't want to give his body to Voldemort. Carrying him with him was already consuming his vitality. If he gave it to Voldemort, the speed at which his vitality would be consumed would be like a river bursting its banks, and it would be impossible to stop it. Hurry up. Seeing that Quirrell didn't respond, Voldemort began to urge him. Chapter 62. Black mist began to rise from Quirrell's body, and the struggle on the ground stopped. His eyes turned scarlet, and his pale face began to distort, just like when Ethan drank the polyjuice potion. Until he turned into a monster with a pointed chin and a nose so flat that only 2 holes could be seen. After moving his head twice, Voldemort tore off his scarf, revealing his smooth, hairless head, and adapted to Quirrell's body as quickly as possible. I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and submit to the great Dark Lord, and I'll spare your life. Voldemort looked at Ethan with a hint of appreciation and resentment. He resented Ethan for ruining his plan, but he also appreciated the strength that Ethan showed in his current appearance. Now is the time when he is short of people, and every more lackey will increase his chances of success by 10 times. Moreover, if nothing unexpected happens, Quirrell will suffer a lot of damage after this appearance, so it would be great to prepare a container in advance. Dark Lord? Are you talking about the Dark Lord who was defeated by the baby 10 years ago and disappeared from sight, maybe hiding in that stinking ditch to live? Ethan smiled disdainfully, his eyes full of contempt for the ugly guy in front of him. Then he pointed his wand, and a stone on the ground turned into a monkey, holding the box of dragon eggs in Ethan's hand. 557 jumped a few times in the woods, and disappeared in front of him. This is to find the 3 people according to the mark of the ghost. He said this to force Voldemort out, otherwise Ethan would retreat just after getting the dragon egg. The last time, the attack in the prank situation could get an achievement, and today directly repelling Voldemort, there will be an achievement in 9 out of 10 times. Voldemort is now in a weak state. If you don't bully him, when will you wait? Looking for death. Voldemort was so angry that he trembled all over. He hadn't heard such insults directly to himself for many years. Since I became famous, everyone who saw me was trembling with fear. Those who insulted me in the past have long been crushed to ashes. Now I have met another one. Avada Kedavra. The big melon released by Voldemort himself was far from being comparable to Quirrell's. It was thicker and faster, and arrived in front of Ethan in the blink of an eye. But at the moment when it was about to touch Ethan, Ethan disappeared, and the green light that continued to move could only open a hole in the open space behind Ethan. Voldemort stared at the shadow in the shadow of the woods that was moving crazily. Most people couldn't see it, but under his perception, Ethan's magic was still obvious. Hee hee. Voldemort sneered twice, spit out his tongue that was longer than that of ordinary people, and flicked it upwards. A huge orange-red flame rose from his mouth and directly set the surrounding woods on fire. Without the shadow, it depends on how you move. With decades of experience in fighting, he saw through the essence of Ethan's magic at a glance. However, what Voldemort didn't expect was that Ethan just walked out of the fierce fire he released, but his body was surrounded by even hotter and more dazzling flames. 09. Voldemort snorted coldly, his expression became solemn. He really made a mistake. Has such a powerful junior appeared now? Then he waved the magic wand in his hand, and the magic power in Quirrell's body began to surge instantly. The surrounding orange-red fierce fire instantly boiled, as if countless firewood was added to it, and a big snake made of fierce fire jumped out of it. The scales on the snake were lifelike, and the body made of red fierce fire was also flowing like magma. This shows how proficient Voldemort is in fire spells. The moment the fierce fire snake was formed, it shot towards Ethan, as if it wanted to swallow Ethan in one bite. However, it was intercepted by a giant wolf made of fierce fire halfway, biting the neck of the snake. The giant wolf kept shaking its head and biting, and its huge claw slapped on the body of the giant snake again and again. Voldemort frowned and paid tribute again. Quirrell's life, the magic wand in his hand swung down heavily. The fiery snake exploded, and the huge magic power exploded and destroyed everything around it. The magic wolf was hit at 0 distance and was also blown into countless sparks. A huge wall of fire rose in front of Ethan, intercepting the aftermath for Ethan. Ethan looked at the ground that had turned into magma, and could only sigh that Voldemort really didn't take Quirrell's life seriously. After each explosion, Ethan could feel Voldemort's body now bulged a little bit, and his face became paler. Then see how much vitality you have left to burn. The surging fire turned into a torrent, gushing out with Ethan as the center like a wave and rushing straight to Voldemort. Voldemort's eyebrows jumped when he saw this scene. He didn't expect that the unknown wizard opposite him was so proficient in fiery. Voldemort would not just watch, he knew exactly what would happen if he was burned by fiery. He immediately waved the wand in his hand, increasing the output of magic power to control the flames beside him. The orange-red fiendish fire quickly gathered towards Voldemort until it formed a ball, and exploded at the moment when Ethan's fiendish fire was about to hit, pushing back towards Ethan with extraordinary explosive power. The huge waves of flames were fighting, and devouring each other. Suddenly, the fiend fire ravens in the sea of a fire on Ethan's side took off and attacked in the air. Voldemort was not to be outdone. The magic wand in his hand drew an arc in the air. The orange-red flames began to wriggle again. A big snake made of fiend fire opened its mouth and swallowed the fiend fire raven into its stomach. Dennis and the other 2 who stayed in the distance looked at this scene with some horror. They were already several miles away, but they could still see the sky-high flames burning over there. What was the scene like? And it was certain that Dumbledore and the professors in Hogwarts would not be attracted there. The location of the battle was not far from Hogwarts. At the same time, he was more in awe of Ethan. He just didn't expect that this professor of defense against the dark arts at Hogwarts had such strength. Avada Kedavra. A green light as thick as a thigh that could blind eyes penetrated through the sea of a fire, angrily attacking Ethan and illuminating everything around him with green. Ethan could feel that Voldemort was already fighting desperately. This was definitely a full-strength attack by Voldemort, and the effect was probably comparable to the blow that destroyed the protective spell when attacking Hogwarts. In addition, Quirrell, who was already drooping, had wrinkles on his skin at this moment. The whole person looked a little shriveled. But it still had no effect on Ethan. A giant black wolf jumped out from Ethan's shadow and swallowed the incoming green light in one gulp. The dazzling green light exploded in the black wolf's chest, blasting it apart. But the scene in front of him made Voldemort stunned for a moment. Killing one makes 2, this is beating your mother. And with this wolf around, the threat of his own Voldemort has been reduced to the lowest level. The black wolf stared at the crimson bloodthirsty eyes, roaring and rushing towards the ground. 0142071227 Falcon 2021530221 Ethan waved the wand in his hand like a conductor at a music concert, and the fiery flame began to shrink and condense. Voldemort stared at everything in front of him cautiously. He seemed to see a giant roaring in the fiery flame. He was not wrong. The flame had actually become a giant as tall as 100 meters. It seemed that lava was flowing all over the body. It was not like it, but lava. In his hand, he also held a giant sword shaped like a flame, and the tip of the sword was facing his direction. Ethan swung the wand in his hand downward fiercely, and the giant's giant sword moved synchronously and stabbed towards Voldemort's position. Defense, with Quirrell's physical condition, it was impossible to defend. Hide, the attack range is wide, and it is not easy to dodge. Clang clang. A high-pitched bird cry accompanied by fire appeared on the open space in front. With him, there was also a tall old man with white hair. Ethan suddenly increased his magic power, and the giant sword in the hand of the fire giant suddenly ignited a sky-high flame, and stabbed directly at the position where Voldemort was. After doing everything, Ethan did not look at the result, stretched his hand to a chain hanging by his waist, and the whole person disappeared in a twist. This was a door key that Ethan had prepared before coming, leading to a base of Dennis and his team in Wales. It was to prevent Dumbledore from coming. It was no problem to beat Voldemort with low health, but facing Dumbledore, who was still holding the Elder Wand, he should hide. Dumbledore was also dumbfounded at this moment. What the hell happened? He received an urgent message from Aberforth's owl and rushed here. If it happened in Hogwarts territory, he would know it at the first time, but he did not belong to Hogwarts in this place. It's just that I seem to be a little late. The surrounding environment has been completely destroyed, especially the attack I just saw, which directly turned the ground with a diameter of about 300 meters around into a lava lake. In addition, a group of uncontrolled fierce fire is spreading, and there is also this fire giant that is also raging everywhere. One of them should be Tom, who is the other one? What are you doing here? Why did the two of you conflict? Will it affect the subsequent plans of the Philosopher's Stone in Hogwarts? There are too many questions in his mind, but now there is obviously no time for him to think, because if this fire continues to burn, it will reach the Forbidden Forest. As soon as he inserted the old magic wand in his hand into the ground, a red light began to spread, gradually wrapping up the fierce fire and the giant, and then there was a collision of magic. On the other side, Voldemort, who had forcibly Operat, had fallen to the ground, or now he was Quirrell. The weak soul forced to fight, and it consumed Voldemort a lot. Quirrell, who was lying on the ground at the moment, had his eyes closed, his lips trembling, his face pale, and his body shriveled up, as if he had aged 30 or 40 years, and he was missing an arm, and his entire left arm and part of his shoulder disappeared. This was the consequence of the forced apparition just now. The powerful magic collision made the space a little unstable, and he had to face the terrifying attack. Humans are not magical animals that have this ability engraved in their bones. If the sun and the moon make a mistake, it will be a human body separation technique. Voldemort was lucky at the time. He forced the apparition and only lost an arm. And it was not his own. Chapter 63. Inside the stronghold, Ethan opened the panel, and as expected, there was a prompt for completing the achievement. Moreover, 3 of them came at once, which can be said to be Quirrell falling and Ethan eating his fill. Unscrupulous merchants blinded by greed and losing their bottom line, integrity and morality are all abandoned. Inferior goods are sold as good ones to deceive people, and the quality is worrying and unguaranteed. Achievement goal: cheat customers. 1/1. Achievement reward: a random black magic deceiving the teacher and destroying the ancestors. The teacher's kindness is as vast as the warm sun, and the hard work of educating and teaching is gone, but the rebellious disciple is perverse. Achievement goal: rebel against the teacher and cause eye damage. 1/1. Achievement reward: a random ancient magic. Brave light and darkness collide. The brave wields the sword to show his prowess, and the devil is defeated and has nowhere to hide. Achievement goal: defeat the Dark Lord. 1/1. Achievement reward: random talent. This achievement reward is not bad. It really didn't go in vain for my battle with Voldemort. Last time it was not a random talent, but a snake-tongued guy, which was useless. I hope to get a more powerful one this time. Familiar information flooded into his brain. After a moment of trance, Ethan understood the rewards he had received. First, this black magic is a possession spell. Isn't this the magic of Voldemort? It can force the soul to leave the body when dying and attach to other life forms to continue life. It's just that Voldemort's state is a little special. He is not dying, but he can't die at this stage. Only a wisp of residual soul is left, so he can attach to other life forms indefinitely to survive. For Ethan, it is basically a useless black magic. The second ancient magic, Gungnir. It is matched with Mjolnir drawn before. They are all magic used by the Nordic barbarians in the Middle Ages. Mjolnir is a huge lightning hammer with a wide attack range and high damage. Gungnir is a lightning spear projected out, which is a concentrated penetration injury with a must-hit effect, that is, it cannot be dodged, but it can be defended. Similarly, when receiving the information of the ancient magic Gungnir, Ethan also learned some information about ancient magic. The most detailed one this time was you, which represents fate and destiny. It can only be said that none of these ancient magics are simple, and they all have a lot of additional knowledge. Recently, Ethan has been learning ancient magic and alchemy, and this wave of supplements is really timely. The last talent extraction can only be said to be what you want. Lightning affinity. It is the same as the fire affinity extracted before. This lightning affinity improves the affinity and power of lightning magic. Mjolnir and Gungnir can both be used, and you can also go to Cassandra to learn a weather spell. After sorting out the harvest, Ethan is also ready to go home. This is naturally not a Muggle way of travel, otherwise Wales is not close to London. According to the information revealed by Dennis before, Ethan soon found an old drunkard, who was also a wizard. There was only one semi-gathering place for wizards here, so naturally there would not be a merchant who was responsible for teleportation. Only fools would come to a place without business. This old drunkard had cooperated with Dennis before. No matter who you were, as long as you gave him some money for wine, he could borrow the fireplace and also provide a handful of fluid powder. After paying the price of 10 sickles, Ethan came to the fireplace. With the precise place name and firelight, Ethan disappeared instantly. Fluid powder was also cheap, and the fireplace network could be applied for as long as the identity was not a problem. The trouble was to build wizard huts everywhere. Portkeys were not easy to make. Dennis and his friends only had one. They could use the portkey to come, but not to go back. This was used to escape and transfer goods in an emergency, and would not be used easily. Back to the base in Nocturne Alley again, Dennis and the other two had returned before Ethan. Boss, this is your dragon egg. The first time Dennis saw Ethan, he handed the dragon egg to him. How to hatch this dragon egg? In the original book, Hagrid studied several books on hatching dragon eggs and then put them in the fireplace to burn. Although it was successful, Ethan still felt that it was a bit unreliable. Use the fire spell to roast it. Generally, the hatching of dragon eggs requires the assistance of dragon flames. Ordinary fire can also hatch dragon eggs, but the physique will be weaker after birth. As smugglers of magical animals, Dennis and his friends naturally know this knowledge. What about other flames? For example, fiend fire. Ethan put forward his own idea. Since it needs flames to hatch, and it will not turn into roasted dragon eggs, then stronger flames will hatch dragons with stronger physiques? We haven't tried this, and it's very risky. Dennis said cautiously. Who would use fiend fire to hatch eggs? This thing can even burn the soul. If you throw a dragon egg in it, I'm afraid you won't even be able to find the eggshell. Of course, no one tried it. A dragon egg is still very precious. Okay, I got it. Waving his hand, Ethan sent the three away and came to Bruno's room for making potions. How is the magic potion going? This is what Ethan is concerned about first. Ethan spent more than 1,100 gold galleons to buy materials. If it is scrapped, it will be a big loss. Everything is going well. That's good. By the way, you said you wanted to open a potion shop. I agreed. Have you chosen a target? The last time the two went to buy the materials needed for the magic potion, Bruno mentioned this idea to Ethan. Potions do make money, but they are high-end potions. For ordinary potions, wizards basically make them themselves. The polyjuice potion and wolfsbane potion that Bruno knows are more valuable, especially the polyjuice potion is still very popular in the black market. Although the wolfsbane potion is high-end, werewolves are poor and it is of little use. Polyjuice potion is combined with some other potions, and Ethan adds some alchemical products, and the business should be good. Originally, alchemy was just a hobby, but in the Forbidden Forest, I picked up a lot of materials, plus a bunch of unicorn tail hair given by Hagrid. It would be a pity not to use so many things for alchemy. The owner of Archibald's alchemy goods store died in an explosion during an alchemy accident half a month ago. His son is now managing his store. His son does not have this talent and wants to sell the store. The location is not bad, only 200 meters away from the entrance of Nocturne Alley. Bruno finished speaking in one breath. He had taken a fancy to this store before surrendering to Ethan. I learned about this news in the tavern a few days after I came to Nocturne Alley. After some inspection, I felt that the location was good and the price was right. I could take it. Anyway, I couldn't go back to France, so settling down here was also an option. But everything that happened later was too different from what he thought. How many galleons do you need? 1,200 gold galleons are enough. You know that the houses in Nocturne Alley are not that valuable, and he is eager to sell them. If it weren't for the good protective magic inside, these 1,200 gold galleons would not be worth it. Some houses in wizard gathering places are more valuable than Nocturne Alley houses. It's really because the environment here is too bad, and those who come here are not good people. There are risks in doing business and living here. If you are brave and do it secretly, you can live in it directly after killing the owner. Okay, this will give you 1,500 gold galleons, and the extra is for you to buy coal-made potion materials. It's a little more expensive than a bottle of potion, so what's there to refuse? The reason why the Weasley twins were able to successfully open a shop with 1,000 gold galleons was that the shop was definitely rented. No one with a brain would sell the shop in Diagon Alley. It could be passed down. Ethan immediately handed over 1,500 gold galleons and some materials collected in the Forbidden Forest to Bruno. Another achievement completed. Spend a lot of money. Money is like sand, slipping through fingers. Just for that moment of vanity, enjoy achievement goal. Use 1,000 gold galleons at a time. 1/1. Achievement reward. 1 random magic. Didn't the materials for the magic potion cost more than 1,000 gold galleons before? Doesn't it count if I bought it from several shops separately? This time, I just gave 1,500 at once. Forget it, there's nothing to worry about with a system that doesn't even have an instruction manual. Magic extraction, the result is not bad. The Fidelius charm, a rather complex and profound spell, uses magic to bury a secret forever in the soul of a living person. This secret will exist in the heart of the chosen person and will never be discovered unless the secret keeper reveals it. However, if the secret keeper dies, then everyone who knows the secret will become the secret keeper, so the secret keeper must be carefully selected. In the next few days, Ethan spent most of his time using alchemy to refine goods in order to fill the goods counter in Bruno's magic potion alchemy shop. Ethan went to see it. The location is good. It is not far from Borgen and Burke's. The first floor is the storefront and the second floor can be used for living. The layout inside does not need to be changed. It can be used as soon as it is purchased. It was not until the first day of school that Ethan was freed from the tedious alchemy. Arrived at King's Cross Station, passed through the pillar and arrived at platform 9 3/4. After Ethan stepped on the Hogwarts Express, he prepared to find the location of Cassandra and the others. Lee, have you finished your homework? Lend me your homework. Homework? What homework? Oh, Mike, lend me your homework. Do you think I 477 have done my homework? Sorry, I misunderstood you. When passing by a carriage, Ethan heard a conversation inside and looked over. It turned out to be Lee Jordan, the roommate of the Weasley twins, and a few cowards from their Gryffindor. It should be said that they are worthy of being Gryffindors. They don't want to do homework no matter what. It's just homework, which I don't seem to have touched yet. For some classes, Ethan doesn't have homework, such as Transfiguration and Charms, because these knowledge does not improve excellent students. They should understand what they should understand, so these professors will exempt homework according to the situation. It's just that Ethan needs to do homework on potions, plants, and history of magic. It's similar to before the holiday in China. During the 2-week break, the professors at Hogwarts also assigned a lot of homework. Senior sister has become beautiful again. In the corridor, Ethan met Penelope. Really? Of course. Ethan nodded with a positive look. Okay, go tell those 3. Just go a few cars back, they're already here. Penelope couldn't help but curl up her lips, but she still acted as if she didn't care. After saying goodbye, Penelope went on patrol. When there were no professors present, they, the prefects, needed to be more serious. When they came to the back car, Ethan said hello to Cassandra and the others and sat down directly. Ethan's arrival did not interrupt their chattering. Of course, it was mainly Hermione who was talking and Chujong who was listening. Most of them were about things in Santa Claus Village. As for Cassandra, she still maintained her aloof look, although she couldn't be cold around Ethan. Whose homework can I borrow? Ethan looked at Cassandra and Hermione. They were in the same grade. Although they were not in the same college, their homework was the same. Ethan, you have to do your homework yourself. You can't copy homework. The professors assign homework for LA. While Hermione was still talking about the disadvantages of copying homework, Cassandra had already taken action. She opened the suitcase, took out the homework, quill pen, and ink, and placed them in front of Ethan without any hesitation. A decisive blow. Hermione lowered her head, looking quite helpless. Chapter 64. The Great Hall. After the banquet. In addition to eating and drinking, today's banquet also talked about one thing. Quirrell, the professor of defense against the dark arts, was seriously injured by a dark wizard and is now on leave. The specific length of the leave is unknown. Starting this week, Professor Snape will teach the defense against the dark arts class concurrently until Professor Quirrell returns or the end of the semester. But Ethan doubts that Snape can handle teaching 2 classes at the same time, and there are 7 grades? And the time of the 2 classes will conflict. Although this can be regarded as a dream of his, Ethan is not surprised that Quirrell can't come to class. At that time, his condition was not very good, and the last blow did not know what damage he had caused. Maybe he can come back after 10 days or half a month of recuperation, or maybe he can't come. But it doesn't matter. As long as Voldemort is not dead and the Philosopher's Stone is still in Hogwarts, he will never give up. At present, he still needs the Philosopher's Stone to revive Malfoy. Ethan, who was about to return to Ravenclaw, looked at Draco who was blocking his way, and was a little confused. Ever since he had been beaten by 5 senior Slytherins, this guy was like a mouse seeing a cat when he saw him. Except for class time, he would not walk around him at other times. Now he was just going home to spend Christmas. What gave him such confidence? Sorry, Adrian, I was the one who pushed that thing last time. I apologize to you. This is my compensation gift. Draco handed a yellowed book to Ethan. The cover of this book was not written in mainstream European language, but a bit like the Middle East. Ethan had not touched on this point. Even if he was smart, he could not understand it. The material seemed to be made of some animal skin, which was quite thick. A very old book from the Middle East? This is the Book of Balance written by Abu Musa Jabir ibn Hayyan, the most famous alchemist in the 8th century. It is a collection of my family and I brought it here as an apology. Seeing that Ethan did not take it, Draco became anxious and hurriedly introduced it. During this period, Draco has been worried that Ethan would cause trouble for him. He woke up from nightmares many times because his limbs were broken by Ethan. I really couldn't stand it anymore. When I went home this Christmas, I told my parents about the matter, from the Hogwarts Express to the time when I instigated 5 Slytherin seniors to cause trouble for Ethan and were punished. I told them everything about Ethan and myself. I hope they can find a way to solve it. As for being forced by muggles to find parents, it's embarrassing. I didn't expect that after listening to it, my father not only didn't comfort me, or say that he would help me teach Ethan a lesson. Instead, he scolded me for being brainless and scolded me severely, asking me to apologize and get Ethan's forgiveness. If he couldn't do it, he wouldn't help even if Ethan beat him to death. And this book was chosen by his father as an apology when he heard that Ethan often read alchemy books recently. To be honest, Draco didn't understand why his father had to do this. He was the head of the Malfoy family and a director of Hogwarts. Didn't he need our family to apologize? Shouldn't the matter be resolved as soon as his father showed up? Draco was regretting it now. In that case, I'll take this book. Forget about the last time. If there is a next time, it will be more than just this. Ethan took the Book of Balance and glanced at Draco and said slowly. The name Abu Musa Jabir ibn Hayyan, Ethan knew of course that he was one of the most successful people in Islamic alchemy. Now a lot of alchemy there was developed on his basis. It's just that there are too few of his works in existence. Those that exist are collected by some big families, and their value is definitely quite high. Books from the 8th century, which is 100 or 200 years earlier than the establishment of Hogwarts. The Malfoy family has a long history. They originally followed the Muggle king who conquered Britain. It is normal to have such books. I know. Malfoy finally breathed a sigh of relief. He finally completed his father's instructions. He shouldn't have nightmares in the future. After leaving, Malfoy rushed to the owl shed as soon as possible to write a letter to his father about this. This was also his request. Draco was a completely spoiled child. He had no idea how sad his family was. He looked so glorious and was still the sacred pure-blooded 28 clans. But because he stood on the wrong side, a lot of investment went down the drain on Voldemort. Voldemort didn't treat them as human beings at first, just dogs, and didn't get much benefit when he was in power. After Voldemort was overturned by Harry's car, in order to protect himself and not accompany his sister-in-law to Azkaban, he spent a lot of money to make arrangements. He didn't know how much family property and gold galleons he lost. Otherwise, how could a Death Eater known to everyone stay at home safely? If he provokes a young wizard with unlimited potential now, he may be expelled from the pure-blood family in the future. Lucius Malfoy knows how fast talented young wizards grow. His father was once Voldemort's senior and told him before that Voldemort had left school for a few years and had become a genius except for Dumbledore was a man who no one could suppress, and he quickly established the Death Eaters, and all those who offended him were eliminated. This is also the reason why Lucius asked Draco to apologize. He didn't ask you to build a good relationship, but you can't offend him. Although I have always despised Muggle wizards, this is just a political correctness and a habit. Even if I want to despise those who have the ability to defeat you, I can't show it. Ethan, what did Malfoy ask you to do just now? After returning to the dormitory, Ethan was stopped by Terry, who liked gossip. Terry knew that the relationship between these two people was not good. He apologized to me. Ethan showed the book in his hand. Is that so? By the way, Ethan, do you know why my phone won't turn on? This is a Christmas gift from my parents. It's convenient for me to contact my family. Owls are still too slow. Terry soon took out a flip phone and placed it in front of Ethan. Before that, he and Michael had studied it for a long time but couldn't find the reason. It's not that it's out of power. It was charged before leaving. He was just worried that he couldn't find a place to charge it in Hogwarts. Maybe he could ask Professor Flitwick if there is any magic to charge the phone. Muggle items cannot be used in Hogwarts. They are mainly charged. Don't you know? Ethan looked at Terry speechlessly. Although the notice was not clearly written, it would be recorded if he read more books. He should stop gossiping all day. And this phone is a new model of Motorola. The family is quite well off. It seems that a Muggle boy who worships Harry will come in the second half of this year. How to use his camera? Doesn't it have a battery inside? Is that so? Terry thought about it in some distress. Now he didn't have to bother Professor Flitwick. I'm going out. You guys chat. Now Ethan is not shy about going out at night. There is no need for this. Entering the room of requirement, Cassandra and Penelope are already in it. One is practicing weather spells, and the other is reading the runic dictionary and runic pictograms. As for Hermione and Chujong, they have never been here. After Hermione stopped playing with Ronald Harry, she became a standard good student. She never did anything against the rules. Although she is studious and talented, she has no interest in actual combat. Or maybe Hermione has no talent for practical combat. Chujong, she has to practice Quidditch every weekend, even on school nights, which has consumed a lot of her energy. Ethan, this is what I found at home, the spell book of Fire Escape and Gubular Fairy Fire. I didn't find the fire god opening the way. I don't think there is any at home. Cassandra came to Ethan as soon as possible and took out 2 books like offering treasures. After Christmas, Cassandra took advantage of her father's work at the Ministry of Magic to search in the library, her father's study, and the secret room at home, but found nothing. Later, her mother had to attend a tea party, and Cassandra made an excuse to decline, and then secretly ran to their room and found it. Maybe her father had specially put it away. Fortunately she was better. A Euro good job. Ethan was quite surprised. Although Cassandra had hinted that she had found what Ethan needed on the train, he was still a little excited when he actually saw it now. The power of the fiend fire had already been demonstrated when Voldemort was beaten a few days ago. With this magic, the wizarding world can be very successful. Except for a few people, no one can be awesome. And these 2 magics are as famous as the fiend fire, and they are definitely not bad. Well, Ethan, can you teach me the fiend fire after you learn it? Cassandra asked a little embarrassedly. She originally regarded Ethan as an opponent, but now she almost regards him as a teacher. No problem. Given Cassandra's talent, it shouldn't take much effort to teach her, and Ethan had no reason to refuse. Ethan would not be stingy with his own people, and he was not Snape, who could lose a situation that he was sure to win. Then Ethan flipped through the Gubular Fairy Fire spell book, and realized that he had been thinking wrong. I had only heard of its name before, and knew it was the everlasting fire that Dumbledore gave to the giant. In terms of power alone, the power of the Gubblerite fire is not very strong, and it is not as powerful as the fiery fire curse, but it is about the same level as the flame curse. It does not require combustibles, nor does it require subsequent injection of magic power. Once it is burning, it will not go out, unless it is forcibly extinguished by magic power, which is the magic of the end of all spells. No other method can extinguish it. The fiery fire has no combustibles, and it will go out when the magic power is exhausted, but the Gubblerite fire is different. Without combustibles and the magic power is exhausted, it can still maintain the state of burning, and it is still the largest state. It can burn as vigorously as there are combustibles, and then it will maintain this state, becoming a real everlasting fire. Gubblerite fire. As the spell was recited, a ball of fire appeared out of thin air in front of Ethan's wand and floated in the air. The flame is not big, with a diameter of only about 1 meter. After Ethan disconnected the magic power and stopped controlling it, he began to fall to the ground, neither gathering nor being kind, quite stable. The color is similar to that of a burning candle, showing a bright yellow color. Ethan felt it for a while. It was not the kind of violent burning that gave people a burning feeling, it was warm. Then Ethan tried the fire escape to protect himself, which was faster to learn. After reading it once, the magic wand drew a circle on the ground, and a black flame ignited. In addition to the property of burning everything, it also has the function of protecting himself. Next, Ethan needs to practice these 2 magics and write the post-destruction spell to combine them. If the fierce fire spell has the characteristics of fire escape to protect himself and Gubular Fairy Fire, then there will be a qualitative improvement. But before that, there is one thing to do. Under the surprised eyes of Cassandra and Penelope, Ethan roasted the fire dragon egg in the Gubular Fairy Fire. This once made them think that Ethan was going to eat roasted dragon eggs. Chapter 65. After Christmas, the first defense against the dark arts class for the first grade. Except for the Slytherin students, everyone else present looked dejected. The weekly potions class was already a torture, but they didn't expect to have 2 more defense against the dark arts classes. According to Snape's current performance, he might go crazy in the defense against the dark arts class again. Even if Quirrell didn't teach any knowledge and just read the textbook verbatim, it would be better than being tortured by Snape's class. Bang. There was a muffled sound from the classroom door. Only Snape had this habit in Hogwarts. Snape strode into the classroom, waving his wand again and again, and the windows of the classroom closed one after another. In an instant, the whole classroom became dim. Then he pulled down a white cloth that looked like a projection screen. Ethan had never seen Professor Quirrell use it. Snape walked with the wind today, which showed that he was in a good mood, but Ethan didn't know whether he would increase his salary. Coming to the podium, Snape's hawk-like eyes swept around the classroom, and then he slowly said, "Turn to page 137. Although Snape had not taught Quirrell much, Snape could not start from the beginning, and there was not enough time. Vice-like creature, do you know how to deal with it? Potter." As expected, Harry was still called up. Even Harry himself was used to it. In that potion class, if Snape did not call him up to answer a question, Harry himself felt something was wrong. Vice-like creature killer, sir. Harry just knew this. Before Christmas, when he went to Hagrid's place with Ethan, he heard Hagrid complain about the vixen in the vegetable garden, but unfortunately his vixen killer was used up. Just when Harry was feeling relieved, Snape's words brought him to the bottom. This is defense against the dark arts. If it was potions, I might have to give Mr. Savior 5 extra points. But now, Gryffindor will lose 10 points. Sit down. Harry sat down expressionlessly, and the students around him were no longer surprised. Hermione did not raise her hand to answer. She had already proved in the previous potions class that no matter how she raised her hand, Snape would not call on her. Once, when she was not called on, Hermione stood up to answer on her own initiative. Not only did she not get extra points, but she also lost 10 points from Gryffindor and earned a mocking nickname Miss Know-It-All. After that, Hermione gave up the idea of a euro earning points from Snape. As long as she could ensure that she would not lose points, it would be fine. And what Snape said just now about adding 5 extra points in potions, just kidding. Since the beginning of the school year, the first year Gryffindors have not received any house points in potions, not even one. Malfoy, you answer. Professor, use the force to release the force, which works for most weak magical animals. After Draco stood up and finished speaking, he looked at Harry proudly. There were vixens in his manner, and there were also ghost things like goblins. When he didn't know magic, he saw the gardener expel them, and even asked the gardener to help him catch them and put them in cages for fun. When he caught the vixens, he used the force to release the force. Good answer, Slytherin plus 10 points. You haven't written it down yet, what are you waiting for? Then Snape projected various detailed information about the vixens on the white cloth and explained it. A class is halfway through. Next, it's time for you to practice. As he said that, Snape directly picked up a cage covered with black cloth from behind the podium and placed it on the podium. And under the gaze of everyone, he lifted the black cloth on it. I don't know if it was suddenly frightened, but the thing in the cage suddenly flew up, and there was a buzzing sound, causing the cage to shake left and right. To be honest, this is much better than Quirrell's lecture. Of course, it would be better if he could change his personality, Chegg. The Defense Against the Dark Arts class mainly teaches how to defend against dark magic and the harm of magical animals. It's like Quirrell reading from a book, but not explaining it, and not practicing it. This class is basically useless. Vox Charm, XXX level, humanoid, very small, with 2 extra arms and 2 legs, and covered with thick black hair, with wings like beetles, but very thick, curved into an arc, shining, and very sharp teeth with poison. In addition, this thing has an extraordinary reproductive ability and can lay 500 eggs at a time. Ethan had seen it before when patrolling the Forbidden Forest, and he doubted the word Fox Charm on the spot. He had only heard of it before, and had a little fantasy when he hadn't seen the real thing, but it was shattered after that time. Not to mention the seductive and hot beauty, you could have made a cute appearance, but the result is this. Relax. A string of fire suddenly flashed from Snape's wand, accurately hitting the frightened fox in the cage. The fox fell down with a pop, as if all the strength was drained away, and it was limp and motionless. The spell is very simple. Focus, make your goal clear, and chant the spell clearly. Snape said 7 or 8 points to pay attention to. Potter, come up and cover for everyone. Snape threw a red light at the foxy girl. The moment it was focused, the foxy girl immediately became lively, but she didn't dare to hit the cage anymore. Instead, she shrank in a corner of the cage. As a magical animal, even if it is only XXX level and has a small brain, it still has good wisdom. Yes, Professor. Harry came forward with a bitter face, and it came again. He knew that Snape would play with him whenever he had the chance, but it was also his father's fault. Alas. Relax. Harry took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and swung his wand with all his strength. To be honest, with this force, if it hits the foxy girl, it is estimated that she will be beaten half to death. So Harry used the physical version of force release? Wrong pronunciation, Gryffindor deducts 10 points. Snape looked at Harry with disdain. Why is Lily's son like this? He really didn't inherit her talent at all. Potions and potions are not good, and now the spell level is not good. Professor, I still have a way to deal with it. Harry took a deep breath and looked at Snape seriously. He kept reminding himself in his heart that this was to repay his father. Since you have a way, then show it. Snape did not drive Harry away directly. He came to teach the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, partly because he really wanted to teach this class. On the other hand, he wanted Harry to improve his level. After all, Harry will encounter a lot of trouble in the future, and it is not okay to not know everything. $7.89. Harry's face flashed a trace of excitement, and he took out 2 Beretta 9-2F pistols from his waist. The young wizards below were instantly excited. They recognized what this thing was. Only the purebloods were still a little confused. They didn't know what Harry had taken out. Ethan was dumbfounded. No, Harry, you are serious. Take it back. Who told you to bring this thing to Hogwarts? Gryffindor will be deducted 50 points. The veins on Snape's forehead couldn't help beating. His father was a muggle, so he naturally knew about pistols. But isn't this thing strictly controlled? How did Harry get it? How dare he bring it to Hogwarts? If he could get a pistol at the beginning, he would have shot James and the others to death. Professor, only 1 shot is needed to kill the vixen. Harry tried to explain that he felt it was much more useful than a wand. Get down. Snape stared at Harry with a stern face. He knew that this could kill the vixen with 1 shot. If he was not careful, he would be shot to death. Moreover, Snape had already made up his mind to tell Professor McGonagall to take the pistol away, otherwise Harry would cause trouble sooner or later. The reason why he didn't take it away now was that Snape was afraid that Harry would be stimulated and cause it to go off accidentally. Although he could block it with magic, the students below couldn't. Cassandra, come up and try. Cassandra, whose name was called, stepped forward gracefully. Relax the force. As the spell ended, the vixen in the cage fell to the ground. Slytherin, Ruku. Snape announced loudly again, under his efforts. It can be said that Snape completely relied on his own strength to pull Slytherin's house points from the bottom to the second place. Only Ravenclaw could hardly find an opportunity to deduct points for him, and the remaining 2 houses were the hardest hit areas. Next, Snape selected a few students from each house to come up and try, but there was no more bonus or deduction of points. Otherwise, he would have deducted all the points from other colleges in one day, and Snape was afraid that other deans would block his office door. Longbottom, coming. It was Gryffindor's turn, and Snape could only pick the tallest one among the short ones. Ronald, the guy who took Harry to do his job, didn't like him, and Snape had heard of Seamus's reputation. Few of the remaining little wizards were normal. Strength, strength, loosen up. Neville stepped forward tremblingly, closing his eyes and swinging his wand around. Snape suddenly felt his legs go weak, and the whole person knelt down facing all the students. Is this the curse of the Defense Against the Dark Arts class? I'm so stupid, really. Why did I apply to teach the Defense Against the Dark Arts class? I wouldn't be embarrassed if I didn't come to class. Knowing that Longbottom was a fool, he still let him come up, and he didn't take precautions when he came up. Hasn't the potion accident at the beginning of the school made me realize what kind of person he is? At this moment, Snape wanted to slap himself. Gryffindor, deduct 10 points. Snape roared hoarsely, and untied himself from the force release. It can only be said that Neville's magic is not good enough. If he is more skilled, it will not only be the lack of strength in his legs. Snape had to lie down, and he couldn't even lift the wand. At that time, the students naturally couldn't release him, and they could only carry him to the school hospital. From the classroom to the school hospital, how many people would see him? This is the real social death. Neville looked at Snape carefully, and then walked back to his seat with a frustrated face. Sure enough, he had no talent. But when Neville sat down, he suddenly found that everyone looked at him as if he were a hero. Especially the Gryffindors, the appreciation, encouragement, and recognition in their eyes were something he had never seen before. However, Snape had learned a lesson this time, and he took a few steps back and held the wand tightly in his hand. His eyes scanned the little lions of Gryffindor. He knew that if he couldn't control the situation after this precedent, there would be more and more such incidents in the future. As for whether it was intentional or accidental, it can only be said that it was intentional and accidental. Snape knew Gryffindor very well. Fortunately, nothing happened next. When the get out of class was over, Snape assigned homework and left in a hurry. Chapter 66. During the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, Neville Longbottom rebelled against Professor Snape and beat him to his knees in front of all the first-year students. When Ethan came to the hall for dinner, he heard this version of the message. Especially at the Gryffindor table, the discussion on this issue was quite loud. And Ronald, who wanted to show off whenever he got a chance, was talking loudly about everything in the class. Of course, this was Ronald's modified version. There were also many senior lions around him listening to his boasting, and whenever they heard something happy, they would burst into cheers. And Neville was really regarded as a hero of Gryffindor at this moment, and Gryffindor had really suffered from Snape for a long time. Looking at the teacher's table, Ethan didn't see Snape either. Maybe he felt ashamed to see people. After all, he just knelt down to a student today. After dinner, Harry came to Ethan with a face. Sorry, Ethan, I really like the Christmas present you gave me, but Professor McGonagall confiscated it. She said she would return it to me during the summer vacation. Harry really likes the 2 pistols Ethan gave him. He has never touched a gun since he was a child. Before, Dudley only played with toy guns. When he received the real gun, he immediately surpassed Dudley and treasured it very much. But I didn't expect that guns were not allowed in Hogwarts. There is obviously no such rule. Harry can understand that guns are not allowed in Muggle schools to ensure the safety of students. But this is Hogwarts, and magic has begun to be used. Wands are the weapons of wizards. Why can't you bring some Muggle weapons? Maybe they are afraid that you will hurt other little wizards. Ethan didn't expect Harry to dare to take it out in class. If it was in Professor Flitwick's class, this kind of thing probably wouldn't happen. Who let Snape know this? Magic wands can also hurt people. Harry sighed, and then continued, I went back and asked Aunt Petunia, you were right, Snape and I didn't have a conflict, but he had a conflict with my parents, or more precisely, with my father, and it was a big conflict. Snape grew up with my mom. They were neighbors. Snape liked my mom, but my mom married my dad. Maybe that's why Snape hates me. The expression on Harry's face was quite complicated. This bloody thing he saw on TV actually happened to him. Have you ever thought about wearing women's clothes? Ethan took 2 steps back and looked at Harry. To be honest, Harry could still accept women's clothes in the pictures photoshopped by netizens before, of course, this was when he was a child. No, absolutely not. Harry shook his head desperately. He knew what Ethan wanted to say. His mother had been dead for 10 years, and Snape hadn't married yet. Maybe he was still thinking about her. And if he wore women's clothes, not only would he not be targeted by Snape, he might even get preferential treatment, but Harry said he couldn't accept it. Forget it if you didn't. To be honest, if you wore women's clothes, your Gryffindor college score might go up. Ethan looked at Harry with regret. He really had no overall view. For the benefit of everyone, couldn't he sacrifice himself a little? Impossible. After refutation again, Harry hurriedly changed the subject and didn't want to talk about it anymore. I also received a Christmas gift, but I don't know who sent it. It's an invisibility cloak, which is quite useful. And I found a mirror in an abandoned classroom last night, and I can see my parents in it. Originally I thought it was a magic prop that recorded my parents, but Ronald looked in the mirror and saw that he became the president of the student union and the captain of the Quidditch team. Ethan, if you want to see it, I can lend you the invisibility cloak. You don't need the invisibility cloak. It's in that classroom. I'll go and see it when I have time. Ethan was also curious about what he could see, which could directly reflect his innermost desires. Harry had no parents since he was a child and longed for family affection, so he saw his parents. Ronald wanted to be the most invisible of the brothers at home, so he saw himself becoming the president of the student union, but why didn't he just become a minister? As for the invisibility cloak, Ethan didn't care about it at all. The only real useful thing among the 3 holy bodies was the Elder Wand. The resurrection stone was also a pit. It had no resurrection effect at all, and the soul scene were also fake. The invisibility cloak was just a cloak cast with the disillusionment charm, but the general invisibility cloak had a time limit, while the invisibility cloak did not. In the original book, Harry was discovered by Filch's cat while wearing the invisibility cloak, and walked towards him, but he didn't know why he didn't call out. Dumbledore could see through it directly, and Snape could also feel that there were people around him by intuition, so the invisibility cloak was useless. Okay, I also want to know what you can see, Ethan, maybe you can become the Minister of Magic, you are so outstanding. Harry pointed out the location of the abandoned classroom with envy. In the Muggle world, Ethan was so eye-catching, with a good family, good academic performance, and strong athletic ability. After coming to the wizarding world, he was still so outstanding. No little wizard in the first grade could compare with him. Harry really envied Ethan. At night, before going to the room of requirement, Ethan came to the abandoned classroom that Harry mentioned. According to the original plot, the Mirror of East was originally in the principal's office. Harry looked at it for a few days after getting the invisibility cloak, and then it was put away to replace the Philosopher's Stone. So, if you want to try it, you have to do it as soon as possible. Pushing open the half-closed door, there is a huge floor-to-ceiling mirror with a golden frame behind it, and there are seats placed randomly next to it. Aristella Erhilo 8 Ubicafru Aidon Bohis. Ethan's hand passed over the words engraved on the top of the Mirror of East, and then read it backwards. The Mirror of East can make people see the most urgent and strongest desires in their hearts. So what exactly do I want? Ethan stared at the mirror. At first, the mirror still had Ethan's reflection, but soon the white mist covered the mirror. The mist dissipated, and what appeared in front of Ethan was a sunny summer day, a blue sea, and a luxurious yacht staying on the sea. The music was deafening, and there was a wide variety of fine wines and delicacies. There was no doubt that this was a party scene. But it seems that there is only one man, Ethan, who is in his 20s, with his upper body naked and wearing beach pants. He is surrounded by girls, including white Europeans, Asians, mixed-race girls, Lolita girls, and mature girls. Black stockings, white stockings, horse oil, and bare feet are quite in line with Ethan XP. Among them are many celebrities from Ethan's previous life, and even the waitress next to him is a rare beauty. So this is what he desires deep in his heart? It has been an LSP from the beginning to the end, right? However, before entering the wizarding world, Ethan's ideal was like this, making money while opening an improv everywhere. 00 After coming to the wizarding world and becoming a hacker, he basically thinks about how to become stronger. It turns out that he has been a dedicated person from the beginning to the end, and becoming stronger is just to open an improv better. After seeing his heart clearly, Ethan turned around and left the classroom. After all, there are still 2 people in it, and he can't let them wait anxiously. When he just entered the abandoned classroom, Ethan sensed that there were other people besides himself. He knew at that time that he had seen it, but he didn't show it. The person hiding on the side was no one else except Old Honey, and the other one was probably Snape. Anyway, Ethan didn't dare to show anything to others. Even if he saw something bad, it was no problem. Can't the little wizard be a little bit ambitious? As for now, what's wrong with LSP? You Dumbledore can get involved with Grindelwald, and you can't allow others to hug more girls? Severus, it's really hard to say. Dumbledore sighed. He is so old, what kind of scene has he not seen? But he has never seen someone like Ethan. The little wizards nowadays. Hee. Snape sneered and said nothing. Think about Ethan's ideals, and then look at Ethan is working towards what he is doing now, and the results are quite good. If I have half of his ability, my child with Lily should be in the 1st grade now. Let's go, Ethan, this shouldn't be a big problem. Dumbledore was not sure, he had never seen anything like this. Ethan's talent is too strong. Quirrell had contact with Ethan some time ago, and Snape came to his office and said very clearly that Ethan might be the next Dark Lord. The reason is quite sufficient, Ethan was too cruel to Slytherin, such a person must have a dark side in his heart, at least since he entered school, he has never seen a little wizard more cruel than Ethan. So, this is why the 2 of them came here to spy today. The Mirror of East can only reflect the deepest desire at the moment. People will change, and wealth, S**X, and power can change at any time. And these 3 are inseparable, only the relationship of importance. Even if Snape doesn't say it, Dumbledore can know it. But now it seems that Ethan is just a lustful little wizard. Compared with Voldemort at the beginning, his ambition is far less, but who can be sure that he will not change in the future? It's not just the deepest desire, but also the truer self. Dumbledore's expression was quite serious. It is true that people change, but the changes are superficial, and the essence is difficult to change. There is a saying in China that it is difficult to change one's nature. And Ethan is a LSP by nature. Unless something big happens later that can change Ethan's entire life, otherwise Ethan is now an ordinary student who pursues girls everywhere in school, but he is a little more talented, has a higher success rate, and is more popular with little witches. So, as the headmaster of Hogwarts, don't you worry about the little witches in the school. Snape said with a sneer. He failed in campus love at the beginning. What I hate most now is those little wizards who are in love all day long. If we can break up a couple, it's a couple. This, as long as it is not forced, we have no right to interfere. Chapter 67. Dong. Dong. Who is it? Terry's somewhat impatient voice sounded. Looking at the sky outside, it was just getting light, probably just after 6 o'clock. I'm Parker Waters. Hello, senior, what can I do for you? Knowing it was a senior, Terry ran over to open the door, not at all grumpy as he had just woken up. There are only about 80 people in the entire Ravenclaw, and more than a semester has passed. Even if you are not familiar with them, you know who they are. And this Parker Waters is a senior in the 5th grade. He is kind and enthusiastic, and his grades are quite good. He often helps some young eagles in the lower grades solve problems they don't understand. Although he is not a class leader, he is also very popular in Ravenclaw. I'm here to look for Adrian. Hagrid, the school's key manager, is looking for him. He's outside the common room now. He's here to pass on a message, too. Just as he was about to leave, he met Hagrid at the door of the common room. Hagrid came to the Ravenclaw dormitory to look for Ethan, but he couldn't answer the door knocker and couldn't get in, so he could only wait outside the door. When he met Parker Waters who was leaving, he asked him to help pass on a message, and he didn't come in. Ethan, Hagrid is looking for you. Turning around, Terry shouted at Ethan's bed. Got it, I'll be there right away. Ethan had already started to get dressed, and he was awake when he was knocked on the door, so he naturally heard their conversation. But why did Hagrid want to see him so early in the morning? What happened? After a simple wash, Ethan hurriedly set off. Ethan, come with me. The moment he saw Ethan, Hagrid directly pulled Ethan's arm and walked out. Looking anxious. No, what happened to Hagrid? Ethan asked. After all, he was dragged and run in a daze. It's not convenient to talk about it here, you'll know when you get there. Hagrid looked around nervously, looking guilty. Ethan understood, it was most likely related to magical animals, or the extremely dangerous ones that were forbidden to be kept. If something happened in the Forbidden Forest, Hagrid would not be so careful, he would just say it openly, and he would most likely go to Dumbledore. Could it be that Hagrid has secretly raised something during this period? Woof. Woof. When they came to Hagrid's hut, Fanja was barking at the door outside the house. And if Ethan was not mistaken, Fanja's tail seemed to be bald in a large area, as if it had been bitten by a dog. No, it was a dog. The moment he saw Ethan, Fanja immediately ran to Ethan's feet and whimpered. Looking quite aggrieved. Yaya, you stay outside first. Hagrid grabbed the collar around Yaya's neck and pulled it away from Ethan, then opened the door a crack, carefully looked inside, and waved to Ethan. Ethan, come in. Ethan walked in and found that Hagrid's hut was in a mess. Hagrid's bed was dismantled, as if there was a purebred husky at home. Help me take a look, it won't eat. Hagrid pointed to a yellow-winged lizard huddled in the corner and said to Ethan. Is this Ukrainian iron belly? Ethan looked at Hagrid in confusion. Bright grey scales, deep red eyes, slender claws, these are the characteristics of Ukrainian iron belly, but the limbs are too thin, even if it is just born, it shouldn't be like this. You should know that Ukrainian iron belly is the largest fire dragon. The cubs are one size larger than others at birth, except for stunted development. If nothing unexpected happens, it must have had an accident. And it bit its teeth. It can only be said that for every magical animal Hagrid raises, the status of the teeth will be -1. Yes, it is Ukrainian iron belly. It hasn't eaten anything since last night. I'm afraid it will starve to death. During the time they patrolled the Forbidden Forest together, Hagrid knew about Ethan's ability. He was born with the ability to attract magical animals. If he didn't eat it when he fed it, maybe Ethan would do the trick. This is why Hagrid thought of Ethan the first time something happened. Prepare some fresh tender beef and chicken blood mixed with brandy. Since Ethan was also hatching dragon eggs, he took a quick look at how to raise a baby dragon. Wild baby dragons eat meat after they are born, and there is no problem with the teeth and digestive ability of fire dragons. But in the dragon farm, in order to make the baby dragons grow faster and stronger, they have to be fed brandy and chicken blood every half an hour, and of course they also have to eat meat. The meat is ready, as well as the brandy and chicken blood. I'll go get them ready. Hagrid ran away in a hurry. Ethan saw the vigilance in the eyes of this Ukrainian iron belly. This was the first time Ethan felt vigilance from a magical animal. He didn't know what happened to it. But Ethan still approached it carefully step by step. SHH. As Ethan approached, the fire dragon cub let out a half-threatening and half-fearful howl, and its thin body couldn't help but shrink back again. In response, Ethan was unmoved and continued to approach it until his hand came above its head and saw that it had the intention to bite, then he stopped. Ethan stared at it for a while, and it finally quieted down. Until this moment, Ethan put his hand on its bald head and stroked it downward with his thumb. Ethan, you are worthy of me. I can't get close to it, otherwise it will bite me. Even Yaya's tail was bitten. Hagrid walked in, holding a plate of thinly sliced a euro meat in his left hand and a basin in his right hand, and his body was covered with chicken feathers. Seeing that Ethan had already appeased the dragon cub, he seemed quite excited. He really did not find the wrong person. Bring the chicken blood mixed with brandy first. Oh, okay. Hagrid did not dare to neglect it, and quickly handed the basin in his hand to Ethan. Ethan took it and put it on the ground, slowly pushing it in the direction of the dragon cub. The dragon cub first glanced at Ethan, then stared at the red liquid in the basin, slowly approached, and drank it in big gulps. As long as it starts to eat, there will be no problem. It is thin, so I will raise it later. After taking the beef from Hagrid, Ethan also pushed it in front of the dragon cub. Ethan, it's really thanks to you, otherwise I really don't know what to do. You know, raising a fire dragon is my dream. Wait, Hagrid, it's illegal to raise dragons privately. If you are found out, you will be imprisoned in Azkaban. Ethan said this naturally not to report or anything, after all, he also has dragon eggs. And now he has started to incubate it with the black flame of fire escape. After it adapts well, he will have to try fiendish fire. When the time comes, after being burned by fiendish fire, it will become stronger, bloodthirsty, and fierce, and its genes may mutate. Don't worry, no one will find out. Hagrid patted his chest and guaranteed. He only has this hobby, how could he give up the fire dragon he got, and if he was really scared, he would not raise dangerous things like small-eyed minister spiders and main-head magic. A fire dragon will grow up in 2 years, be as big as your bed in half a year, and be as big as your hut in a year. How can you hide it? Unless you raise it in the Forbidden Forest. The Ukrainian iron belly is 50 feet long when grown up. If it spreads its wings, it will be even bigger. It will not be able to stay in Hagrid's hut for 2 months. Anyway, Ethan's dragon was planned to be kept in the room of requirement when it was young. When it grows up, it will be moved to the Forbidden Forest in a box with the traceless expansion spell. Of course, if a box like Newt's is made, it can naturally be carried with it, but this cannot be done in a short time. The main reason is that the dragon needs too much space. Unlike the winged demon, which can enter a dormant state at ordinary times, the Voldemort will not move when there is nothing to do. It just needs food. Of course I know this. Hagrid said with a stiff face. In fact, he was not prepared at all, and he was reluctant to put it in the Forbidden Forest. What if it was so thin and bullied? Also, Hagrid, how did you get this dragon? This is the point that Ethan wants to ask. Quirrell and Voldemort haven't come to class since they were beaten by Ethan. No one knows where they are. The dragon egg that was prepared to trick Hagrid was also snatched by Ethan. Under normal circumstances, no one would give Hagrid a dragon egg. Even the most ordinary one costs more than 3,000 gold galleons on the black market. And the value of the Ukrainian iron belly is definitely not lower than the value of the Hebridean black dragon egg. I won this when I was playing cards in the tavern yesterday. That person was eager to get rid of it. At this point, Hagrid's face was full of pride. After all, it was really lucky to win a dragon. Yesterday, you just got it and it hatched. Ethan asked curiously. This feels a bit wrong. When I got it, it was already hatched. It was a dragon cub. Now Ethan finally understood why it didn't eat. After hatching, the dragon felt a sense of familiarity with the first creature it saw, and would eat the food he gave it, just like Norbert in the original book. As for this one, it must have been frightened in the middle of the process after hatching, and it was naturally unwilling to eat because of the unfamiliar environment and people. In the black market, the value of dragon cubs is not as high as that of dragon eggs. Of course, the highest value is still the adult dragon, which is almost full of treasures. Did he also ask you about the three-headed dog? If he asked, it would be confirmed that Voldemort is back again. How do you all know that it is raised by me? Hagrid whispered, and then said to Ethan, that's right. Dogs with 3 heads are not common. It's normal for him to be interested. I drank some wine at the time, so I told him that Fluffy likes to listen to music the most. As long as he listens to music, he will fall asleep quickly. When Ethan heard this, he knew that Voldemort was back again. As expected, Ethan was right. He would not give up the Philosopher's Stone. Feed the chicken blood in a gavy every half an hour. Hagrid, I recommend you to read the 2 books Guide to Raising Fire Dragons and Raising Fire Dragons for Fun and Profit. In the original book, Hagrid got a dragon egg and had enough time to learn how to raise a fire dragon in 1.3. Now he got a fire dragon cub in a hurry, so he was naturally not prepared. And these 2 books all record the techniques of raising fire dragons. After reading them twice, you can basically master them. After all, it's not a spell or something that needs to be understood. Okay, I know, I'll go to the library to borrow books later. Then I'll leave first, I have classes to attend later. Ethan was about to retreat after saying that. The dragon cub had already started talking, so it shouldn't be a big problem for Hagrid to feed it later. Wait, this is for you. It was almost 7 years ago, and I was a step too late. It was killed, and its horns were cut off. I finally collected it, and I didn't have any use for it, so I gave it to you. Hagrid handed Ethan a long horn with a silver-white halo and spiral patterns. It was a unicorn horn, Ethan could tell at a glance. Relying on animal affinity, Ethan had a good relationship with the unicorns in the Forbidden Forest, so he could naturally get close to them, but facing this group of horses with human nature and good looks, he never thought of touching their horns. It was nearly 1 meter long, and in terms of weight, Ethan weighed it and it was about 3.5 kilograms. It's just that this thing is sold by ounce, 1 ounce is 100 gold galleons, and this one is much more valuable than a dragon egg. It should be said that he is worthy of being the hidden rich man of Hogwarts, and this is generous. Chapter 68. A week after Hagrid got the dragon, Quirrell came to work at Hogwarts again. When Ethan saw him in the hall, he almost didn't recognize him as Quirrell. His skin was loose and unhealthy white, and his waist was hunched, as if he was a man in his 60s. His left arm and part of his shoulder were replaced with a silver metal arm, which was really miserable. In just 1 year, Quirrell completed 3 changes. In the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, the smile on the face of the little Lion of Gryffindor could not be suppressed at all. If it wasn't for the wrong occasion, a banquet would be held to celebrate. Originally, Snape was crazy. After Neville's incident, the Defense Against the Dark Arts class of Gryffindor was more difficult than the Potions class. If you couldn't answer the questions, you would lose points and be ridiculed. Failure in practice is not a loss of points and ridicule. It can be said that the little lions are worthless. Now saying that they are like trolls is considered to be Snape's courtesy. This also made Gryffindor's house score always below 50 points and above 0 points. Professor McGonagall couldn't say anything about this. After all, the little lion of his own house made up stories about the professor everywhere after doing something wrong, making Snape a laughingstock for a while. This was indeed too much. Although he punished the group of little wizards who spread rumors at the time, the rumors had already spread, and Snape's kneeling became the hottest topic in Hogwarts at the time. Now that Snape has come for revenge, what else can he do? It's not 0 points anyway, so let it go. Professor McGonagall chose to start. Today we will learn how to resist dark magic, but the premise of resisting dark magic is that you have to understand dark magic. Quirrell's gloomy and hoarse voice echoed in the classroom of Defense Against the Dark Arts. At this time, the little wizards discovered that Quirrell not only had a great change in appearance, but now he didn't stutter when he spoke, and there was no garlic smell on his body and in the classroom. Professor Quirrell, Defense Against the Dark Arts doesn't seem to be something we should learn now. A little wizard stood up without raising his hand or getting Quirrell's consent. Anyway, Quirrell was like that in class, cowardly, and reading from the textbook would not deduct points, so naturally no one would follow his rules, and everyone was used to freedom. Although the name of the first-year Hogwarts textbook is Dark Power, A Guide to Self-Defense, the content is not about resisting the dark magic, but how to prevent yourself from being hurt by magical animals. To be precise, this is what you learn in the lower grades of Hogwarts. It was not until the 3rd grade that you finished learning defense against magical animals in XXXXX that you started to learn defense against the dark magic. Quirrell glanced at the little wizard and motioned him to sit down. I am very grateful to Professor Snape for teaching during this period. He taught well. I think you have mastered most of the content in the textbook. Now I will teach you some additional knowledge. After hearing Quirrell's explanation, the young wizards were excited. Snape left, but Quirrell did not give up and taught the knowledge of the senior grades. Is this because Professor Quirrell felt the pressure from Professor Snape and started to get excited? Only Ethan felt something was wrong. It was hard to say whether this person was Quirrell. Maybe Voldemort was controlling the body at this moment. He found a way to replenish his vitality. There is another possibility. This is not Quirrell, but another fool fooled by Voldemort. After taking the Polyjuice potion, he disguised himself as Quirrell and came to Hogwarts to continue to plot for the Philosopher's Stone. Quirrell saw that he had stirred up the emotions in the classroom, and raised his voice slightly to the young wizards below and said, "Be quiet, when it comes to black magic, the first thing that comes to mind is the 3 unforgivable curses, which are extremely evil, extremely cruel, but very powerful black magic. Although once used on a person, they will be imprisoned in Azkaban, but black wizards like to use it." When Quirrell mentioned the unforgivable curses, the whole classroom suddenly fell silent. Most of the young wizards have 10 kinds of fear of the unforgivable curses. After a glance, Quirrell said again, "I wonder if any student can answer, what are the 3 unforgivable curses, and what are the corresponding spells?" No one can answer my question. Quirrell looked in the direction of Slytherin and Ravenclaw, with a hint of disappointment in his tone. Ethan could see that although Cassandra did not feel any fear, she did not intend to stand up and answer the question. After all, the 3 unforgivable curses are almost taboos in Hogwarts. Normal young wizards would not talk about this at all. Ethan admired Quirrell very much. How did he have the courage to talk about these in Hogwarts? Even if he did not teach the unforgivable curses directly like the little Crouch who pretended to be moody in the 4th grade, this would also increase Dumbledore's attention to him. He wants to steal the Philosopher's Stone, and dares to be so high profile. He is really brave. Student Adrian, do you know? Quirrell walked up to Ethan and gave him an encouraging look. Why is the content of this class this? It turns out that it is aimed at me. At first, I thought it was aimed at Harry. But what is this guy trying to do? Student Adrian. Seeing that Ethan didn't react, Joe Luo couldn't help but raise his voice. Kedavra, Avada Kedavra. Imperious Curse, Soul out of the body. Crucia, Cruciatus. Absolutely correct, Student Adrian, Ravenclaw plus 10 points. Hearing Ethan's answer, Quirrell finally smiled on his face with a long white circle and folds. But none of the students below cheered, and even Ravenclaw was silent. Ethan even saw a few little wizards looking at him with fearful eyes. Voldemort, Voldemort, you've been beaten up, why don't you behave yourself? This class ended with the explanation of the 3 unforgivable curses. Quirrell didn't explain the specific usage, and spent most of the time introducing their power. As for how to guard against the 3 unforgivable curses, Quirrell didn't even mention it. Ethan packed up his textbooks and prepared to leave with his roommate. Ethan, you should not say these spells in public in the future. Professor Quirrell, why did he ask you to answer this question? You know these spells are not easy to spell. Hermione ran to Ethan and kept complaining about Quirrell. She was afraid that one day, she would have to go to Azkaban to visit Ethan. Cassandra, who was passing by, showed a mysterious smile. She was much better than this lion. Ethan was so good at the extremely difficult black magic such as the fiery curse. Do you think it would be easier or the 3 unforgivable curses that are everywhere? Only this stupid lion knew nothing. I just recited a spell, not used it. What does it matter? There are many people who know this, but they... Just when Ethan was complaining about these little wizards, Quirrell's voice suddenly came from behind, interrupting their conversation. Student Adrian, come to my office, I have something to tell you. Ethan frowned. What on earth is Quirrell thinking? Why is he looking for me here instead of trying to get the Philosopher's Stone? And in class? Shouldn't your goal be the savior, Harry? After saying hello to a few roommates, Ethan followed Quirrell to see what tricks he was up to. After arriving at Quirrell's office, Ethan got straight to the point. Professor Quirrell, why did you call me here? I want to ask you how you read the notebook I gave you last semester. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me. Quirrell pretended to be a good teacher who cared about his students, but this face that was forced to overdraw its vitality had nothing to do with a kind teacher. Thank you, Professor Quirrell, for the notebook. It has been very useful to me. I have learned all the magic recorded in it. Student Adrian, you have a great talent in the dark magic. Quirrell sighed. Through Voldemort, he knew that there were 2 more advanced ones in the notebook, which were meant to make Ethan come to ask him if he couldn't understand. But he figured it out by himself. This notebook has 3 functions. The first is to slowly lead Ethan into the abyss of dark magic. The second is to deepen the connection between himself and Ethan, especially when Ethan came to ask for advice. After a few contacts, they became familiar with each other. Unfortunately, the plan failed. The third is to test Ethan. Hogwarts does not encourage the study of dark magic. Of course, if you can do it, it will not violate the rules. If Ethan gives this notebook to Dumbledore or Flitwick, it means that Ethan will be difficult to be won over by himself. But even if he gives it to Dumbledore, it will be fine. He can just say that he took the wrong notebook. This point Ethan did not hand over the notebook, which is also considered a pass. He belongs to the kind that can be won over. Plus Ethan's talent should make him become the right-hand man of 267 among the Death Eaters. Thank you for the compliment, Professor. I am just willing to spend more time on this, which is not a talent. Ethan waved his hand modestly. Then would you like to learn about the real dark magic? Quirrell took out his wand and pointed it at a spider in the corner. For example, the 3 unforgivable curses, Avatar eats the big melon. A dark green light gushed out from the tip of the wand and hit the target in the blink of an eye. The spider's body was dyed green and fell to the ground silently. Want to learn? I can teach you. Quirrell's bewitching voice sounded in Ethan's ears. Professor Quirrell, how can you use the unforgivable curses in Hogwarts? Ethan took 2 steps back and looked at Quirrell with a surprised expression. How to say it? This eats the big melon is really average, it is not controlled by Voldemort himself. Ethan, you have to remember that learning and using the unforgivable curses are not illegal, but using them against wizards is illegal, understand? You are different from other students, you are more talented and willing to work hard on this, such a good student is naturally more likely to get special care from the teacher. Ethan's panic expression was within Quirrell's expectations, but Ethan's calm or enthusiastic expression of wanting to learn was a bit wrong. When you have thought it over, you can come to me at any time. If my promise is valid during this semester, you can also take out this. Immediately, Joe Luo opened the drawer and took out a note and handed it to Ethan. After receiving the note from the restricted area, Ethan said goodbye to Quirrell and left the office. Master, is it really worth it to risk being exposed to win over this little wizard? Quirrell muttered to himself in the empty office. Stupid, you know nothing, do you think Dumbledore has never doubted Quirrell? Even Snape can detect that Quirrell is not right, Dumbledore is not old and confused yet, let alone you now. Voldemort's hoarse voice sounded from the back of Quirrell's head. And this little wizard with excellent talent and great interest in dark magic will be my best helper in the future. Chapter 69. Ethan, my owl brought your letter back. Inside the house, Cassandra handed the wax-coated envelope to Ethan. This was received after dinner today. Thank you. Ethan took the envelope, and Dennis Ray came over. More than a week ago, Ethan had just helped Hagrid feed the dragon cub, and was thinking about where Voldemort's dragon cub came from. Then he went to borrow an owl from Cassandra and wrote a letter to Dennis and the others. Although Hogwarts has owls, and they are free, but this is sent to Nocturne Alley. Who knows if it is safe to use, after all, it is a public one. And the Volley family's owl does not have this trouble. Isn't it normal for a pure-blood family to be connected with Nocturne Alley? In the letter, Ethan only asked Dennis one thing. Has any wizard recently purchased Ukrainian iron belly dragon eggs or dragon cubs from their THRES organization? The THRES organization has a certain reputation in the world and is not small in scale. Voldemort might have spent money here again. The transaction situation can also reflect some of Voldemort's status. Ethan opened the envelope. There was not much information in it, and Ethan scanned it at a glance. The THRES organization did sell a fire dragon egg, and it was a Ukrainian iron belly. Dennis naturally did not dare to ask Ethan why he knew, so he could only write down the answer he asked. The Ukrainian iron belly fire dragon egg was sold in Greece on the Balkan Peninsula, which is next to Albania. The Greek colleagues have obtained the egg for a long time. In order to maintain vitality, they need to be roasted by flames from time to time, which leads to the fact that it will hatch soon after a long time. But because the hatched dragon is not easy to sell, the organization can only reduce the temperature of the flame as much as possible in order to make it hatch slowly, but still can't find a suitable buyer. Until a man with a hooded wizard robe came over and wanted to trade a fire dragon egg with a deadly poisonous python. Originally, this transaction method was not in compliance with the rules, but the egg was about to hatch and could not be left unused, so the Greek staff had no choice but to agree to the transaction. The dragon egg was exchanged for a highly venomous python. The snake is now locked up in Greece and has not yet found a buyer. The information about the snake has been sent to members in other countries, hoping that colleagues in other places can help find a buyer. This is a mutually beneficial matter, and there is a commission for every transaction. According to the organization's internal appraisal, this unprecedented magical animal python is about XXXX in danger, with average physical strength, lower than most magical animals of XXXX level, but good speed, and its venom can dissolve muscles and is quite lethal. It can kill people in one blow at vital locations, and wounds at non-vital locations are difficult to heal, so it was identified as XXXX. Because it is an unprecedented species, this snake is still of some value. Seeing this, Ethan knew who the snake was. Nagini, the last Horcrux made by Voldemort, was made after his resurrection. In the original book, Nagini also bit Snape to death, bit Arthur Weasley, and was beheaded by Neville with the Gryffindor sword. Is Voldemort so miserable now? He even sold Nagini for the dragon egg, so what would his last Horcrux be? This accidentally changed a lot. But since Nagini has not been made into a Horcrux yet, Ethan is ready to take it down. A beautiful snake from Indonesia, who can survive the wizard war of that era and is still alive, is already quite powerful. Who doesn't like this kind of beautiful and powerful girl, but her identity is a bit complicated. Old people like Dumbledore know her, and it's hard to explain if they see Nagini in human form. In addition, it is not easy to restore Nagini to human form. This blood curse breaks out more frequently as she grows older, until she completely turns into a snake. She loses all her memories and habits as a human. Blood curses are usually hereditary, and they specifically target women. Later, Draco's wife Astoria Greengrass was also cursed with blood, but the two blood curses were different. Astoria did not turn into a snake, but she was weak and died in her 30s. It must be difficult to remove the blood curse. Nagini must have asked Dumbledore for help, but it was still useless. She turned into a snake and wandered to the Albanian forest. Astoria Greengrass, as a member of the Sacred 28, finally married Malfoy. It can be said that she has a very high status in the entire British wizarding world, but she is still not well treated. Ethan is not sure if it can be cured, but there is still a chance. After all, Ethan has a system cheat. Who knows when he will draw the magic and potion that can cure her. Immediately, Ethan wrote a letter to Dennis and took down the snake. The gold galleons needed. Bruno's potion and alchemy shop has made a lot of money recently. Polyjuice potion is still selling well, plus Ethan's alchemy products. It is also a shop with quite good business in Nocturne Alley. If there is still a shortfall, Ethan can also provide some. After all, Bafe's brain refresher has been selling all the time, and many students feel that they can't live without it. For each bottle, Ethan can get about 3 gold galleons. Although this money is not much, it is enough to support Ethan's expenses. Cassandra, send the letter out tomorrow morning, still at the same address. After sealing the letter with wax, Ethan handed it directly to Cassandra. Cassandra is really getting more and more obedient now. Yet, Cassandra accepted it immediately without asking what it said. Then Ethan began to teach Cassandra to practice the fiery spell. After practicing for a few days, Cassandra has been able to release the fiery spell skillfully, but she is not good at controlling it. Control it with your heart, don't be anxious, every time you are anxious, the fire will swell up and you will lose control. Looking at the flame coming out of the tip of Cassandra's wand, Ethan reminded her. Magic is the power of idealism. The deeper the understanding of oneself and the more confident one is, the greater the power that can be exerted, and the more handy it is to use magic. After hearing Ethan's reminder, Cassandra quickly calmed down, stopped increasing the firepower, and began to control the flame instead. Much stronger than the follower Draco who was burned to death by fire. Ethan remembered that after that guy set the fire, he could not only not control it, but also could not cut off his magic, so that the tip of the wand kept extinguishing. Increase the magic power a little, then slowly control it and change its shape. Seeing that Cassandra's control was pretty good, Ethan immediately reminded her. Stop, just like now, control it well. A fireball of about 1 meter is just right for a beginner like Cassandra. After all, not everyone can stack multiple layers of buffs like Ethan, and can unscrupulously provoke the fiend fire for the first time. Ethan gave a few pointers from time to time, and sometimes showed his own fiend fire spell until Cassandra was able to transform it into a rather abstract little flame wolf, and then Ethan left. Senior sister, how is your ancient magic literature? Penelope has been specializing in ancient magic literature during this period. On the one hand, Penelope chose ancient magic literature, which is one of the subjects of her O, W, L, and S exams this year. On the other hand, she wanted to learn Ethan's ancient magic Mjolnir. Ethan did not refuse this, after all, Penelope would sell herself to Ethan as a maid this summer. Although this magic is very precious, there is no need to hide it from your own people. However, there is a prerequisite. Penelope can understand the corresponding ancient magic words, and Ethan can teach her how to use Mjolnir. Forget about just teaching the ancient magic words. This is purely based on understanding, and it is very troublesome to teach. Although each ancient magic word has a fixed meaning, the power exerted by different understandings is different. If you can't understand the ancient magic words, even if you are told, it is not yours, but a lot of problems. This is why Hogwarts has an elective course on ancient magic words, and not many people choose to take it. Even for Hogwarts graduates who have chosen ancient magic words, most of them only know the ancient magic words on the surface. They are all rote knowledge, just to pass the test, and they can't apply it in practice at all. Ancient magic requires the power of these ancient magic words to be combined and arranged. If you don't understand them thoroughly, you will accidentally hurt yourself. This is also the reason why ancient magic has basically been lost. Simple and crude is just the way of casting an expression, but learning is not easy at all. Cassandra also covets Mjolnir and Gungnir, but she has no knowledge of ancient magic words now, so she can only put it behind her mind. It feels good. When I understand it thoroughly, I should be able to try to learn it. Penelope lifted her hair and smiled brightly at Ethan. Afterwards, Ethan stepped forward and said some of his own understanding, then stepped aside. Whether he could help her or not, it depended on how Penelope accepted the ability, given by the Lord. Walking to the incubation room nearby, Ethan casually threw a ball of fierce fire in, which was a daily necessity. I don't know what happened. I have been in charge for so long, and I have been roasting with fire, but it just didn't hatch, and the color is getting darker and darker. It used to reflect light, but now it doesn't feel like that at all. It's like an abyss, absorbing all the surrounding light. Walking out of the incubation room, a ball of pale flame emerged from Ethan's palm. This is the result of recent times. Without using a magic wand, Ethan directly opened his 5 fingers and gently scratched the ground. The pale flame instantly surrounded the ground when it landed. Ethan started to burn, forming 10 circles and extending to the surroundings. This was a combination of fire guard and fiery fire curse, but the Goblet fairy fire was still a little short, and he didn't know what went wrong, and it couldn't be integrated. Ethan didn't know why the black flame of fire guard and the orange-red fiery fire turned white after combining. But the temperature of this white flame was higher, and it had the characteristics of both. If it weren't for flame affinity, Ethan would never have succeeded. The combination of the two powerful black magics was a complete mess. At the beginning the flames filled the entire space. If Ethan hadn't practiced the fire guard magic to the maximum level at a very fast speed before, and had the assistance of the fire affinity characteristic, he would have been killed on the spot. Chapter 70. Cream Pancake. As soon as the words fell, the stone statue in front of Ethan immediately split into 2 halves, revealing a spiral staircase. Following the stairs, Ethan came to the principal's office again, and everything was the same as the last time. At the end of today's transfiguration class, Professor McGonagall conveyed Dumbledore's intention to see him and told him the password to open the door. This is how the current scene happened. Ethan also had some guesses about Dumbledore's intention to see him this time. Quirrell, who was possessed by Voldemort, contacted him again, and it was probably related to this matter. In addition, Ethan couldn't think of why. He had been quite honest during this period and had never had a conflict with anyone. He just went out every night and strolled around the Forbidden Forest. But if you don't get caught, it's not a violation. This is the unspoken rule of Hogwarts. Professor Dumbledore, I'm here. Ethan directly woke up Dumbledore, who was resting with his eyes closed, without any awareness of not disturbing the old man. Sorry, I'm old. I always feel sleepy at this time in the afternoon. Dumbledore put on the glasses on the desk, his eyes were a little dazed. You'd be a fool to believe you. This old guy is very bad. Ethan was sure that Dumbledore knew it the moment he shouted the command and the stone statue opened the door. Although Dumbledore was not young, wizards were very good at surviving. If he didn't want to die, he would have no problem outliving the young wizards of this generation. Not to mention Nicholas Flamel and his wife, the Daily Prophet reported that someone who was even more alive than them, Armando Dippet, was 300 years old and still served as the headmaster of Hogwarts, which was the headmaster when Voldemort was studying. Sit down first, what do you want to eat? As he said that, Dumbledore had already taken out several kinds of desserts, the most eye-catching of which were the cockroaches that were still moving. Ethan had seen a pile of cockroaches many times, but he had never eaten it once. But Dumbledore likes this thing very much. It can only be said that he is a 960 fanatic of sweets. No, thank you. After Ethan took the grape juice, he refused these desserts. Ethan, what do you think of Harry's performance during this period? After putting away all the desserts, Dumbledore asked slowly. Like a normal Gryffindor student, nothing special, except that Professor Snape specifically targeted him. Ethan carefully recalled Harry at this stage, and found that he had been more obedient since Christmas, except for the occasional night outing. The rest of the time was basically spent playing with Ronald, playing wizard chess, and talking about Quidditch, which were all normal Gryffindor hobbies. And occasionally he would go to see Hagrid, but apart from that, there was nothing wrong with him. Don't you think his life is too comfortable? How could it be? Aren't all of us students like this? Ethan looked at Dumbledore in confusion, wondering what he was up to. Talking to me about Harry? I am indeed familiar with Harry, but the one who has the best relationship is Ronald. The clown turned out to be me. I thought he was asking about me and Quirrell, but it turned out that he was concerned about Harry. Is it like this? Are you sure? Dumbledore looked at him with a smile on his face. Ethan. Well, I am a little restless. Whether it is sneaking to the Forbidden Forest or going to the Room of Requirement almost every night, these are not what normal little wizards should do. I want you to find something for Harry, otherwise such a comfortable life will wear down his will. Dumbledore finally told his purpose. Harry, who had just started school, had everything under his control. He encountered the three-headed dog during his night walk, and Hagrid accidentally revealed the news of the attack on Gringotts and Nicholas Flamel, or Snape's targeting of Harry, which made him misunderstand. According to this development, Harry will eventually find that the secret hidden in the corridor on the 4th floor is the Philosopher's Stone, and because of the misunderstanding of Snape, he will eventually think that he wants to steal the Philosopher's Stone. After all, it is always easy to use the greatest malice to guess someone you hate. Until the final confrontation with Voldemort, this is the script Dumbledore prepared for Harry in the 1st grade. Since Harry was protected by his mother's magic, Voldemort himself could not harm him. This was the best opportunity to hone Harry, the savior. Only after defeating Voldemort could Harry have the courage to fight him in the future. However, things had gone wrong now. Going home for Christmas was beyond Dumbledore's expectations. Now Snape was still targeting him, but Harry seemed to be indifferent and had lost interest in the corridor on the 4th floor. This was not okay. In order to get things back on track, he found Ethan. After all, it was not easy for him and the professors to intervene in this matter, otherwise the headmaster or the professors would encourage him to violate the school rules, and then guess what happened to other professors? Headmaster, I'm just a first-year wizard, I don't think I can help. Ethan said reluctantly. He didn't want to play the savior game with Dumbledore, let alone be a babysitter. Strength is the root of everything. Improve your own strength and protect the people you care about in the future. Doing these things well is enough. Although Ethan is to blame for making Harry comfortable, Ethan will not admit it. What evidence can you prove it? Otherwise, it is a false accusation. It affected Hermione. The trio could not be assembled, and their ability to make trouble declined, and they also lacked brains. It affected Draco. Although he still had extraordinary attention for Harry, there were no night duels, fewer conflicts, and he was not able to join the Gryffindor Quidditch team, which also reduced his opportunities for training. Finally, there was Snape. Because of what Ethan said at the time, Harry now only felt that he was fighting for his father. Snape could target him if he wanted to, but he would not lose a piece of meat anyway. After all, his father's success in the sky made Snape, who loved his mother deeply, single until now, becoming an overage single dog in his 30s. With this idea, although Harry still didn't like Snape very much, he didn't think that he wanted to kill him. At most, it was revenge for his father, which was not too bad, just a little narrow-minded, so he naturally didn't doubt anything. CHFG, I think you have a way, and I won't let you help me in vain. If Ronald could be smarter and have fewer minor problems, he wouldn't come to Ethan. But Ronald couldn't do anything big. If he dared to tell him a little, this thing would be ruined. It's not a vain help. Hearing that there was a reward, Ethan became excited. This white devil would definitely not be stingy. As long as the reward was in place, it was not impossible to cooperate with Dumbledore to play Harry. I see you are quite interested in alchemy, so do you know who is the highest achievement in alchemy now? Dumbledore has chips to impress Ethan, and there are quite a few, but he can't take out much. Nicholas Flamel. Ethan said affirmatively. The highest achievement of alchemy is to turn stone into gold. Isn't this the function of the Philosopher's Stone? Now the only one who can do this is Nicholas Flamel. Yes, if you do me a small favor, I don't mind helping you once and introducing Nicholas to you. Dumbledore smiled and nodded. For a wizard who likes alchemy, Nicholas Flamel's guidance is absolutely impossible to refuse. In this case, Harry's problem will be handed over to me, and I will definitely make him rejuvenated. Ethan immediately made a promise to find something for Harry to do, which is not difficult. This is Nicholas Flamel's guidance, which can be regarded as the standard of time travel. Any time traveler who doesn't go to Nicholas Flamel to learn a few tricks is embarrassed to say that he is a time traveler. I believe you can do it, especially the spirit of adventure, which is what Harry lacks most at the moment. Dumbledore believed that even if he didn't explain it clearly, Ethan would understand what he meant. Ethan had been to the 4th floor. Although he didn't enter under the movable door panel, he must have guessed it. And Hagrid was a big mouth. Ethan had been in contact with him for so long, and he must have revealed a lot of information. With Ethan's wisdom, he must know what he should know. In addition, the problem of Quirrell, both sides have been in contact. In this game, the professors knew that Quirrell had a problem, but they didn't know what the problem was. Voldemort also knew that Dumbledore had noticed him, but wealth and honor are sought in danger, and he is immortal, so what is there to be afraid of? The only ones who were led from beginning to end were Harry and his group. I understand, the corridors around. Ethan gave Dumbledore a knowing look. If you want adventure at Hogwarts, the Forbidden Forest is the best choice, but this year a new map of the corridor on the 4th floor has been opened. Anyone with a decent brain knows that this is specially opened. The two exchanged a few more pleasantries, and Ethan was ready to retreat, but he remembered something and turned to Dumbledore and said, "Principal, after the last defense against the dark arts class, Professor Quirrell showed me the killing curse, and he said he could also teach me how to use it. I wonder if I should go." "Child, don't learn these things, and don't get in touch with Quirrell. I should have reminded you earlier. If you have any knowledge about magic that you don't understand, you can ask me." Dumbledore's face became serious. He had always let Quirrell go, even if he was in contact with Ethan, but he didn't expect him to be so bold. It was fine to talk about the 3 unforgivable curses publicly, but he even dragged the little wizard into the water. Magic is the power of the mind, and the 3 unforgivable curses are the best in the dark magic. It's not that you will become bad after learning them, but as you learn and use them, your personality will become more extreme, and your emotions will also shift to the dark side. If you are not careful, you will easily do something wrong, and it will be too late to regret it. Ethan was very cruel last time, but he also had a sense of propriety. Those little snakes in Slytherin only suffered physical pain. If Ethan learned the unforgivable curses and repeated the situation of that day, he might lose control of his emotions all of a sudden and show his big melon to his classmates. In this case, the situation will be out of control, which will be an extremely bad result for both parties. "I know, I will pay attention." Ethan nodded and walked out of the principal's office. Ethan didn't want to have any contact with Voldemort. He was just a remnant soul and couldn't bring any benefit to him. As for his knowledge of dark magic, most of it was useless to Ethan. Chapter 71. Time flies, and it is May. There is still 1 month left for the end of the school year. At this time, even the most lazy and playful Gryffindors start to go into the library. Let alone the O, W, L, S and N, E, W, T, S exams that are related to the fate of wizards. The final exam report card will directly affect whether you will have a big meal or fried meat on a stick when you go home during the summer vacation. This also led to the crazy sales of Bafe Brain Refresher starting last week. Of course, the main force is still the seniors, and the lower grades are only those who are cramming at the last minute. "Ethan, have you finished refining the brain potion?" The debt collectors came again. George and Fred blocked Ethan at the intersection where he was leaving the potions class. The Weasley brothers never closed their smiles during this period. Gryffindor alone can sell more than 20 bottles a day, which means they earn at least 20 gold galleons, more than 10 per person a day, which is far more than their father Arthur's salary. Now they are in the 3rd year, and there are still 4 years to graduate. According to the current trend, they can save up the money needed for the joke shop before graduation. They can also have enough gold galleons to develop new products. When they graduate, they will have both products and gold galleons. Nothing can be better than this, which makes them very enthusiastic about it. It's just that Ethan's production has a problem and the supply can't meet the demand. The 4 colleges need about 100 bottles a day, but Ethan has only 3 people to refine them. They have to go to class on weekdays, so the production is higher on weekends. What they sold in the past few days were all stocks, but the stocks were sold out the day before yesterday. "I can give you 12 bottles. On school days, 3 roommates, one of them can make 3 pots by using the evening events, and each pot can be divided into 5 bottles. This is the maximum output. It's a pity that none of them can operate multiple crucibles at a time, otherwise the speed will have to double." During this period, several roommates are also happy and painful. For the sake of gold galleons, they only complain a few words. If you want to buy flying brooms, magic props, and extracurricular books, you have to earn gold galleons. Except that Jean is from a wizard family and is not short of money, the other 2 will not easily give up this opportunity. Fortunately, as Ravenclaw, the academic performance is good, and there is no need to review like other colleges during this period. "Ethan, give more." Fred put his arm around Ethan's shoulders and showed a flattering smile. "This is not a potion, it is completely gold galleons. It is not shameful to bow to gold galleons. You already have 1 more bottle than the other 3 colleges, what else do you want?" Ethan said helplessly that he had to treat everyone equally. He had chosen people from the 4 colleges to do the sales, and they all had a certain influence in their colleges. If the distribution was uneven, it would cause dissatisfaction among students from each college at this critical moment before the exam, which would affect them all. At least all kinds of rumors are inevitable, don't underestimate the complexity of people's hearts. To be honest, Ethan, you should find more people to make Bafe Brain Refresher, or at least prepare enough in advance. Fred took the 12 bottles of Bafe Brain Refresher and put them away, sighing. These 12 bottles were sold out in 1 morning, and the loss was all money. Even if Ethan didn't feel sorry, they felt sorry too. "Your potion level is not bad, I asked you to help make it, and the price is the same as Michael's. Who can you blame if you don't agree?" Ethan had thought of this before. Previously, Ethan knew that when the school year was about to end, the sales of Bafe Brain Refresher would be better than usual. This was obvious, just like mineral water and beverages are very popular in summer. For this reason, Ethan specially saved more than 300 bottles of Bafe Brain Refresher, which should be enough with the daily production, but he didn't expect that it would be sold out in less than 10 weeks. After all, there were only 700 bottles in more than a month before, and now there are more than this number in a week. Really underestimated the rich people in Hogwarts, 5 gold galleons a bottle, not cheap. And the duration is pitifully short, only 20 minutes. As a result, many old customers come to buy a bottle every day, and some even more than 1 bottle. When it was popular a few days ago, Ethan also wanted to add a few people to refine the potion. The first person he thought of was the twins. They were good in all aspects and it would be no problem to teach them once, but they refused. Because they wanted to develop new products. In the past, they were limited by funding issues and had no progress in this area. Now that they have sufficient funds, they can't stop at all, so naturally they are unwilling to do the same boring work. The rest are either unsuitable or Ethan is worried. "Ethan, I can help you, provided that the potion is not too complicated." Hermione, who listened to the whole process, made her own suggestions. She thought that her potion skills were excellent among her peers, and she should be able to help Ethan. "Then Hermione, can you accept night tours?" Ethan did not avoid anyone when he said this. How rare is a night tour? How many little lions of Gryffindor have not gone on a night tour? If Hermione wants to help, Ethan will definitely not refuse. Her talent for potions is also quite good. She can self-study and successfully brew Polyjuice potion in the second year. But the BAFE brain refresher cannot be brewed in the Gryffindor dormitory. Not to mention the problem of formula leakage, even if it is to kill frogs in the girls' dormitory to take out their brains, Ethan suspects that Hermione's roommate will not be able to sleep at night, and then throw Hermione out with the crucible and frogs. The dormitory is not okay, so it can only be outside. No matter where you go, you have to go on a night tour, because there are classes during the day, and the time is not continuous. Except for those potions that take a long time to brew, which can be operated once at intervals, people cannot leave during the brewing of short-term potions. If it's nighttime, I can. Hermione said seriously after a moment of silence. She really didn't want to violate the rules of Hogwarts, fearing that she would be caught and lose points. If you don't take the first step, it will become natural after you get used to it. But in the environment of Gryffindor, nighttime swimming is too common. Not to mention the group of energetic little boys, even Lavender Brown and Parvati Paddle in the dormitory have gone out for nighttime swimming. Maybe I can also try the characteristics of Gryffindor. It's definitely not to help Ethan and beat Cassandra, so I broke my own rules. Okay, I'll wait for you outside the Gryffindor common room at 10 o'clock tonight. Alas, it's really a sin, dragging a pure little witch into the water again. Harry, hurry up, Ethan just gave Fred and George the Buffy brain refresher, let's go buy it. Ronald, who had just come out of the classroom, shouted excitedly to Harry. In the potion class just now, the two made several mistakes in a row, and were scolded like grandsons, and their scores were deducted. Now they are no different from eggplants hit by frost. If nothing unexpected happens, it will be extremely difficult for the two to get a grade above A, pass, in the potion class this year. Who made the two of them not study hard for almost a year, and even had to borrow others' homework? Although they learned other courses better than potions, they also had limits. Especially Ronald, he was not as talented as Harry, and he played more vigorously. In the written test, the two were equally good, but Ronald was far behind in the practical operation. Just after class, Ronald suggested getting some Buffy brain refresher to improve the grades. Ronald didn't care much before, but the exam was about to start, and the atmosphere around him changed, which also led to Ronald couldn't help but think of how angry Lee would be when she got her report card. At home, Bill, who had already graduated, was the best one. He was the president of the male student union and got 12 marks in the exam. Charlie also had good grades and became the captain of Quidditch. The three brothers who are still studying now, not to mention the head of the class, Percy, George, and Fred's grades are not bad. They are the best in theory and practice in the third grade. They just like to play pranks and receive a lot of complaints. Among such a pile of report cards, only his own is out of place. Thinking about this kind of thing makes Ronald feel chilled. And Harry, because he has improved his relationship with his aunt's family, also wants to go home decently. It is really embarrassing to go to the Muggle world with a bunch of barely passing and failing grades. Therefore, he also quite agrees with Ronald's idea. Fred, can you give me 2 bottles of Buffy Brain Wake Up Agent? Hearing Ronald's reminder, Harry immediately trotted to Fred. He knew how popular the Buffy Brain refresher was recently. Yesterday, Neville wanted to buy a bottle to try, saying that he wanted to improve his brain and maybe become smarter, but it was sold out and he couldn't buy it. The potion, which was originally only circulated among seniors, became known to the whole school because of Ethan's one-sided fight. It can be said that this also advertised Ethan. Ronald, this is yours. After paying the gold galleons and getting 2 bottles of Buffy Brain refresher, Harry gave 1 bottle directly to Ronald, showing quite generosity. Anyway, the gold galleons in the vault of Gringotts were piled up into a small mountain, and they could not be spent. Unfortunately, Harry didn't know that there were 2 inheritances waiting for him to receive, and then he really couldn't spend them all. Thank you. Ronald took it a little embarrassedly. Although he wanted Harry to pay the bill, he was still a little embarrassed at this time. The main reason was that he was too poor. He rented Banban to Ethan as an experimental subject and got 4 gold galleons. He gave 1 gold galleon each to his 2 brothers as medicine men, and got 5 in total. It was not easy to make this money. Banban was fine, but he was not the one who suffered. He had another hemorrhage as a medicine man and could not stop it. He had to go to the school hospital. There were only 9 gold galleons in total. Even if he added what he had saved over the years, he could only buy 2 bottles. He also wanted to buy a magic wand this summer. Now the core of the magic wand in his hand was exposed, which was not very convenient. Chapter 72. Ethan, I have something to tell you. After buying the Buffy brain stimulant, Harry pulled Ethan to a deserted corner. What's the matter? It's about Hagrid. Malfoy followed me yesterday and saw Hagrid's dragon. I'm worried that he will report it. I wonder if you have any solution. Harry's face looked a little ugly. If he had been more careful at that time, Draco would not have followed him to the Forbidden Forest. But this has already happened, and Harry just wants to save it as much as possible. If he goes to talk to Malfoy, he will definitely not agree, but Ethan is different. Last time, I heard someone say that Draco took the initiative to apologize to Ethan. If Ethan goes to him, it may be feasible. But this is obviously his own problem, but he still feels a little embarrassed to ask others to solve it. But if he doesn't do this, Hagrid may be arrested and imprisoned in Azkaban. Dragons are not allowed to be privately raised. Although Ronald gave Hagrid an idea, asking Hagrid to hand the dragon to his brother who works at the Romanian Dragon Reserve, as long as Draco doesn't find the dragon when he reports it, there will be no problem. But Hagrid is unwilling to do so, fearing that it will be bullied by other dragons wherever it goes. After all, the baby dragon is still a little weak now. No, Hagrid's dragon is kept in the Forbidden Forest. Did Malfoy follow him in? 4 Kings Bag. Ethan was a little confused. Draco was so timid that he dared to run to the Forbidden Forest. In the original book, when Draco heard that he had to help patrol the Forbidden Forest, he was scared to death. With Ethan's reminder, Hagrid's dragon was not in his own hut at all, but was kept in the Forbidden Forest. One is to avoid being discovered, and the other is to adapt to the life in the Forbidden Forest in advance. For this reason, Hagrid found a previously abandoned hut in the Forbidden Forest to raise the dragon, and spent most of his time in the Forbidden Forest every day. Harry didn't know that Hagrid raised a dragon, but Ethan told him so that he could detect if someone used a dragon to trap Hagrid. Well, Ronald and I went to the Forbidden Forest to see the dragon yesterday evening. Malfoy followed us, and we didn't notice it until we went to the Forbidden Forest and got to the dragon. Then he was discovered by Fang. Harry didn't know what was wrong with Draco, why he had to stare at him. He had been like this since the first time they met, self-righteous, likes to find faults, and now has evolved into a stalker. He didn't know if Draco had any special hobbies, and Harry shuddered when he thought of this. Leave it to me, I'll talk to him. Ethan nodded in agreement. His fire dragon, which had not yet hatched, would also be kept in the Forbidden Forest in the future. With 2 fire dragons, he could have a companion or something. There is one more thing, Ethan, do you know? Hagrid's fire dragon was deliberately given to him by someone in order to get information about the 3-headed dog in the corridor on the 4th floor, or maybe to plot against the things hidden inside. Didn't I ask you about Nicholas Flamel last time? The things hidden inside are related to him, and it is very likely to be the Philosopher's Stone, but I don't know who is targeting it. This is also what Harry and Ronald inferred yesterday based on what Hagrid said. They knew how precious the dragon was. No one would lose it in a card game. He couldn't imagine how big a game this would take. And he also suspiciously inquired about the 3-headed dog. The 3-headed dog was now guarding the thing that Hagrid took out from Gringotts. Harry knew this before. He didn't care too much at first, but yesterday he connected everything together. Someone was trying to get the Philosopher's Stone, and this person was probably in Hogwarts. Before Christmas, Harry suspected that Snape was not a good person. He must have ulterior motives in Hogwarts. He might be the one who attacked Gringotts, but now Harry thought about it all night and couldn't find a target to suspect. Ronald still suspected Snape because he hated Snape. Ronald didn't let Harry tell anyone, but his brain couldn't compare to Ethan. If Ethan hadn't reminded him who Nicholas Flamel was last time, they might not know until now. Who do you think is the most suspicious in the school? Professor Snape. Harry said cautiously, mainly because Ronald was sure it was him. You can think about Professor Quirrell and the defense against the dark arts class. You can ask the seniors about these. Forget about anything else. Why did Professor Quirrell return to Hogwarts to teach after being injured so badly recently? After saying that, Ethan patted Harry on the shoulder and left. It's enough to plant a seed for this kind of thing. Let him think and doubt the rest by himself. After dinner, Ethan blocked Draco who was going back to the Slytherin common room. Looking at the arrogant guy in front of him who lowered his head and didn't dare to look at him, Ethan always had a sense of dominating the elementary school students. I hope you don't tell anyone about Hagrid raising a dragon. Well, I won't tell anyone. Draco nodded without hesitation. He was really afraid of Ethan and didn't dare to provoke him. Originally, he was planning to drive Harry, Ronald, and the half-blood giant away together, but he knew what to do. Then he would report the matter to his headmaster and let him handle it. He wanted Gryffindor to suffer the most. Unfortunately, the plan was shattered before it even started. If you don't provoke me in the future, I won't cause you any trouble, so there's no need to be so afraid of me. Ethan was really speechless about this little submissive Draco in front of him. He had just gained the temperament of a sunny and warm big boy during Christmas, and he was more popular in school. Even though there were a few little wizards who were afraid of him after he said the 3 unforgivable curses last time, they were back to normal in 2 days. Only in front of Draco, he was like a bully who liked to bully his classmates. It was obviously him who caused the trouble at the beginning. I know. My dad wants to invite you to visit our house during the summer vacation. This was the task assigned to him by Lucius. After he sent a letter back last time, he said that he had obtained Ethan's forgiveness. At that time, Lucius mentioned the invitation to Ethan in his reply. It's just that Draco has never found a suitable opportunity to say it, or he is a little afraid to tell Ethan. We'll contact each other then. I'm not sure if I have time during the summer vacation now. Dumbledore promised to introduce Nicholas Flamel to me during this holiday. I don't know when and how long he will stay, so I can't promise anything. As for the good intentions of the Malfoys, Ethan is not afraid of that. To be frank, if they have any ideas, they can burn them in the manor to ashes. In the wizarding world, the power of individuals is infinitely magnified. There is no such thing as ants biting elephants. Grindelwald, Dumbledore, and Voldemort can challenge the Ministry of Magic of a country alone. When they want to retreat, they can just leave. No one can stop them at all, provided that they are not stupid enough to be tricked. But Draco was a little confused. Did Ethan agree or not? Back in the Ravenclaw dormitory, the 3 roommates were nowhere to be seen. Ethan immediately got into the box with the traceless expansion spell cast. Ethan, these frogs won't be enough tomorrow. Michael chopped off a frog's head with his knife, and then used a knife to dig out the frog's brain, and threw the frog's body into the trash can beside him. This has improved Ethan's original method of taking frog brains, which is more convenient and faster, and it only takes 20 seconds to process a frog. When Michael and his friends graduate, they can say, I have been killing frogs in Hogwarts for 7 years, and my heart is as cold as my knife. Well, I will ask Fred and his friends to go to Hogsmeade tomorrow. Since they started to make the Bafe Brain Refresher, Bruce's pet shop, which sells frogs in Hogsmeade Village, is going to make a fortune. Originally, they were only used as food for magical animals, but now they are specially purchased for Ethan to make medicine. A potion requires 4 frog brains, and a pot of 20 frogs. If you don't count the rest days, you need to consume 180 frogs a day. I calculated that by the time the summer vacation comes, the money I saved can almost buy a Nimbus 2000, which is the latest model. Next year, I can bring my flying broom to Hogwarts, but the brooms at home are all old models from more than 10 years ago. The latest Nimbus 2000 costs 300 gold galleons. The money I earn here, plus the pocket money I saved before, is enough. This is Jean's motivation to keep going. Ethan looked at him with pity. Now it is true that the Nimbus 2000 is the best performing flying broom and the latest model. But I don't know when the Nimbus 2001 will be launched in the 2nd grade, and there is also the Rocket Master waiting behind. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Ethan brought the frog and oil and came to the door of the Gryffindor common room. At this moment, Hermione was waiting here. Okay, come with me. Looking at Hermione, who was a little nervous about her first night tour, Ethan directly took her hand and walked out. It is inevitable to be nervous for the first time, but you will relax after getting used to it. How many times have you been on a night tour? It started on the 2nd day after entering Hogwarts. Ethan answered with a smile on his face, not ashamed. 2.7. Hermione was a little speechless. Is this the good student in the eyes of several professors? Okay, remember this place, silently recite the room you need, walk back and forth 3 times, and it will appear. Now follow me. After saying that, he pulled Hermione into a light door in front. You are all here. Hermione was dumbfounded when she saw Penelope and Cassandra. Now the only one missing is Chujong. Hermione suspected that if Chujong hadn't had Quidditch training in the evening, he might have been here too. I thought that with this opportunity, I could spend more time with Ethan, but I was the last one to come. The clown turned out to be me. Granger, you're here too. Cassandra turned around and greeted him, showing a provocative look. When the potion class was over, Cassandra heard that Hermione was going to help Ethan make potions, so she knew she was coming and prepared for it. I came with Ethan just after Halloween, why are you so late? Hermione suddenly froze in black and white. I was here first. Chapter 73. Room of Requirement, Dragon Hatching Room. The hot white flames continuously emit high temperature. Ethan, Cassandra, and others have soaked their wizard robes with sweat, but they still stay here and don't want to leave. Ethan, it should hatch today. Hermione looked at the shaking black dragon egg with excitement on her face. This is a dragon. Any child who knows that there are dragons in this world will want to raise one. Even Hermione, who is extremely obedient, can't refuse, although she is also afraid of being discovered. It should be about time. 3 days ago, the dragon egg began to shake slightly, and it was particularly strong today. It has been more than 6 months since Ethan got this dragon egg. After such a long time, all the eggs should have hatched. Ethan, have you decided where to keep it? Penelope looked at Ethan with some worry. It was a serious crime to secretly keep a dragon. He might be expelled from Hogwarts and put in Azkaban. Keep it in the Room of Requirement first. Take it back with the box with the traceless expansion spell during holidays. Keep it in the Forbidden Forest later. I have time to expand the space in the box now. But it is far from enough to accommodate the dragon. Ethan sighed. How big is Newt's commander's suitcase? If the dragon only needs to survive and does not consider other things, the area does not need to be very large, just like the tiger cage in the zoo. But if you add the activity area and the hunting area, it will be terrible. An adult dragon needs 100 square miles of territory, 1 square mile is 2.58 square kilometers. Even if Newt doesn't need to worry about predation in his box, he still needs an activity area, at least 10 square miles to avoid being connected to other magical animal territories, and to be able to stretch his body and move around. You know, there are quite a few magical animals in his box. Among the XXXXX level ones, there are Zuu, Winged Demon, and Poison Leopard. Although the Fire Dragon has not been released, Ethan doesn't believe that Newt doesn't have such a classic thing, and there are even more at the XXXX level and below, among which the Thunderbird needs an activity area that is no smaller than the Fire Dragon. To fit all of these and establish an independent ecological environment, Ethan estimates that at least half of London's area is needed. Look, it's cracked. Chu Zhang's shout attracted everyone's attention. I saw a long and thin crack on the dark eggshell. If you don't look carefully, you can't see it at all. It's too subtle. Click. In the quiet room, this sound seems particularly obvious. The thin crack suddenly expanded and spread, as if it was going to split the egg in two. The hot white flame was also absorbed by the dragon egg in an instant, so that at this moment, only the dragon egg was left on the concave stone platform. A black tail was the first to break through the eggshell, and the tip of the tail was still dancing in the air like an arrow. It must have been holding it back. With a swoosh, the tail was retracted, and the eggshell that had just been pierced by the tip of the tail was pushed open a large piece, and a wrinkled black dragon head stretched out with a small piece of broken eggshell. Then the eggshell shook violently twice, and it completely cracked, allowing the Hebdi Island's black dragon cub that Ethan had been looking forward to for a long time to completely break out of the shell. The whole is a bright black color, with small spikes on the back, a sharp tail like an arrow, wings like a bat, purple pupils and small bulges on both sides of the head. What surprised Ethan the most was that it actually had 2 front legs. Except for the Welsh green dragon, all the dragons in this world only had hind legs, and they fought on the ground like a chicken. The Welsh green dragon that Furong drew in the movie had 4 legs, and the other dragons that appeared had only 2 hind legs. Of course, wings can also replace the front legs to help the dragon run, just like the Ukrainian iron belly raised by Hagrid. Dennis said that this was an authentic Hebridean black dragon egg, so this shouldn't happen? Did the green dragon cheat, or did the black dragon cheat? Ethan, I remember you said this was a Hebridean black dragon egg, and the appearance matched, but it was this leg, what's going on? After Hermione knew that Ethan had a dragon egg, she also looked up a lot of information, but she had never seen such a strange dragon. Maybe it's a hybrid. There are records that fire dragons can mate with each other and produce precious hybrids. But, although the Hebdi Island's black dragon and the Welsh green dragon are both in Great Britain, they have different habits and a huge size difference. Are they really hybrids? Penelope also fell into deep thought. The Hebdi Island's black dragon is 30 feet tall when grown up, while the Welsh green dragon is only 18 feet tall when grown up. In the eyes of the black dragon, even if the green dragon is grown up, it is probably just a cub that has just reached adolescence, like an adult of 1.8 meters and a child of 1.2 meters. However, Ethan is more inclined to believe that the bloodline has mutated. In fact, except for the front legs, there is no appearance feature of the Welsh green dragon. After all, a dragon born in the flames of black magic has a high probability of genetic mutation. Now it's time to give him a name, but we have to see if it's a boy or a girl. Chu Zhang was not interested in these academic questions. He was excited to catch the fire dragon cub and see what was under its belly. Ah! Chu Zhang's right hand hadn't even touched the dragon when it was bitten by the dragon with its fangs opened. Ethan rushed forward and separated them. The dragon stopped struggling and rubbed Ethan's hand with its rough head. It looked cute and sensible, not like it had just bitten someone. Looking at the bloody middle finger, Chu Zhang wanted to cry but couldn't. Chu, how do you feel? Except for the Welsh green dragon, which was relatively docile, other dragons were aggressive, but not so ferocious. Generally, when a dragon hatches, it will get close to the first creature it sees, although it may see a lot at first glance. It hurts so much. Chu Zhang said, showing the middle finger that was still bleeding. Heal quickly. Ethan pointed his wand at Chu Zhang's wound, and a burst of white light wrapped it. It healed in a few seconds. This is the spell that Ethan deduced based on the shadowless magic. The shadowless magic was recorded in Snape's potion book, but there was no counterspell. And Ethan happened to know this spell. When Harry almost killed Draco with the shadowless magic, Snape used the quick healing to stop Draco's bleeding. According to the healing spell quick healing and the shadowless magic, the difficulty is not very high. Moreover, this special healing spell is quite effective. It can not only heal the wounds caused by the shadowless magic, but also other external injuries. Ethan, check whether it is a male or female dragon. After the finger was healed, Chu Zhang urged Ethan. She didn't dare to touch it with her hands. It was too fierce. It's a little female dragon. Ethan turned it over and said with certainty. If it's a female dragon, how about calling it Catherine? Cassandra was the first to suggest. Forget it, this name is everywhere, it's better to call it Isabel. Hermione complained on the spot. How can you be better than me? Ethan really hadn't thought about what to call it. After all, Ethan hadn't named the winged demon and the Voldemort before. Just call it Onyxia. Ethan ignored the two people who were arguing and made the decision directly. If they were allowed to come, I'm afraid there would be no result at the end of this semester. Onyxia, a very classic name of a black dragon in the game, and it's a little female dragon. I didn't expect you to have a talent for naming. This name is pretty good. Penelope looked at Ethan with some surprise. In her impression, men's names are just a few words. After naming, Ethan turned around and left the dragon hatching room to get the food prepared in advance. 2 days ago, when the dragon egg showed signs of hatching, Ethan went to the Forbidden Forest to catch a deer, brought it back to Hogwarts and raised it in the room of requirement. Now he slaughtered it. Deer is the favorite food of the Hebridean black dragons. In addition, they also prey on cattle. Of course, brandy and chicken blood are also indispensable. Cut the venison into strips and put it on a plate. After pouring a small basin of chicken blood brandy, Ethan sprinkled the powder of the energy cube into it. This was prepared by Ethan in advance. The main materials used were dragon blood and fire ash snake eggs, which can enhance the flame and physique. When these were brought to the fire dragon, Onyxia couldn't wait to trot over, flapping her wings, but unfortunately she was still young and couldn't fly. She buried her head in the basin, drank 2 sips of chicken blood brandy, and then took 2 bites of venison on the plate. Sparks would occasionally come out of her nose. It looked a bit cute, but with Chu Zhang's experience, the girls didn't dare to touch it. No one wanted to become the next victim. If they wanted to get close, they had to wait until they were familiar with each other. Fire dragons are not easy to raise when they are young. They have strong digestive ability and need to eat every half an hour. We have to prepare enough food according to their appetite. After all, Ethan can't really come to feed them every half an hour. After Onyxia had eaten and drunk enough, Ethan asked the room of requirement for a nest suitable for fire dragons. Putting Onyxia on his shoulders, Ethan led the girls into the light gate. This is an amazingly large rock cave. It is very dry inside. Ethan can still feel the heat coming from below. Chapter 74. The first week of June is the final exam week at Hogwarts. The written exam, also known as the Magic Theory exam, starts first. All subjects except the flying class will be completed within 2 days, and the next 3 days will be the practical exam. In order to prevent cheating, no one is allowed to take the BAFE Brain Awakening agent during the exam. It doesn't matter if it is used to assist learning, but it is definitely not allowed to be used to cheat in the exam. As for the more advanced Felix, this thing that is prohibited in the advanced competition, it is not included in the prohibited items this time, but no one should drink such a luxurious thing as Felix during the final exam. In addition, you don't need to bring your own feather pen and ink, you can see it on the slaughterhouse. The first exam is the theoretical knowledge of spells, which will be supervised by Professor Flitwick himself. Mr. Donahue, I think you should change your clothes, what do you think? Abbot Donahue, a first-year Gryffindor student, just came to the classroom with a group of little lions. Before he sat down, he was called by Professor Flitwick. Sorry, I'll go right away. Abbot Donahue ran out of the classroom in a hurry with his face flushed red. His wizard robe was covered with notes written with invisibility potion. As long as he took advantage of the professor's invigilation and used magic to stimulate it, he would be visible. He thought it would be foolproof, but he didn't expect to be discovered before it even started. Ethan could only say that Professor Flitwick's temper was still too good. If it were Snape, he would definitely lose the qualification to take the exam, and he would also have to lose school points. The current Gryffindor school points, although it has recovered a little after Quirrell came back to class, are still the bottom of the 4 colleges. With Abbot Donahue as a living example, all the students were trembling with fear, fearing that they would also be caught. But after Professor Flitwick turned around, no one escaped. The special glasses that can reflect the answers in the wizard's eyes were brought back by senior students in Hogsmeade Village. Compared to Ethan's BAFE Brain Refresher, this one doesn't need to be studied hard, just wear it during the exam and you're done. Shen can only fool the 10th grade students. Because the 5 students wearing this glasses have been caught, you are not Harry Potter with a hammer eye, and this thing can be confiscated every year in recent years. There are also some more advanced ones who use transfiguration to turn Xiao Chao into a body decoration, which did not escape Professor Flitwick's eyes. As a senior professor who has taught at Hogwarts for more than 20 years, he has seen all kinds of tricks. These first-year wizards are still too childish compared to those seniors. They all use these things that can be seen through at a glance. Senior wizards have all kinds of potions and alchemical props, and there are all kinds of strange ways to convey answers such as codes, gestures, etc. There was even a person who used polyjuice potion to take the exam for someone else. If he hadn't pretended to be unqualified, he really wouldn't have noticed. With Professor Flitwick proofread the next few subjects, and everyone was much more honest, especially potions, where no one cheated. The next day, Ethan looked through the subject of history of magic, and found that more than half of the young wizards were cheating, and the process was quite simple and crude. Defense against the dark arts was not much better, and Quirrell didn't care about it at all. Astronomy, Ethan really had no interest in it, so he didn't learn it very well, so he referred to Cassandra's answers. 2 days passed in a flash, and 4 subjects were taken on the first day, and 3 subjects on the second day. Next was the more difficult practical part. If you don't know the written test, you can guess the multiple choice questions. If you can get close to the essay questions, the professor will give you some points. But if you don't know the practical, you can only laugh. Transfiguration test. When Ethan and others entered the classroom, there was a golden snitch on the podium. The content of the test was to turn a teacup into a golden snitch, and the score was based on the degree of completion. Compared to the match turning into a silver needle at the beginning of the school year, this was much more difficult. You have to know that the golden snitch, whether it was a round body or wings, was covered with fine lines. It was not easy to perfectly replicate it. Ethan thought that this was Professor McGonagall pointing at Gryffindor, because McGonagall was a Quidditch fanatic, but Gryffindor was really not good this year. After losing to Slytherin and Hufflepuff, they only won the Ravenclaw women's team by a slight margin, most of them were girls. The following little wizards can join the Quidditch team next year. They are fresh blood. One by one, pay attention to me. Gryffindor really has nothing to lose. Everything was normal before. Even if it became weird, it was a change. Only after Seamus came on the court, everything changed. Professor McGonagall was on high alert. Bang. As expected, an explosion still occurred, and golden fragments were scattered all over the classroom. At least the color changed, which shows that Seamus still has a certain talent for transfiguration, but his talent for explosion is too high, which overshadows his other talents. When it was Ethan's turn, there was no problem at all, and he easily got an O. In the potions exam, the shrinking potion needed to be brewed this time was quite difficult. In the past, 2 people were in a group, but during the exam, 1 person operated alone. Daisy roots, chopped, shrunken figs, peeled, caterpillars, cut into thin slices, a drop of rat bile, and a little leech juice. Although this was a potion that had just been brewed a few weeks ago, the entire exam site was still a bit chaotic, and all kinds of questions were varied. After all, you have to kill rats to get rat bile, squeeze leech juice yourself, and cut caterpillars yourself. For those clumsy little wizards, this is a nightmare. But this was no problem for Ethan and his roommates, who were the first to finish. Although Snape didn't grade the results in class, it should be a sure thing. When it came to the exam for the spells class, Professor Flitwick took everyone to a classroom with a small arena. As a former duel champion, Professor Flitwick's exams were quite hardcore, and he directly pulled everyone out to fight. Actual combat brings true knowledge, and he doesn't want his students to be useless and fail at a critical moment. This is not acceptable. Harry was the first to go on stage, and his opponent was Draco Malfoy. The 2 guys were equally matched, but Harry finally won the final victory with his weapon removal. Next was Ronald versus Goyle. The 2 were a bit funny. They actually threw away their wands and played free fighting. Professor Flitwick's face turned green. He was the professor of charms, but these 2 unlucky kids fought with fists in his charms exam. Doesn't this mean that spells are not as useful as fists? Indirectly saying that my Flitwick's teaching level is not good? Professor Flitwick immediately waved his wand to separate the 2 and drove them away, not wanting to say anything more. The results of these 2 people can be imagined. After 2 more groups, it was Ethan's favorite part, women fighting. It's a pity that there were no hair pulling, slapping, and clothes tearing, which made the watchability lower by more than 1 level. Hermione Granger versus Cassandra Wallace. Soon Professor Flitwick read out the names of Hermione and Cassandra. Now it's all Gryffindor versus Slytherin, and these 2 colleges are the most serious in fighting. And Professor Flitwick also divides the groups according to the daily results, and tries to choose 2 with similar results, so that he can see something. Break apart. Disarm you. Obstacles galore. Flocks of birds. Imprison quickly. Stop the curse. The 2 of us are much stronger than the previous groups of young wizards. Most of the time, it was Cassandra who launched the attack, while Hermione dodged or used protective spells. Professor Flitwick also nodded repeatedly. This is the student he has educated. What were they before, especially those 2 embarrassing ones? Stuck the stick in the front teeth. Seizing the opportunity, while Hermione was dodging, Cassandra threw a beam of white light at a tricky angle and hit Hermione's head. In the surprised eyes of all the little wizards, Hermione's front teeth grew at an astonishing speed, growing over the lips towards the chin, until it reached the collar, and then stopped. Normally, the chin should be pushed off, but in the original book, the teeth protruded. The book sets that unless you have a deeper understanding of this magic, you can change the direction to achieve lethality. With the front teeth growing like this, you naturally lose the ability to chant spells, and Hermione can't cast silently, so she can only retreat. But before leaving, Hermione's eyes wanted to kill Cassandra, and it was the front teeth again. This group of people didn't know anyone except the front teeth. Although Ethan had guessed the result long ago, he didn't expect Hermione to end up like this. I just don't know if Cassandra did this intentionally or accidentally. Hermione's actual combat skills are only average. Although she is a top student and can quickly learn various spells and potions, she is still a little lacking in actual combat. She is a classic theoretical player. Cassandra's actual combat talent is beyond doubt. This time, she didn't put in much effort at all. She was not as serious as the last time she fought with Ethan. I watched a few more rounds of girls fighting. In the end, Gryffindor had 3 more little wizards, amazing. The 2 little witches had no opponents. There was no way that the number of Gryffindors was larger than that of Slytherin. Neville Longbottom versus Ethan Adrian. Ethan cast a puzzled look at Professor Flitwick. Professor, are you serious? I fight Neville? Professor Flitwick looked at the ring and ignored Ethan. For his favorite student, the genius of Ravenclaw, who would not be defeated in seconds here. If the score is given normally, Ethan's opponents are probably very bad. As for Neville, Professor Flitwick also knew that he had studied very hard, but because he was cursed with oblivion when he was a child, his brain was not very smart, and he was slower than others in learning magic. I guess he can only get a P or D in the end. P means failing and D means very bad, so he can't give a normal score when fighting Ethan. It's better to give this opportunity to Neville. At least he can say that it's because the opponent is too strong and give him an A. Looking at Neville, whose legs were still shaking, Ethan sighed. Expelliarmus miss. A red light accurately hit Neville's wand, causing it to fly into him. He could only do this. If he really used Expelliarmus on Neville, his current state would be no different from being hit by a truck. After all, the disarming spell also has the effect of hitting the waves. Chapter 75. The defense against the dark arts class on Friday was the last practical exam. In this exam, Quirrell was quite perfunctory. Each student had to answer a question from the textbook. Although it was perfunctory, the young wizards were happy. They liked this kind of exam. But after the exam, Quirrell called him again. Mr. Adrian, please wait a moment. Sorry, Professor Quirrell, I have an appointment with a friend to go to the library. Ethan was about to leave. It was almost time for Voldemort to find the Philosopher's Stone and then compete with Harry. Why did he look for him? Ethan didn't want to get involved. There was no benefit. He had only one step left to do what he promised Dumbledore. He didn't need to get involved. It won't take you long. I think you won't refuse with such a short time. When he said the word reject, Quirrell's tone became heavier in vain. Listening to the tone, isn't this a threat to me? I have an improved flying spell here, Adrian, are you interested? Seeing that Ethan was still unmoved, Quirrell could only throw down the weight again. It was really a standard Ravenclaw, not seeing the rabbit, not releasing the eagle. Interested. The improved flying spell is probably the magic that the Death Eaters can use to turn into black smoke and move in the air. It is indeed a more convenient magic. After entering Quirrell's office, Quirrell threw the parchment that he had prepared long ago to Ethan. The bait has been laid long ago, but the fish just didn't come. After he expressed his willingness to teach Ethan the 3 unforgivable spells last time, he invited Ethan to his office several times, but he was unwilling to come. Even if he was unwilling to learn the 3 unforgivable spells, you could talk to the professor. Originally, he was prepared for Ethan's unwillingness to learn the 3 unforgivable spells, and this improved version of the flying spell was created for this purpose. Later, he would use other black magic to seduce him until he was willing to learn the 3 unforgivable spells. Unfortunately, the fish just didn't come, and all the plans were aborted. Now Dumbledore was sent away by himself and went to the Ministry of Magic. He won't be back in a short time. Without Dumbledore, I am about to go to get the Philosopher's Stone. Do I still need to disguise myself? If the fish doesn't come, can't I jump down and catch it? I want the Philosopher's Stone, and I also want this talented little wizard. There will be a grand performance later. I wonder if you are interested. Professor Quirrell, you know, I have an appointment with a friend later. There really isn't anything worthwhile to achieve on Voldemort right now. He was defeated once in the last dragon egg trade. If he wants to achieve it again this time, he has to be killed. But Voldemort, who has the Horcrux, can't die. This is a rare scene in the entire wizarding world. Are you sure you don't want to see it? The great Voldemort announced his return after 11 years. Do you think it's rare? Since you ask for it, Professor, I'll have to see it. Obviously, Quirrell, the Voldemort behind the scenes, was unwilling to let him go, and he could not conflict with him here and expose him, otherwise it would ruin Dumbledore's plan. By then, Blitto would not introduce Nicholas Flamel to him. Follow me. Seeing that Ethan was so tactful, Quirrell did not say anything more and immediately led the way. If Ethan still refused, he would not suggest using some coercive means to kill him here. Ethan was indeed a genius, able to beat 5 senior Slytherins at once, but he was not good enough to face him. Only geniuses who grow up can be strong. If they cannot grow up, they are just dung. Voldemort wanted to take Ethan away and subdue him, mainly because he had few talents under his command. Snape was qualified, but since he failed and killed that woman, Voldemort did not dare to guarantee Snape's loyalty. And Ethan, his talent is no worse than his original self, and he can be very useful after a few years of training. Judge, he was born as a Muggle wizard, so it is difficult for him to play with the pure bloods under his command, so he is not afraid of forming cliques. There is no more perfect tool than him. As long as he shows his identity as Voldemort and obtains the Philosopher's Stone, he will reward the wizarding world again. He believes that Ethan can make the right choice. Similarly, due to his high talent, he cannot leave it to Dumbledore. Ethan, where are you going? Cassandra was waiting in the passage from Quirrell's office to the auditorium. Professor Quirrell and I have something to do, so we won't go later. You go alone. When Ethan followed Quirrell, he gave Cassandra a look and asked her to wait for him here. Sure enough, smart women are lovable. Looking at Ethan's back as he left, Cassandra was thoughtful and went alone. In other words, the plan continued. As for Ethan and Professor Quirrell's departure, Cassandra was not too worried. I believe Ethan's strength is not comparable to that of Quirrell, a weakling. She also knew that Quirrell was not a good person. Ethan had told her not to contact him. Although she didn't think much of Quirrell, Cassandra still obeyed Ethan's orders. Aloho open. With a click, the door lock was unlocked. Go in. Quirrell winked at Ethan, signaling him to go first. Ethan had no objection to this, so he walked into the door. The 3-headed dog Fluffy, who had not been seen for a long time, ran over excitedly the moment he saw Ethan. The dog had barked with joy. Ethan pushed the huge dog head away with disgust. The smell was too strong. Quirrell, who was following Ethan, was dumbfounded when he saw this scene. He originally wanted to teach Ethan a lesson, to let him know that his current strength was nothing, but he was the one being taught a lesson. This was an adult three-headed dog, and he couldn't defeat it. Voldemort had to make all kinds of calculations and even contributed a snake to get the way to pass the level, but in Ethan's hands, it was just like this. However, it has paid such a big price, and it would feel wrong if it is not used. Quirrell immediately waved his wand lightly, and a harp flew out of his pocket. After the harp landed, the strings were plucked by a pair of invisible hands, making a pleasant sound. This was a harp that could play automatically, which was specially prepared after obtaining the way to pass the three-headed dog from Hagrid, and it was brought with him by the shrinking spell before coming. As the harp was played, Fluffy began to stagger, and soon he lay on the ground motionless, saliva flowing from the corners of his mouth, and he was obviously in a deep sleep. After confirming that the three-headed dog was really in a deep sleep, Quirrell brought Ethan to the top of the movable door. With the waving of Quirrell's wand, the movable door opened with a click. Shockproof and deceleration. After casting a deceleration spell on himself, Quirrell jumped down directly, and Ethan followed closely. This hole is really deep. Ethan felt that he had fallen at least 10 meters and was wrapped by a soft net. If he had not made preparations in advance and there was no devil's net below, he would have been hit directly by jumping from this height. Even if he was lucky, he would have been half crippled. I can only say that Dumbledore really took great pains. The devil's net deceleration, and it is first-grade knowledge, and it was tested in the written test a few days ago. This is because he was afraid that Harry didn't know. Sprout arranged it, but it must have been suggested by Dumbledore. If it was really a trap to protect the Philosopher's Stone, he would have directly used the biting cabbage poisonous tentacles, or any trap would not be as safe as Dumbledore's close protection. Devil's net, you should know how to deal with it. It's natural. Ethan didn't move, and then he was caught by the devil's snare. This thing is not only afraid of light, but also has no interest in dead things. The more you struggle, the more he will struggle. Quirrell didn't do the same as Ethan, but landed in a burst of strong light. In the dark and damp corridor, Luo finally asked his doubts, "Do you know the three-headed dog? I saw it when I was wandering at night. I am naturally liked by animals. It was the same last time." Quirrell was silent after getting such an answer. Voldemort really wasted so much effort at the beginning. At the end of the corridor was a wooden door, and Quirrell opened it without hesitation. The things inside were a little strange. There were countless keys with dragonfly wings, and they also made bird-like sounds. There was also a flying broom next to it. This level was very simple. You just need to get the right key. Look, this is the magic I will give you today. After saying that, Quirrell turned into a ball of black mist, and flexibly grabbed the special key in the air and landed on the ground. From this action, you can't tell that he is a disabled person, let alone that he has passed the 6 villages as he appears to be. Ethan is almost sure that this guy is not Quirrell. Even if Quirrell gets something to replenish his life, it can't make up for it. It's really that he is too short. After opening the door, Quirrell released the key in his hand again. Behind the door is a giant chessboard, which is full of giant stone sculptures 2 or 3 meters high. Each stone sculpture corresponds to a wizard chess. Quirrell has no interest in playing wizard chess, nor does he want to watch Ethan play chess. He immediately casts a confusion spell, and the statue that originally put out the sword immediately stops, and puts away the force sword and returns to its original position. The confusion spell is a very practical magic that can confuse opponents or interfere with objects. It seems that the Goblet of Fire in the original book was interfered with by this spell. If you have time, you can learn it. Just after walking past the giant chessboard, Ethan smelled a foul odor. After walking a few steps forward, he saw a giant monster over 4 meters tall with its back to him. Its skin was grey and dull, and it was holding a huge stick in its hand. The stench came from it. The moment Ethan and Quirrell approached, the giant monster suddenly turned around, stared at the two with its cloudy eyes, and raised the stick in its hand high. The giant stick is flying. Quirrell waved his magic wand, and the huge stick broke away from the giant monster's control and came to Quirrell's head. The giant monster suddenly lost its weapon and was stunned, but before it could figure it out, the stick taken away by Quirrell hit the back of the monster's head hard. This is the giant monster's weakness, and Quirrell's blow knocked its brains out. But it was even more smelly. Following the passage, they soon arrived at the next room, which had a fire door. In front of the fire door was a table with 7 bottles and a parchment on it. Quirrell didn't have time to play any puzzle games, he just wanted to pass the level quickly and get the Philosopher's Stone. All curses are over. A red light hit the center of the fire door. Under the suppression of the red magic, the flames all subsided. Quirrell and Ethan took advantage of this gap to drill through, and arrived at a huge circular room, and at the end was the mirror of Ares that Ethan had seen. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.